In 2045, a virtual reality game called Ares, developed by Arizona, was launched. Ares wasn't just a simple game. All the characters appearing in Ares were implemented with AI, possessing personalities, judgment, and the ability to act. Ares was another world. This wasn't just a game with a surreal feeling. It created a new world by applying a super AI. A divine entity was born. The god of Ares would judge players on its own, and also grant extraordinary abilities, depending on their achievements. You will receive a divine revelation from the god Ares, possess special powers, achieve legendary fame, and become a hero, or build your own force and rule as a king, meaning everything that is possible in reality can be done, and even things that are impossible in the real world can become a reality in Ares. With these special features, after the game's launch, the reaction to the virtual reality game created by the genius Lee Se-jin was an incredible explosion of popularity. It not only affected the game industry, but also influenced global culture. In just a moment, the number of players surpassed the 1 billion mark. This young man with a face full of scars is our main character Hyun-soo. He got these scars in a fire. Cut to Seoul, South Korea. A hotel. No, right at this moment. A handsome guy, while looking at his phone screen, spoke sarcastically. Ha! I knew it. Those idiots are still chasing a pipe dream. Why that wooden dummy can't be beaten with just brute force. Right at this moment, suddenly, a voice called out from behind him, "Hey, Kim Ji-hoon." Ji-hoon heard it and turned around to answer, "Ah, so you're here." The main character continued, his voice somewhat annoyed. "Here, my ass. I told you not to call me during the day." Hearing that, it was Ji-hoon's turn to get annoyed. "What's this? What do you want? You work at night, so I can't call you then. And I can't just walk into your dad's hospital room." Over here, the main character didn't want to argue anymore, so he sat down and got straight to the point. "All right, what do you want?" Ji-hoon looked at the protagonist's heavily covered outfit and spoke up. Teasingly, "Aren't you hot?" Hyun-soo didn't say much, just slightly pulled down his mask, revealing a face full of burn scars, then growled, "Are you asking for a death wish?" Hearing that, Ji-hoon quickly changed his tone. "Ah, sorry. Okay, let's get to the point. You've heard about Ares, right?" Hyun-soo suspecting something tilted his head slightly, pretending he had never heard of it. This made Ji-hoon frustrated. "What? Don't tell me you don't know. It's the hottest VR game on the market right now. Anyway, forget it. In the game, there's an event for new players, got it? The problem is no one has won the prize yet. Even the famous pro gamers are stumped. But if you succeed, you'll get an exclusive prize. It's a VIP gaming pod worth 50 million won." Across from him, Hyun-soo still didn't seem to understand what his friend was getting at, so he asked again, "So what?" His friend Ji-hoon smiled enticingly. "Try it." The protagonist broke out in a cold sweat after hearing the idea. Just at this idea. "Hey, 1 billion people have failed. What makes you think I can do it? Besides, I don't even play games." In response to that, his friend Ji-hoon started to offer a more tangible benefit. "Of course, this challenge is extremely difficult, but it's not impossible. Besides, if you can break that wooden dummy, you might just get a shot at it." When Hyun-soo started to feel that things weren't so simple, his expression changed slightly and he asked, "What do you mean?" Time passed quickly. His friend Ji-hoon had led the protagonist to the front of a gaming pod and introduced it with a smile. "Your buddy here has prepared a gaming pod for Ares for you. It costs 10 million won. Don't worry, it's the standard model with about 85% sync rate, but according to the manufacturer, it won't affect the experience at all." Hearing its price, Hyun-soo's eyes widened in shock. "What, 10 million? How can it be so expensive with 1 billion players?" Ji-hoon shrugged and explained nonchalantly, "Well, it's worth the money. If things go well, you can earn a massive reward. Plus, you can now trade with real money. So everyone is jumping in? Enough explaining. Let's get to it, huh? Let me try it out first for a bit." Before the young man could finish his sentence, Hyun-soo clenched his fists. He said in a cold voice, "Hey, Kim Ji-hoon, where did you get it?" Regarding this question, Ji-hoon didn't seem to want to explain much, but just replied lightly, "Does it matter? You should be thinking about how much we can earn from it." Hyun-soo continued to question him with a stern voice. "There's no guarantee we'll earn anything, is there? What's wrong with you anyway?" Ji-hoon was still smiling, seeming to not care about the risks involved. "What's wrong with me? This is an investment. An investment, I told you. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Hyun-soo interrupted, asking coldly, "An opportunity, what are you?" Before the protagonist could finish his sentence, Ji-hoon finally revealed what made him so confident. "Listen to me, hey. Inside Ares, what's a blacksmith like?" "Sounds awesome, right, Kang Hyun-soo? Who are you?" "You're the only son of a world-famous artisan blacksmith, and the only heir. With your skills, that wooden dummy stands no chance." Turning back to our protagonist, at this point he could only let out a sigh, then slowly pulled down his hood and said, "So that's it. Why, after the accident, I guess I never let you see me clearly." This is me now. I really can't try anymore. In front of Ji-hun was the image of Hyun-soo, his face covered in scars. It spread all the way to the top of his head, preventing hair from growing there. As he said those words, in Hyun-soo's mind he remembered the image of the fire from years ago. He discovered his father lying, unconscious amidst the rubble. He rushed over, throwing aside the debris, and quickly carried his father out on his back. That incident took everything from me. I managed to survive, but my father could never recover. His consciousness and the cost of treatment is too much. For our poor family, to make ends meet, he went to work at a construction site. A worker knew he could use a hammer, so he asked him to come out and help. Hyun-soo brought a hammer and nails to a table. Thinking to himself, for 15 years following my father, I swung a hammer to forge countless pieces of metal. But now, I can't even do that anymore, Hyun-soo thought with a face full of bitterness. Returning to the present as he recalled those events, his hand involuntarily began to tremble. He continued, after that incident, my right hand has no strength left, let alone forging. Even working construction is difficult now. I appreciate your kindness, but I'll take care of my own future. Take that thing back. Don't waste 10 million won like that. You fool! It's almost time for my part-time job. I'm leaving. And just like that, Hyun-soo headed straight for the door. However, before he could step outside, Ji-hun reminded him coldly. Who's the real fool here? You think I don't know? That you struggle to pay the hospital bills for your father every month? How long do you think you can keep trying like this? Even if you manage to get by, what about your life? Are you planning to stay like this forever? Listen to me. This can change everything. The total hospital bill is 3 billion won, right? It's a huge number. But that doesn't mean you can just give up like this. The friend I know isn't that kind of person. You said you wanted to be a blacksmith for life. You can do that in Ares. What's 10 million won? Just let me handle it. Just listen to your brother this once. I'm begging you, Hyun-soo, just try it once, okay? I won't force you again, but just this once, please. In front of him, Hyun-soo, hearing these words, fell silent. However, when he looked at his right hand, which was still trembling, he still couldn't seem to make a decision. Time passed quickly. Cut to the construction site. The protagonist, while carrying materials upstairs, thought about what his friend Ji-hun had said. That Ji-hun, he's really messed up my head. I need to focus on what I can do right now, and quickly earn money for Dad's treatment. As he thought this, a sudden sound echoed. Hyun-soo turned to his side and saw a worker hammering a nail. The familiar sound brought back familiar images. The sound of metal clanging reverberated in his heart. Cutscene again. Hyun-soo was in front of the gaming pod. He sighed quietly to himself. So I ended up here after all. The sound of forging metal led me here. The heat of the fire, the sweat on my body. That familiar sound of metal? I will listen to it once more. Father. With these words in his head, Hyun-soo stepped inside the gaming pod. Very quickly, the system started up. A mechanical voice rang in his ear. Welcome to the world of Ares. Initiating character creation. Please set a nickname for your character. Hearing this, Hyun-soo, without any hesitation, said his real name. Hyun-soo. He received a response from the system. Continuing to confirm. Character creation for the name. Hyun-soo is complete. Beginning character customization. Analyzing physical condition. As this sound echoed around him, Hyun-soo was enveloped in a stream of light. The burn scars all over his body. Vanished without a trace. The system confirmed. Analysis complete. Do you want to proceed with this appearance? Hyun-soo, stunned, stammered, yes. The system continued. Character creation complete. Searching for a server. Ignoring the notifications from the system, Hyun-soo's hand clenched excitedly. He muttered, that fool Ji-hun? Now not only are my scars gone, but the strength in my right hand is back to how it was. Haha, so I'm in debt for 10 million won, huh? Guess I'll have to grind my ass off to pay it back. Very quickly, the system completed the final confirmation steps. Transferring to a random domain. Moving to the button domain. Newbie area lens forge. Inside the forge, an old man, after putting on his gloves, spoke up. Want this old man to give up? Those damn evaluators. Just you wait, this old man will show you. I will forge a sword that far surpasses that wretched thing. With these words, he took a hammer and repeatedly struck the steel billet in front of him. However, the more he hammered, the more his mood seemed to grow angrier, and he yelled, Damn it! At this moment, Hyun-soo's voice suddenly cut in. You're doing it wrong. This voice startled the blacksmith. He turned his head to look and said, What? Outsider, what did you just say? Hyun-soo reminded him again. That won't work if you do it like that. From inside the small house came a questioning voice. What, you little brat? Hyun-soo calmly raised his hand to explain. It seems you're trying to forge a sword, but you can't make a strong sword that way. The blacksmith turned to look at him, giving a slightly contemptuous look as he questioned, It seems you're not from around here. What do you know to be making such claims? Hyunsu frowned slightly and replied humbly, I know I'm overstepping my bounds, but it looks like you genuinely want to create a good sword. I can't just stand by and ignore it. The blacksmith, covered in sweat from the heat, smirked upon hearing this. Can't stand by, huh? You talk as if you know exactly how to do it, saying that he held the hammer and stepped towards him. Fine, I've got nothing to lose. The blacksmith bluntly offered the hammer in front of Hyunsu, challenging him. So show me what you can do. He watched as the young man raised his hand to take the hammer and lowered his voice. Whether you actually have skill or not, I'll be watching you closely. Hyunsu took the hammer, lowered his eyes silently, but in his mind, he was secretly thinking, my original plan was to build a relationship, and then asked to use the forge. Looks like this works out too. At this, he let out a breath and spoke up. I have a favor to ask in return. The blacksmith asked curiously, a favor? Hyunsu replied, yes, if I can prove my skill, please let me forge a sword for myself. He looked straight at the man honestly. In exchange, I'll show you a process worthy of that price. The blacksmith's brow furrowed tightly. You're pretty confident, huh? He growled. Despite that, he let out a hearty laugh and turned away. All right, I hope that confidence of yours lasts. At this point, he lowered his voice. However, the blacksmith showed a dangerous expression, sat down on a wooden chair and looked at him threateningly. If you don't succeed, you will definitely pay the price for that arrogance. Hyunsu, unfazed, guaranteed, of course. Time slowly passed. The heated iron bar, forged by the fire, was beginning to take shape. Hyunsu stood beside it with a hammer, looking at it, staring intently and thinking, how long has it been? 3 years, right? Even though I acted so confident. Honestly, I'm not sure if I can still do it as well as I used to. Thinking this, he swung the hammer forcefully. But Hyunsu, without hesitation, struck the iron bar. This feeling, I can do this. Sparks from the friction flashed continuously. The burning iron dust flew everywhere. In his heart, Hyunsu suddenly remembered his loved ones. Father, Ji-hun. An angry image of himself still appeared vividly in his mind. Hyunsu, carrying his longing, continued to strike with the hammer. Just wait a little longer. His eyes were filled with determination, like the blazing fire in front of him. The forgotten senses are gradually awakening. The familiar sound of metal clashing and the searing heat brushed against his skin. He smirked, a satisfied smile on his face. What a welcome feeling. Immediately after the iron bar being forged, suddenly emitted a powerful aura. My body still remembers. Hyunsu didn't stop but continued to hammer away. I can do this. The blacksmith, sitting afar, watching him work, suddenly snorted coldly. He thought that an outsider like him, I thought a clumsy imitation wouldn't be enough. But he frowned, holding his chin, commenting, his form is quite good, isn't it? I must have seen it somewhere before. The blacksmith thought for a moment but couldn't remember, so he gave up and scoffed. Well, that's probably as far as he can go. He looked at the young man's engrossed face with confusion. But what is he so happy about? The more the blacksmith watched, the more satisfied he became, smiling and thinking enjoying it won't change anything. To survive here, results are everything. Without exceptional skills, your limits are already set. At this point, he suddenly paused, muttering to himself, I let him try, thinking I might learn something. But there's no way he has forging skills in the newbie area. I wonder, is this just a waste of time? But he was suddenly startled by the scene before him, making him jump. Huh! On the other side, Hyunsu was still diligently forging the sword. The blacksmith watched as the tip of the sword was bent down by his hammering, bewildered. What is that, he thought. Next he saw Hyunsu continue to fold the bent part back, and then without hesitation he brought the hammer down hard. The blacksmith involuntarily sat up straight, watching his movements and wondering, is he folding and refiring it? And then refining it? That could be a way to increase durability, while removing impurities. His eyes widened in shock. How did I not think of such a simple method? But will it really be effective? The blacksmith frowned slightly, a bright golden light flashing in his eyes. It could just be a trick. I have the item appraisal skill. He used his ability to assess it. Grade C steel improved from Grade D. The blacksmith couldn't help but jump to his feet. No way! His eyes were wide open, and sweat dripped down from the tension. I've created Grade C items before, but I've never seen the grade increase this quickly. The blacksmith watched as Hyunsu smiled and lifted the iron bar. So he wasn't just bragging, but this must be his limit. His hands suddenly clenched tightly. There's no way he can raise the rank any higher than that. Keep hammering, even with a few fancy tricks. If you don't have skills in this world, you're no different from me. The next morning, birds chirped melodiously in the forest. Beside the small house, it was still quiet. The blacksmith propped himself up from the wooden chair, rubbed his eyes, and mumbled, Did I fall asleep? That guy made me stay up this late. But then he was suddenly startled in amazement. In front of him at that moment, Hyunsu was still tirelessly hammering away. What, he's still at it? The blacksmith couldn't believe it, his mouth agape in shock. The sound of the hammer striking the steel echoed continuously. The folded steel bar was still glowing red-hot. Hyunsu calmly smiled and rhythmically hammered at the burning steel. His eyes were filled with passion and happiness. At this moment, what he focused on was only the red-hot steel bar in front of him. He hammered, then put the steel back into the fire. The blacksmith watched him continue to place the steel in the water, asking in disbelief, "Doesn't he get tired?" He straightened his face, no longer having a trace of contempt. He's been repeating that process all night. Just then, Hyunsu lifted the steel bar again. A brilliant aura emanated from the body of the steel. The blacksmith looked closely. The steel had turned yellow, with the notification, Grade B steel. He silently screamed in his heart. No way. Grade B, he broke, out in a cold sweat, staring at Hyunsu and thinking he really did it. He reached Grade B without any skills at all. But the fact that he hasn't stopped yet, this means he's aiming for an even higher rank. At this moment, Hyunsu was closing one eye to concentrate, assessing the quality of the steel. His fingers gently stroked the blade. Suddenly, he covered his face in disappointment, muttering, "Damn it. It's been a while since I've forged. Did I overdo it?" While Hyunsu was feeling down, the blacksmith beside him picked up his steel with tongs. He glanced at him and suggested, "If you tell me what you were trying to do, maybe I can help a little." Hyunsu smiled happily and replied, "Thank you, sir." After that, the small house was once again filled with silence and heat. Beside the fireplace, Hyunsu and the blacksmith worked together to forge the steel. It was taking more and more shape in their hands. Hyunsu held it up to observe it carefully, while the blacksmith beside him took notes on the process. The sky outside gradually darkened again. The blacksmith's eyes widened in amazement, looking at the thing in front of him. He held the steel bar in his hand and shouted excitedly, "Unbelievable, it's grade A. With this, you can forge a rare grade sword. I can't believe this could happen." The blacksmith let out a hearty laugh and turned to look at Hyunsu. "I have a skill that lets me see item grades, even though it's nothing special. I've never seen an item of magic grade in the newbie area, let alone rare grade." He was as excited as a child, babbling on and on. "With this, you can create a one-of-a-kind sword. Aren't you happy?" Hyunsu, who was bent over doing something, heard this and calmly replied, "It's too early to celebrate." The blacksmith's smile faded as he looked at him in surprise. "What, no?" Hyunsu held up a piece of wood and glanced over, saying, "I still have to finish it. The hilt and the blade need to be sharpened further." His eyes seemed to burn with the fire of passion. Looking at the blacksmith's bewildered face, "It must be made to withstand great force without bending, and the blade has not yet reached its sharpest point." Hearing this, the old man laughed out loud. "I've never met an outsider like you before." Hyunsu also admitted softly, "Ever since I was young, I've loved this work of forging." The blacksmith asked again curiously, "You said you would forge a sword and take it with you, right?" He replied, "No." The blacksmith said no more, but reached out and took out a stone that emitted a blue light. He glanced at him and smiled faintly. "So why don't you try again with this?" Hyunsu turned his head, confused. "Excuse me, what do you mean do it again?" As he looked at him, his attention was drawn to the stone in the blacksmith's hand. Hyunsu seemed to recognize it. "Is that—" The blacksmith frowned seriously and replied, "It's mithril ore. It's a family heirloom, passed down in my family for many generations." Hyunsu took the stone from his hand. "Why are you giving this to me?" The blacksmith smiled, looking at him with trust. "Because I've learned a lot thanks to you, and I want to learn more. Moreover, this ore is not something I can handle at my skill level. I want to know with this mineral what kind of sword you will forge." He seemed to place a lot of faith in him. "I am very curious." Hearing that, Hyunsu just stared silently at the glowing blue stone. He thought to himself, mithril ore. It's something that doesn't exist in the real world. A slight smile crept onto Hyunsu's lips. To think he could forge a weapon from a legendary ore that he had only read about in novels before. This is a gamble, since I've never handled it before. But thinking this, he looked up at the blacksmith. "I don't think I can pass up this opportunity." Hearing that, he laughed out loud with satisfaction. "I knew you'd say that. Can I help and learn a few things?" He immediately assured, "Of course, after you've given me something so precious." The blacksmith became even more excited and asked, "So can I call you master? If you want me to speak formally, I will do so." Hearing this, Hyunsu awkwardly refused. "No way. You look like you've lived several lifetimes longer than me." The blacksmith teased him, laughing happily. "Age doesn't matter. Please accept me as your disciple." But from the small house in the middle of the forest, Hyunsu's helpless voice could be heard. "Oh, come on, what are you talking about? If you call me that, I won't use the mithril." Immediately after was the blacksmith's angry shout. "Don't say that." "This guy?" 1 month later. Cut to the newbie area of Az Village. This is the village, where players level 1 to 10 gather. Right now, A brown-haired guy was staring at his two hands, exclaiming in amazement. So it's true that physical condition and abilities from the real world are transferred into the game. It's real. But no wonder you can only customize your appearance. Elsewhere, a guy in a hoodie seemed to realize something and spoke up to the person next to him. Hey, look, that must be it. The event that's been around since AZ launched, right? Break the wooden dummy. In 10 hits, that event, which seemed like nothing special, has been attempted by 1.2 billion people, and they all failed. Isn't it if you succeed, you get a dedicated VIP capsule, worth 50,000 gold and +5 to all stats? Hearing this, the brown-haired guy narrowed his eyes, observing for a moment before commenting. 10 hits should be more than enough to break it. In response to his words, came the disappointed voice of the guy in the hoodie. Forget it, I heard. Hardly anyone even challenges it anymore. National athletes probably took turns failing. And even the gold medalist, Han Wu, failed. Everyone thinks it's impossible. At this point, the big brown-haired guy was completely shocked. What if even Han Wu couldn't do it? Doesn't that mean they intentionally set it up to be unbeatable? The smaller guy shrugged and said, that's why there's so much talk about it. Then the big guy noticed something and asked, but why is everyone standing in front of it? But no one is taking the challenge. Explain that. The smaller guy quickly said, that's because today the last hope of humanity is here. Before he could explain further, a voice rang out from behind. Excuse me, can you make way? The smaller guy turned it around and immediately saw a huge guy like the real-life Hulk, with an incredibly aggressive look in his eyes. The people around immediately recognized him and exclaimed, oh my God, he's here. The strongest of all primates, Ma Do-seok. At that moment, Ma Do-seok cracked his knuckles. His gaze was fixed straight ahead, full of ferocity. So that's the dummy even Han Wu failed to break. Beside him, people calmed down a bit as they watched him walk past. Damn, he's huge. He doesn't even look human anymore. I heard he can take down a bear with his bare hands. Why does that wooden dummy look so small and simple? Who knows? He might succeed before he even hits it 10 times. He might succeed. Ignoring the chatter from the other players, Ma Do-seok, after reaching the wooden dummy, got into his stance. All right, a VIP gaming capsule worth 50,000 gold will be mine. With those words, he threw his giant fist straight into the wooden dummy's body, making it shake violently. The crowd watching was thrilled. Whoa, the dummy was pushed back so hard. Is someone finally going to succeed? At the same time, inside the game management room, team leader T-seok asked his assistant, what do you think? Assistant Lee replied with a bored tone, what do I think? We have to hope he succeeds. If we get another complaint call, I'm going to lose it. If even Han Wu failed, and this guy can't complete it either, it's going to blow up. Just watch, they'll say, we created an impossible quest, just for the attention. AZ is just crazy, ripping off players for profit. Tomorrow's headlines will probably be full of that. These words made T-seok ponder a bit, and he nodded in response. So if he fails, we'll have to interfere with the system of AZ, which is unusual. But will the director approve that? Assistant Lee immediately passed the buck. That's the team leader's job to worry about. T-seok stammered. You're saying a team leader with my authority, how could I? Before he could finish, Lee completely ignored him. I don't know. If this doesn't work out, I'm quitting. Next, against all expectations, even Ma Do-seok couldn't complete the mission. A failure notice was issued, causing the guy to drop to his knees in disappointment. While T-seok's face fell, we're screwed. Beside him, Assistant Lee started planning her escape. Well, I'm going to find a place to hide before the complaints roll in. By the way, treat me to dinner. Hearing her say that, T-seok immediately tried to entice her. If I buy you dinner, you can't quit, okay? Lee replied. Let me see the menu first, then we'll see. Just like that, the two of them were about to leave, when suddenly another man in the group shouted, wait! Team leader, there's the new challenger stepping up. At this point, T-seok was completely jaded with this whole mess. So what if he can complete it or not? Look at that build. You think he can do it? On the screen was the familiar figure of Hyun-soo, carrying a longsword, wrapped tightly in cloth. Assistant Lee adjusted her glasses, quickly sizing up the situation. That's the basic character creation outfit. The system changes your outfit after you defeat 10 level 1 monsters. But the weapon looks like it was bought. Many players believed in paying to win this challenge, but they all failed. Hearing this, the man with the glasses said in a panic, I'm sorry I misspoke. Team leader T-seok waved his hand, not blaming him. It's fine. I also had moments where I thought, who knows, maybe it'll work. All right, I'm going to dinner. I'll be back later. With that, they turned to leave again. But just then, a series of loud thuds rang out, forcing both of them to stop and turn back to watch. What's that? Why is it so noisy? Before the words were even out of TCOK's mouth in his line of sight, a dummy that seemed indestructible was now split in two by a single sword strike. A system notification appeared immediately. World announcement. Congratulations, you are the first player to successfully destroy the wooden dummy. All stats will be increased by +5. You have gained 200 fame. At this point, team leader TCOK was so shocked he dropped the cup in his hand. This is insane. What was that? Who is that? How could someone with that kind of ability still be undiscovered? He asked in amazement. However, Lee immediately countered. That's not right. Ma Do-seok was the last one. He must be just a regular player. Beside him, team leader TCOK, gradually realizing something, waved his hand. Wait, that sword. Quick, look up its rank. Seeing this, assistant Lee hurriedly worked on the computer. Very quickly, she finished checking the information. Then she turned and said in confusion, Team leader, the result is a bit strange. You don't have to tell me, I've already realized. TCOK replied, his face pale. Of course it is. If it wasn't, the situation would be even weirder. Assistant Lee repeated once more. It really is like that. But its rank is all the way at unique. On the screen was the Gwangmyeong sword at the unique rank. Durability 3000. Attack 143. Limit. No limit for the weapons creator. Level requirement 40 or higher. After seeing that information, TCOK's face turned even paler. Unique? What is that guy's identity? A moment later, in the Bazoom Inc. Management Center, a sound of admiration was heard. Two people were looking up, watching Hyun-soo on the large screen. So you're saying right after logging into AZZ, he went straight to the Blacksmith, and he passed the wooden dummy event with a sword forged from mithril. That he got there, TCOK, with his arms crossed, looked at him and praised him at length. No matter how many times I watch it, it's still amazing. How did he do that? Deputy Manager Lee, sitting at the control desk, replied softly, You should get to work. Stop just sitting there marveling at it. You're going to get chewed out by the boss. With that, she fell silent and focused on the keyboard in front of her. TCOK took a sip of water and replied, I'm just taking a short break because I'm so frustrated. I can't find any more information. Deputy Manager Lee brought up his information tab on the screen with her finger. Name Kang Hyun-soo, age 23, currently living in a studio apartment in Udong. Confirmed login from an acquaintance's house. Hearing this, TCOK shouted excitedly, You found it. You're truly one of a kind, Deputy Manager Lee. She didn't react to the praise. I already knew his location in AZ. I'm just reading you his personal information, because he just submitted a request for a VIP capsule. Afterwards, in the dimly lit modern room, their conversation echoed. An application. I thought he wouldn't accept it, since we haven't heard anything from him. It just arrived. However, he earnestly requests that his real-life information be kept confidential. At this point, TCOK broke into a sweat and glanced over, asking, What? He wants to remain anonymous. Deputy Manager Lee pushed up her glasses and looked at him. Yes, he's very insistent. I don't understand why. Then she looked up at the big screen again, at the scene of Hyun-soo being chased by fans. If this gets out in the real world, he'd be treated like a star. TCOK also agreed in a low voice, He must have his reasons for not revealing his identity. He looked at Hyun-soo's panicked expression from being chased and asked, So where is he now? Deputy Manager Lee hesitated slightly before speaking. About that, she made a judgment call. It seems like he just entered the training grounds. The training grounds. Just as Hyun-soo, dressed in black, pushed open the inner door, someone spoke up. Hey kid, from here on out, real monsters will appear. He looked at Hyun-soo, who was only level 1, and advised coldly, Sorry, but I can see your level. This isn't a test that a level 1 can pass alone. The one who said that was Jensen, the training ground instructor. And I don't want to waste my time. So go back. At least hunt some rabbits around here before you come back. Hyun-soo wondered to himself. He can't see my stats right. Thinking this, he took off his hood and replied, I will try not to waste your time. Jensen crossed his arms, sighed in annoyance, and complained, What a pain. Then grab any sword from over there and bring it here. Hearing that, Hyun-soo slowly drew the sword, inlaid with a blue stone. If any sword will do, he raised the sword with a serious expression. Would it be all right if I use my own sword? Meanwhile, information about the main character shattering the dummy quickly reached Lee Se-jin. He spent a month in the newbie village, a place that normally only takes 30 minutes to get through. And through that, he accumulated extraordinary base stats. But most importantly, he possesses an epic grade sword, the only one in the newbie village. He still doesn't have a class, and is only level 1. I have managed countless craftsmen, masters, and professional players, but what is happening now is truly beyond imagination. Should we really leave everything to the god of this world, without any intervention, not leave it to the super AIs? In response to this, the genius, Lee Se-jin, just gave a gentle smile and said, You're worried about that too, aren't you? Team leader Kim T-Seok. But right now he's in the newbie village. Perhaps he has no idea what fate awaits him. Just watch and see how far he can go. Back in the training room, Jensen frowned, displeased. This kid, he's planning to use his own sword. He observed the handcrafted sword. You plan on becoming a blacksmith? The corner of his lip curled up slightly. Jensen's tone was full of contempt. Choosing a pathetic profession like that. What a pitiful soul. He looked at him without replying, and the man continued. This place is very dangerous. Monsters surround you from 3 sides, Jensen warned. A well-trained swordsman is more valuable than a mediocre piece of equipment. Then he said coldly, so, what is someone who chose the blacksmith class doing here? The system chimed. Instructor Jensen's affinity has decreased by 10. Hyunsu just closed his eyes slightly. This is a normal reaction, one I often saw in reality. Being a blacksmith is really no different than a useless dream. He felt that in this AZZ, that effort truly deserved to be recognized. He spoke up and asked, who was it? Hyunsu looked at him. But among all the swordsmen who have gone through this training ground, who was the most skilled, he asked clearly. I want to be tested more rigorously than them. Jensen gritted his teeth. Maybe I'm getting rusty. As an instructor at the Baden Territory's hunting ground, he looked at him warily. Even so, I've developed a keen eye after training so many people. Instructor Jensen gritted his teeth in anger. Just a newbie, yet he dares to say such arrogant words. The system immediately announced, Instructor Jensen has been provoked. He responded, all right, it might be interesting to watch you try. A challenge was issued. Jensen turned. Follow me. He explained, my duty is to teach outsiders the basics and conduct a confirmation test. But I also grant a special challenge to the few, the extremely outstanding individuals. His voice deepened. The current record in the training grounds is the challenge of the 3rd stage. In front of Hyunsu, a pack of level 6 swift goblins was shrieking fiercely. Jensen glanced over. You really want to try this? He continued, because you insisted on taking this reckless challenge. The price of failure will be steep. If you fail, don't expect to set foot in this place for a week. Go hunt rabbits. Understood, Hyunsu asked him back. Is the 3rd stage challenge the final one? His eyes widened. What? The young man was calm. I want to complete all of them. Up to the final stage in one go. Jensen was furious. Is he belittling the importance of my training to this extent? This kid is really driving me crazy. He cleared his throat. Fine, go ahead and try. The system announced, final stage, 4th stage. Challenge level 15 Berserk Goblin Monster. It charged aggressively towards him. Hyunsu stood firm, his eyes resolute. In the entire world, very few people can complete the 3rd stage at the training grounds. As for those who have passed the 4th stage, he raised his sword, no one has ever done it. The pack of goblins roared in unison and charged. Amidst the whistling wind, he got into a ready stance. As the first blade swung at him, he immediately blocked it with his sword. Another one charged, pointing its sharp sword tip straight at him. Hyunsu braced himself. Any blacksmith would understand. A powerful pressure emanated from his entire body. The sword in his hand vibrated. System notification. Gwangmyeong sword. Active skill. Sword force enhancement has been activated. Increases physical attack by 12% and physical defense by 8%. For 40 seconds, he tightened his grip on the hilt. The inherent quality of a weapon. In an instant, Hyunsu took down several of them with one strike. No weapon can defeat my sword. The system displayed, Swift Goblin 01 has been defeated. Suddenly, from a distance, a sword flashed towards him. The Berserk Goblin swung down wildly, landing a strike, catching him off guard and landing a hit. Ha! Jensen smirked. Just as I thought, he took a critical hit. That's why the Swift Goblin is considered a nightmare for newbies, he sighed. No matter how good your equipment is, if you lack skill, it's useless. But before he could finish, he was suddenly stunned. What? Hyunsu gritted his teeth. He clutched his stomach, enduring the vivid pain. A level 1 surviving a critical hit, he thought to himself. I guess I'm lucky. The result of focusing on forging weapons. For the past month, strength 30 for stamina 30. I also managed to raise my strength and stamina stats, although my agility didn't increase. Jensen took a step back. It's not over yet. The real danger is just beginning. The Berserk Goblin roared and charged forward boldly. Immediately after it unleashed Frenzy Thorn. Hundreds of sharp thorns shot out like rain. Hyunsu fell into a stunned state. His vision blurred, his breathing became ragged. Jensen murmured softly, this kid is incredible, but this is truly his limit. It's over. 2 other goblins pounced. He tried to stand firm. Focus, trust in the weapon I created. His eyes blazed. I just need to do what I can do. The goblins screamed and charged. The system chimed. Gwangmyeong sword. Epic passive skill. Swift sword. Temporarily increases attack speed by 1.7x for 1 second. In a flash, he became a streak of light, zipping past them. He breathed softly. Even if I'm far out-leveled, I will overcome it. That moment left all the observers stunned. TCOK and Deputy Manager Lee were practically frozen, and Jensen's jaw dropped. The goblin corpses were sent flying. His eyes were filled with killing intent. At the same time, the system announced the defeat of the Berserk Goblin. Swift Goblin defeated. Jensen spoke in a hoarse voice. This kid, he did what no one else could. He looked at him with admiration. Though clumsy, those were strikes. That maximized the sword's power. You must have learned swordsmanship somewhere. Hyun-soo replied, I was taught that a craftsman must personally use the weapons they create. That's all there is to it. Jensen paused slightly. The system displayed, Jensen has realized something. He squinted, then commented on the muscles and scars on your hands. I see. Jensen exclaimed, so this is what a true blacksmith is. I sincerely apologize for my rude behavior. System Jensen's affinity has reached its maximum level. Jensen looked at him with great respect. Are you willing to hear my proposal? I say this because I truly value your talent. He continued to ask, have you ever thought of becoming a Berserk Lord? A system notification appeared. You can now start the class change quest. Legendary class Berserk Lord. Tseok was astonished. No, wait, this is unbelievable. He was stunned that someone like that would receive the class change quest for the legendary Berserk Lord, surpassing even the Berserker Knight in epic class. Deputy Manager Lee added, but that alone makes him a special management player. Rank 2, right? Tseok nodded slightly. This is a good thing, a really, really good thing. But he frowned. Once he accepts the class change quest, he won't be able to go back. Meanwhile, Jensen spoke with a burning gaze. The Berserk Lord is a glorious entity, commanding hundreds of Berserker Knights. You will become a true protector of the world. He said seriously, what do you think? This is not an offer that I make lightly. I am certain that you can become the King of Knights. Hyun-soo smiled calmly. Thank you for your offer, but I must refuse. He continued, his eyes lighting up, because I am not a knight, I am a blacksmith. He smiled faintly. Tseok and Deputy Manager Lee both breathed a sigh of relief, a smile of satisfaction. Jensen nodded. I understand. He laughed heartily. You are extraordinary, truly extraordinary. Hyun-soo clenched his fist. I thought I would never be able to hold a hammer again, but in this game I can feel it. He felt content. My career as a blacksmith is beginning a new chapter. The system chimed. Hidden quest, meet the Lord, rank B. Description, meet the Lord of Baden. While he was still thinking, Jensen handed him a letter. Then this is my letter of introduction. Go to the Lord's castle. There is someone there waiting for a blacksmith like you. He added, as a reward for the challenge, I will give you the armor once worn by the Berserk Lord. It has rusted and lost its effectiveness, but I believe you will find a way to make use of it. He said cheerfully, try your hand there as well. The quests that seem impossible, that others cannot complete. He said enthusiastically, I know you can do it. Hyun-soo scratched his head awkwardly. I will do my best. At the company, Deputy Manager Lee was delighted. Finally, player. Hyun-soo has triumphed over the greatest challenge. Tseok nodded slightly. Yes. Though it's just a little, his potential has returned. He looked up at the screen. The pinnacle of the blacksmithing profession has appeared. The potential to change class to the blacksmith god. He walked past the training area and entered the territory's village. Main quest received. The tutorial is now completely over. Finally, it's really starting. He embarked on a new journey. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo appeared in a different scene, a place filled with dim light. You have logged out. He sighed. Right. I need to pay the gas bill. There are some things I have to do in the real world. He took out his phone. I've gotten used to the game, he thought, and I've confirmed its potential. But my bank account balance is practically zero. I need to pay for Dad's hospital bills and living expenses right away. Just then his phone rang. It was Ji-hun calling. Did you get through the hunting training ground yet? I've been too busy to log in. He replied softly, yeah. I just got a quest. And entered the territory's village. The guy on the other end cheered, really, that's awesome. You can use the auction house now, so go check it out first. He was surprised. The auction house, he asked, excited. You can craft equipment and essential items in the game and sell them in the auction house to earn gold. 10 gold is 10,001. Real money trading is so active that many people do it as a full-time job. That's the real reason I dragged you into AZZ, Ji-hun added. Do you know what I realized? While playing the game, I've never seen anything as amazing as the swords that you and my father make. He laughed and continued. See, I told you it would work out. When you upgrade to the VIP capsule with 99.9% synchronization, it'll be even cooler. All right, let's start listing the masterpieces of the world's #1 craftsman. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled and replied, "Thanks." After that, he went to a diner eating and thinking, "That's right. I've clearly seen the path I must take." Hyunsu thought to himself as he ate, "I need to focus more on crafting and doing quests to earn gold. To do that, I have to manage my stamina well." After finishing his meal, he went for a run. This is nothing compared to working at a real-life forge, but this game also consumes a lot of stamina. He trained enthusiastically. Hyunsu panted. "Just a little longer." "Dad," he told himself, "I will make you wake up no matter what it takes." Just then, the system announced, "Departing to the world of ASR. You have entered Badin territory. Accessing the auction house. Please set a store name to register auction items." He quietly mumbled, Hun's Forge. A second later, he stepped into another place. Hyunsu looked up slightly. In the middle of the sky, giant scale of justice hung suspended in the air. The system continued to announce, "Hun's Forge is being constructed." A blue light filled the space. The system reported, "From now on, you can use the auction board anytime, anywhere." He looked around wondering, what should I sell first? Besides the Gwangmyeong sword, I only have a test item that I made at the forge in the beginner village. He thought to himself, if rare grade swords with similar level restrictions are priced around 70 gold. Hun's first sword. Grade rare. Requirement level 1 to 30. Attack power 36. Durability 1000. Special ability strength +2, agility +1. Active ability quick draw. Description. The best sword. A level 1 player can use, created from the most basic materials. Jihoon said I shouldn't sell it too cheap. Hesitantly, he thought, maybe I should sell it for 100 gold. Hyunsu was hopeful. All right, I hope there's good news. While I'm waiting, I should learn more about the systems in the village. After the sword was listed elsewhere, guy with glasses was surprised. Others' eyes widened. What the heck? They stared at the sword. A girl spoke up. A level 1 crafted item. Another person was shocked. He crafted this without even choosing a class. That's so weird. A man commented, putting that aside for a moment. Everyone's amazed eyes turned to the bidding board. Why does the bid price keep going up? Hun's Forge, Hun's first sword. Grade rare. Requirement level 1 to 30. Attack power 36. Durability 1000. Special ability strength +2, agility +1. Active skill quick draw. Description. The best sword a player at level 1 can use, created from the most basic materials. Bid price 100 gold. In another corner, Borum spoke up. Vice Guildmaster, have you seen this item? It's absolutely insane. The Vice Guildmaster of the Golden Shield Guild was deep in thought. Borum continued. I heard the person who made this sword is only level 1 and has no class. Everyone's going nuts, saying he created the best sword with the most basic materials. And more importantly, it even comes with enhancement stats. The Vice Guildmaster replied, when it comes to enhancing equipment, the crafting materials, the lower the grade, the higher the probability. Borum nodded. He must have used same grade materials, so he saved on costs too. The Vice Guildmaster praised, with such a small investment, that person can easily reach level 50. I don't know who it is, but that's really clever. Borum smiled. It even has its own name, First Sword. Borum deduced. This must be the first piece in the creator's collection. With this level of skill at level 1, it seems very valuable. What do you think? The Vice Guildmaster replied succinctly, valuable. Borum understood. That will enhance our reputation as the ones who recognized and purchased his first masterpiece. The Vice Guildmaster nodded. As expected, you're awesome. Then I'll proceed. At the same time, Hyunsu's face was flushed with embarrassment. He worried to himself. Now that I've listed it, it feels so embarrassing. It was just for me to practice forging after a long time and to get used to the game. What if it doesn't sell? Just then the system chimed. Notification, the item you listed, Hun's first sword, has been sold. Transaction successful. The system then gave him an adventure log. View equipment. He froze. What is this? Opening the adventure log, he was stunned. It sold, Hyunsu wondered. Isn't 100 gold a high price? How much did it sell for? When he saw the number appear, his eyes widened. He shouted excitedly, 1001 gold. His face was ecstatic. This is insane, he was curious. The person who bought it. Winning bidder. Borum of the Golden Shield Guild. The Golden Shield Guild. A new message appeared. Hello, I am Borum from the Golden Shield Guild. It is an honor to purchase Hun's first artifact. Our guild's doors are always open to talented individuals. Please contact us anytime if you're interested in an exclusive sales contract and joining our guild. He thought to himself, the Golden Shield Guild. After opening the info for 2 guilds, Golden Shield Guild, Blacksmith's Guild, followers 780,000. He was shocked. Followers 780,000. This guild has 780,000 followers. He thought again. Jihoon said attracting followers is harder than leveling up. Having many followers means a lot of users are interested, and that interest can directly translate into profit. He was skeptical. Right now, Hun's Forge only has 82 followers. Just then, mail arrived. He mumbled, but still, then opened his mailbox. Recruitment invitations flew around him. The mailbox opened. Hello, this is the Truth Guild. The Go Strong Guild would like to invite you, Hun. We would like to invite you to join our guild. We will provide our full support. Please come to our guild, Captain Hammer Guild. A choice you won't regret. Recruitment offers from guilds were flooding in. The system announced. ASR is now waiting for the blacksmiths who are disappearing from the real world. A blinding light opened a new door. He thought, the value of a craftsman's skill. Here it will shine even brighter, because it can be seen through data and numbers. Exactly, now is not the time to join a guild. He walked towards the Lord's castle, his heart filled with determination. I haven't even shown half of my skills yet. He decided firmly, determining, my own value starts right now. Inside the castle, a conversation echoed. Ben, is this really impossible? Lord Baden asked. Ben smiled and replied, yes, my lord. He knelt down. The restoration process has a chance of failure, so we not only risk failing to restore it, but we could also lose it forever. That's why we must find an expert, the best restorer in the land for this job. Baden's voice was heavy, and that expert can only be met in the central capital. Correct, and because of his difficult personality, he refuses to meet with anyone. Furthermore, if you want to bear the cost of bringing him to the Ba-Din territory, the Lord paused. I've heard as much, but I cannot just abandon my responsibilities in the territory and go myself. Ben looked down. The Lord said sadly, but this is the only memento my father left me, because it is a bow with a unique shape that no one has ever seen. I suppose there is no other way. Ben thought smugly, almost there. I've worked my tail off for a whole week to gain Lord Baden's trust. Now it's time to claim the reward I deserve. An info panel appeared. User Ben level 100. Class Master Thief Transcendent. Class currently disguised as Skillful Blacksmith. Yes, he whispered. Now it's time to claim the reward I deserve, Ben said cheerfully. If that's the case, the 300 gold needed for the restoration, and Ben immediately replied, yes, if you entrust the bow to me, I will take it to the capital and ensure, but before he could finish, a strange voice cut in. I can restore it. The door opened and Hyunsu stepped in, speaking up. That bow, he said firmly, can be restored right here, my lord. As soon as he saw him, a flash of fury crossed Ben's eyes. Who the hell is this son of a bitch, daring to ruin my perfect plan? Ben asked incredulously, what did you say? You can restore it. The Lord frowned slightly. He lowered his voice and asked, my burnt bow? He turned his voice stern. Guard, who is this man? Immediately a soldier hurried in. Yes, my lord. He is the one who brought a letter of introduction from Instructor Jensen. Ben was momentarily surprised. Jensen. You mean Jensen from the beginner hunting training ground? Hearing this, Baden addressed him. As the Lord of Baden, I ask one thing of you. Tell me your skills and experience. The system announced. Lord Baden requests information about your class and level. He calmly replied, my name is Hyunsu. Currently, I am only level 1 and have no class. Ben, stunned, yelled, that's ridiculous. A level 1, nobody dares to be so arrogant in front of the Lord. He sneered, and without even a class, no less. Don't you know that? The restoration skill can only be learned by a blacksmith. At level 80, he growled, grinding his teeth. Do you even know you're looking at a reflex bow of epic grade? Huh, Scram? Don't ruin the job I've been preparing for all week. Hyunsu just smirked. You're wrong. He slowly bent down to observe the bow. This bow is not a reflex bow. This bow, his voice was steady, is a type called a gakgung. The smith frowned. A gakgung. The guard's eyes widened in surprise. Baden remained silent. His gaze quietly watched Hyunsu's every move. He slowly continued. I've heard the situation from Guard Baker. You are looking for a way to restore the bow that your late father left behind after it was burnt. A gift from a mysterious visitor long ago. He touched the broken wood and remarked, a unique bow shape, never before seen in this region. The Lord waved his hand dismissively. Enough! Baden took a deep breath, his eyes sharp. I always try to be generous to strangers in my land, but I've grown tired of the baseless nonsense surrounding this memento. He warned in a low voice, from now on you would be wise to only say things you can take responsibility for. Hyunsu's eyes shone with determination. I wish to confirm one thing. This bow, despite its unique shape and being a gift from a stranger, wasn't it actually crafted right here in this territory? That one sentence made the Lord flinch. He frowned slightly as Hyunsu continued. On my way to the Great Hall, I saw a painting of a herd of animals that looked like water buffalo. He paused for a few seconds, then continued. In my world, The horns of the water buffalo are also considered an incredibly special material. He picked up the bowstring. However, the strange thing is the curve of the bow. Instead of the commonly used cow sinew, it uses whale sinew. Can you explain this? Baden's gaze softened. You are correct. That visitor was a friend of my father, and also a blacksmith. He recounted slowly. The painting you saw depicts the migration of a herd of beasts called the great water buffalo. The horns of the great water buffalo and whale sinew are both treasures that can be found in Badin's swamps and port, Badin confided. He used the most precious materials of this place, Badin, to give to my father. Badin looked at him with admiration. You can see through the secrets of materials that even a level 100 blacksmith couldn't distinguish. Ben clenched his jaw. Badin sighed heavily. I can't just let this memento decay. With time, I am so desperate that if there's even a chance, I'll entrust it to anyone. Hyunsu, is it if you are willing? Please accept the responsibility of restoring this memento. The system announced. Chain quest received, restore the Lord's Gakgung. Badin, grade A, reward 500 gold. He waved his hand. Ben, you may withdraw. I will call for you when you are needed. He reluctantly agreed. Ah, yes, I understand. But inside he was seething. Who the hell is that bastard? Ben turned to leave, disgruntled. His name is Hyunsu, just you wait. The day will come when I get even with you. As he walked away, he shot a furious glare back at him. Badin asked, Now what is needed to restore this bow? Hyunsu replied, If possible, please find me great water buffalo horns and whale sinew. I also need oak wood, mulberry wood, bamboo, and processing tools. Instantly, the system announced, You have identified all the materials of the bow. Then he began to understand. You have learned the method to restore the archer's gakgung of the archer. Archer's gakgung restoration level limit 60. Restoration materials. Great water buffalo horn whale sinew. Bamboo. Mulberry wood oak wood can be substituted with other materials. If restoration rate is below 70%, the item will be destroyed upon failure. A stream of memories suddenly returned. Dad, I just need to bend it like this and secure it right. The father's gentle voice rang out. I told you. It's okay to let me do it myself. He gently patted his son's head. Do you really like making bows that much? Your hands are all scratched up, yet you're still so engrossed. Hyunsu smiled. I like doing anything, as long as it's with you, Dad. His father Ji-hoon laughed. This kid, when you get a little older, I'll teach you blacksmithing, all right? His voice was gentle. For now, you need to get more used to handling the materials. He replied softly, Yes, Dad. A tear unknowingly fell down his cheek. He whispered softly, Dad, please wait for me. He analyzed internally the VIP capsule's 99.9% synchronization rate. With the feeling in my hands, right at this moment, I can craft perfectly, just as you taught me. Later, he went to the forge. The next morning, Badin entered, his voice enthusiastic. I'll lend you a hand as well. Night fell and they both dove into the work. The sound of chiseling echoed through the night. Hyunsu meticulously held an adze, shaving each wood fiber, then bending the bow frame. Afterward, he secured it with rope. He heated it over the fire. The glowing embers illuminated every drop of sweat on his forehead. Badin wiped his sweat and thought, working all day really isn't easy. The strength in my hands is fading. He looked towards Hyunsu. He smiled unknowingly. But he thought to himself, just seeing that radiant smile gives me more strength. The next morning he was exhausted, but his eyes were heavy. I can't believe I have to do this hard labor for a whole week. Badin collapsed onto the ground. Can't I go back now? Hyunsu replied softly. You must stay to continue helping with the bow's body. He looked up with sincere eyes. The reason you come to the forge every day, my lord, is because you want to restore your father's memento with your own hands, isn't it? Badin chuckled softly. That's right. He slowly sat up. That bow is the only thing that holds the memory of my father. He looked at him and asked gently, Hyunsu, what about you? You also seem very happy making that gakgung. Hyunsu was silent for a moment. The corner of his mouth twitched into a smile. Yes, I also have many good memories. He took a slow breath. Restoring memories takes a lot of time and effort. Even more so. Badin nodded and gripped his hand. I understand. Time passed. 10 days. They worked tirelessly. 15 days later, the bow's body was finally taking its final shape. After 20 days, their shoulders were soaked with sweat, but their eyes still shone with conviction. On the final day, he exclaimed, finally. His deep voice echoed in the forge. The Archer's Gakgung is complete. Hun Great Epic Archer's Gakgung. Durability to 500. Damage 253, requirement level 80 plus special properties. Agility plus 0. Accuracy plus 22%. Firing speed plus 17%. Mastery plus 1. Passive skill wind archery. Active skill triple shot. The Archer's Gakgung has been reborn, with exquisite and extraordinary craftsmanship, surpassing even the original creator. Baden went outside, approaching the statue of his father. "Father, are you watching?" He proclaimed. "A mysterious stranger has repaired this bow, just like in the old days," Hyunsu said softly. "Please try it and see if it feels the same as it did then." Baden nodded and raised the bow high. He focused, drew the string taut, and fired. The arrow flew straight through the center of the target. He froze. "It's not the same." A second later, Baden's face was ecstatic. "It has become a far superior bow than it ever was before." A system notification rang out. "You have completed the quest Restore the Gakgung. You have successfully restored it beyond 100%. Affinity with Lord Baden has reached its maximum." He thought with relief, what a relief. Baden turned. His voice was full of emotion. "Thank you, Hyunsu. Now I can focus wholeheartedly on the territory," he said generously. "However, the originally promised reward compared to your achievement is far too modest. Therefore, I will grant you an additional 2,000 gold." The system immediately displayed. "Quest reward has been upgraded due to your extraordinary achievement." Baden said, "I will also grant you free use of the territory's forge." Hyunsu froze. 2,000 gold? He thought joyfully. "With 2,001, I have more than enough to cover living expenses until my next journey." The Lord looked at him with a gentle smile. "By the way, Baden drew a sword and asked, "Have you ever thought about learning swordsmanship?" He looked at him intently. "Before I became the Lord of Baden, I was a swordsman." His gaze was sharp. "Supreme Kingdom sword style." Hyunsu froze. A thought flashed through his mind. That's the secret sword style that pacified the Supreme Kingdom, suppressing the endless hordes of monsters that poured in from all directions. The Lord looked at him, a hint of satisfaction in his eyes. "You were truly born to be a blacksmith, but I've also seen another potential in you." Baden assessed the gift of a swordsman. His voice was firm, beyond what was written in the letter of introduction from Instructor Jensen. "The time I've spent with you has made me certain of one thing," Baden exclaimed. "An outstanding physique, agile movements when handling tools, and you also possess an incredibly deep knowledge and understanding of all kinds of weapons. Therefore, I want to pass on to you a part of the core of my sword style." Right after the system announced. Quest. Skill Training, Supreme Kingdom Sword Style, Grade B. Part 1 Reward. Upon reaching 80% proficiency, you will be able to learn Supreme Kingdom Sword Style. He moved closer, his voice threatening. "We don't have much time. Follow me. You will suffer just as much hardship as I did for making me work in the forge." He thought helplessly. "So now it seems I've received a surprise gift." A busy month passed since then. Day and night he was buried in work at the forge, crafting a Gakgung bow for his own use, restoring the rusted armor of the Berserker Lord, and he continued to throw himself into crafting day and night. A few days later he was dueling with the Lord. The sound of swords clashing rang out loudly. He easily dodged an attack. The Lord smiled with satisfaction. "Finally, you've completed the Supreme Sword-style training." Then he asked, "Are you leaving?" He nodded slightly. "Yes." Hyunsu sheathed his sword. "Thanks to you, I've prepared everything." He asked curiously, "Where do you plan to go next?" Hyunsu's eyes were excited. "Now I'm thinking of choosing an official class for myself." As soon as he was leaving, the Lord spoke up. "If you ever need help, come find me anytime." He left the castle thinking, "All right, I've said my goodbyes to the Lord. Now I should organize my gear before I leave." He thought about the equipment he had just forged and restored. The Berserker Lord's armor is enough to compensate for my low level. The damage reflection skill, along with the Gakgung I just crafted, has an option to increase accuracy by 60%. He flipped through a book. In addition to cover living expenses during the upcoming quests, I also crafted rare-grade bows in my spare time and sold them at the auction house. The system displayed. Hun's second bow, grade rare. Durability 2-400, 2-400 damage. 94, requirement level 0 to 60, special skill. Dexterity +7. Accuracy +13% passive skill. Power shot, active skill. Piercing shot, an unparalleled bow in the beginner area. Crafted entirely from materials from the beginner area. He was excited. "Let's see how much it sold for." He then took the bow to the exchange. Elsewhere, a man looked at the bow before him. He exclaimed in amazement, "Something earth-shattering has happened." He marveled. Not even the bow that the nation's #1 ranked player, crafted at level 10, can compare. And yet this Hun character created a bow like this when he was only level 1. And what's more, using only low-level materials. Inside the Golden Shield Guild Hall, before everyone was a tower, Blacksmith rankings, first place. A voice rang out. "Smith, the world's #1 blacksmith, once said, everything in this game is ultimately the decision of ASR. He remarked, if ASR is moved by a user's gameplay, it will grant them a corresponding class, skill, or title. He mumbled, the owner of Hun's Forge. was able to forge such a transcendent artifact, meaning that the Golden Shield Guildmaster's eyes were resolute. That's right. Just like Smith, he is the possessor of a legendary class title, Guildmaster of the Golden Shield Guild. On Hyunsu's side, the bow had been sold. He was surprised. Final price $2.50 gold. Hyunsu was happy someone spent 2,000 just to buy a bow in the game, so many times more expensive than in real life. He scratched his head and thought to himself, 200 followers. Now I can't even handle all the invitations from guilds, plus the tons of crafting requests, anymore. He then closed the book. All right, time to go. He walked decisively towards the holy land of blacksmiths, the blacksmith's tower. As Hyunsu set off, he ventured step by step into the deep forest, crossing mountains and woods. Time passed. He had now arrived before a vast green meadow. In front of him was a tower that scraped the sky. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. Finally, I've reached the blacksmith's tower. Seeing it in person, it's even more magnificent. Hyunsu didn't hesitate and moved forward. Looking at the tightly secured gate lock, he wondered to himself, but how do I get in? The system then chimed in, this is the Tower of the Sword Blacksmith. System notification. If you wish to become a blacksmith, use the sword from the magic forge to strike the seal. He gently touched the gate. This seal that looks like a lock. He felt it was a pumice-like firestone. Hyunsu was suddenly startled. Magic forge. System notification. You have entered the magic forge. You can receive training to forge the sword, necessary for the test. Materials and tools are provided infinitely. Furthermore, crafting time is also significantly reduced. Compared to a regular forge, however, the swords forged here can only be used for the test. He was skeptical. A test where you have to cut a stone seal with a sword. Is it just to check my forging skill? His eyes widened slightly. A sword? That can cut stone. Elsewhere, a large man sat on a chair sighing. It's all trash. They're all the same. He was dejected. How can I make the most gold? What should I make to sell for quick cash? He downed a cup of wine, muttering complaints. They only know how to sell scraps of iron, made sloppily with skills. They're just a bunch. Who don't care about the true spirit of a blacksmith? The age of blacksmiths ended long ago. Everyone just does it for the gold. This man was the master of the sword blacksmith's tower, Jia Eng. Jia Eng's eyes were filled with resentment. If all you need is the title of blacksmith, then I'll let you have it as you wish. Unexpectedly, many people came. With just a little effort, they were recognized. You have become a blacksmith. Jia Eng poured wine. You can get that title by forging a half-assed sword and swinging it around. I've given you what you want, so my role ends here. He was disappointed. No one will ever be able to shatter the seal stone. At most, they'll just scratch it a little. Jia Eng growled, absolutely impossible. Meanwhile, with Hyunsu, he calculated, I'll forge a Damascus sword. The system chimed in. A Damascus sword can only be crafted by a high-level blacksmith. We recommend you forge a basic dagger. He asked, but since all the materials are available, as long as I know the forging method, I can at least try right. He closed his eyes. He unconsciously remembered his father's words. A sword can also cut stone. I will teach you how to forge the sword that I have developed. Coming here, he thought to himself, if I follow my father's teachings, I can complete this quest. Perfect alchemy equipment, created by magic. He looked around. The supply is unlimited. All sorts of materials needed for a Damascus sword. Hyunsu got to work, and the crafting time is even shortened. He smirked, this game is truly insane. Hyunsu was excited. Is it time for me to swing my hammer freely again? Over at Jia Eng's place, a light flashed. He was fast asleep. Suddenly he was awakened by a loud noise. He didn't know what it was. He looked around in confusion, wondering, what is this tremor? Jia Eng was stunned. The entire tower was shaking. He judged it was from someone's hammer strikes. Seeing this, he fumbled his way down the stairs to investigate. What just happened? He scratched his head, bewildered. At that moment, the stone in front of the gate had crumbled. The gate then slowly creaked open. Jia Eng was horrified. Don't tell me! His voice trembled. Someone appeared and cut the seal stone. Jia Eng stared blankly at the man standing before him. Finally, the god of blacksmiths has descended. He tilted his head slightly, apologized, and calmly asked him, I've passed the test, haven't I? As they walked, he explained, I have always measured ability through the seal stone. But as you can see, this time you've completely shattered the stone, so I couldn't measure anything at all. But he thought to himself, what is this? Do I have to be retested? He then led him to a room. He stared wide-eyed in surprise. A magic circle. He said, this is a summoning circle. He listened to his words. Now Jia Eng slowly presented the hammer to him. Please take my hammer. He was a bit flustered. What? The system chimed in. You have received Jia Eng's hammer. That wasn't all. Another notification appeared. An S-rank quest will now begin. Jia Eng's voice was stern. This is the real test that you must complete. As soon as he finished speaking, a stream of light enveloped him. His body was pulled forcefully into the magic circle. You must overcome it. He whispered a prayer, O God of blacksmiths. A blinding light shone out, sweeping him into another space. Hyunsu opened his eyes with a start. What, why so suddenly? Is this really a retest? He stared straight ahead. Countless monsters screamed and roared as they charged. The system chimed in. Srank quest annihilate the invading Orc Legion. He was horrified. This is a blacksmith's quest. Hyunsu stood tall, sweat dotting his forehead. His eyes were wide with tension. He looked straight towards the horizon. Srank quest annihilate the invading Orc Legion. Suddenly, the sound of reinforcements came from behind. The reinforcements you sent have arrived. Hyunsu turned his head in surprise. The reinforcements are me. A system notification appeared. Completion condition. Achieve 70% contribution among the 50 heroes. A group of warriors in armor, holding gleaming swords, appeared. Han spoke with a grateful voice. Thank you for coming. I am Han level 48. I am Captain Han. He shared the situation. The Orc invasion of the Supreme Kingdom is getting fiercer. Many of our weapons have been damaged in battle. Can you quickly repair them? With your skills, Hyunsu timidly explained to Han. I think you're mistaken. I haven't changed my profession to blacksmith yet, so I can't use the skills. He exclaimed in shock. What? Han continued to ask. Then what's that hammer you're holding? Hyunsu was startled, looking blankly at the hammer in his hand. He replied in confusion. I received it during the profession test, and was sent here for an additional test. He asked in surprise, then what about your combat experience? Hyunsu answered honestly. I'm still just at the newbie level. Han thought with disappointment. I thought we were getting reinforcements. But it turns out we got someone who needs training. Today's invasion is particularly fierce. What should I do? He made a decision, his tone slightly reluctant. Well, the situation is not good. Please stay at the watchtower for now. There's a safe place for you to rest there, until we return. Suddenly, a sharp axe blade flew towards the two of them. Han spun around in surprise. His face was filled with tension and vigilance. When Hyunsu appeared, his eyes flashed with a sharp aura, showing intense concentration. A blinding light exploded, accompanied by a loud clash. Quick as a flash, Hyunsu drew the sword at his side and parried the fatal axe blow. The axe blade was knocked away, clattering on the ground. Han's jaw dropped, completely stunned by the speed and power he had just witnessed. Hyunsu spoke decisively, even if I'm still clumsy, can I still fight alongside you all? He thought to himself, so this really is a retest. Han thought to himself, really a newbie. The group of warriors was marching quickly, with the sound of hurried footsteps. Everyone passed through a dark land, heading towards the battlefield. Hyunsu reminded himself, I just need to fight like I did against the goblins, and it'll be fine. Han looked back and said sternly, Hyunsu, go with Bao's team. They'll guide you step by step. Bao shouted encouragingly, Hyunsu, we're counting on you. He volunteered. Let me go first. The orcs swung their axes and charged ferociously. One aggressive orc bared its fangs and had blood-red eyes. Growling in rage, Bao raised his shield to block a powerful axe blow. The strong impact created a bright spark. Hyunsu admitted to himself, this pressure is completely different from facing goblins. This is a real battlefield. Another orc charged forward to attack. Hyunsu thought resolutely, but I have a feeling I won't lose. He quickly seized the opportunity, raising his sword and slashing forward. Hyunsu swung, his sword delivering a precise slash to the orc's head. It took the full force of his massive damage. Its body collapsed. A system notification appeared. Orc defeated, received 86 experience points. Hyunsu thought with satisfaction, my 1 month of training really paid off. The system continued to report. You have leveled up. Hyunsu level 2, no profession. Bao was stunned. Hyunsu, you really haven't changed your profession yet. That's insane. He was startled. His eyes widened with worry as he realized his teammate's perilous situation. He muttered in his head, Bao is in danger. Hyunsu quickly performed a swap action. Switch weapon Gakgung. He was in a combat-ready stance, raising the bow high. He was highly focused, his eyes shining with determination. The arrow flew with wind-tearing speed, carrying explosive power. Over here, an orc was leaping up, attacking another warrior. The orc was hit. Its blood-red eyes widened in intense pain and terror. Its body was knocked back by the arrow's force, flipping over in midair. Blood splattered everywhere. Distracted by his teammate's situation, Bao was ambushed from behind by an orc. Hyunsu quickly drew a second arrow. He shot the arrow straight into its head, making the orc scream in pain. Another fatal arrow pierced through its body. Information has been updated. You have leveled up. Bao thought in amazement. One arrow took down a giant orc. Is that possible? Han frowned and ordered gruffly, focus Bao. The orcs are charging straight for Hyunsu. Hyunsu was surrounded by a mob of orcs. Bayo was terrified, his heart pounding. He's in danger because he saved me. He angrily blamed himself. How could I lose focus? Right in the middle of a battle. Bayo was filled with regret. It's all my fault. It's because of me that Hyunsu raised his hand to summon. Switch weapon light sword. He executed the skill Wild Dance. An orc roared in anger, its face ferocious and coarse, mouth wide open with sharp teeth. The system confirmed. Wild Dance attacks all enemies within a 10 mm radius. Hyunsu successfully received the result from the system, regardless of target. You have leveled up, contribution 19%. Han laughed loudly with confidence, looking towards Hyunsu. Jia Eng didn't send you here for nothing. With him by our side, he was filled with hope. We can do things we couldn't before. Impossible! Everyone exclaimed in admiration. Amazing! Han declared heroically. Everyone listen to me. Today we will annihilate the Orc Legion. Together with Hyunsu, the system delivered an important announcement. Your achievements have raised the morale of the expeditionary force. Hyunsu was overjoyed. It feels like I'm truly a member of the team. He thought worriedly, but a sudden notification appeared. You have won. Hyunsu ducked and weaved through the orcs' attacks, his movements decisive and agile. System update contribution 28%. Hyunsu wasn't quite satisfied. Why isn't my contribution increasing as expected? The system announced the achievement you defeated. An orc faster than anyone else. A new quest has been activated, hidden quest. Everyone suddenly accelerated, running forward. The system opened a new door. A chapter that has never appeared before. A giant orc stood imposing, holding an orc axe. Warrior level 51. Han stopped and shouted, "Wait, everyone stop!" His voice was serious. It has finally appeared. Han's face was drenched in sweat. I've never been able to defeat it. He struggled to get the words out. Our nemesis. A soldier in the squad shouted, "Captain." He reported the situation. We're surrounded. Han in a panic realized his mistake. Damn it, that was a mistake. We were too bloodthirsty and got in too deep. Bayo's call snapped him out of it. Captain, he said with a determined voice, we are all ready. Today we must take it down. Bayo showed a strong fighting spirit. We will never retreat. Han agreed, that's right. We can't go on like this. He commanded the warriors. Everyone charge. Upon receiving Han's order. The entire team tightened their grip on their weapons, giving their all to fight to the end. Hyunsu watched silently from a distance. Damn, they've lost their cool and are charging recklessly. He decisively drew his bowstring. I have to cover them with my bow and arrows. The arrow tore through the wind, slamming straight into the orc warrior, but it didn't do any damage. Hyunsu couldn't believe his eyes. My bow and arrow have no effect. He made an assessment. This gakgung is supposed to have piercing and accuracy increasing effects. One by one his teammates fell. They were all defeated by the hand of the brutal orc warrior, Hyunsu exclaimed. But the orcs, warrior skin is as tough as iron armor. In that moment, he realized that the bow alone was not enough. Han gritted his teeth in frustration, thinking, still not enough. Do we have to retreat again? He charged straight into the battle, resolutely shouting, we cannot retreat any further. The orc warrior raised its giant fist forward, aggressively staring at its opponent preparing to attack. A slash flashed by at incredible speed, severing his arm. Blood sprayed into the air. Witnessing Han fall before him, Hyunsu shouted anxiously. Captain, Han felt helpless. It's no good. He panted in pain from exhaustion. The orc warrior stared at its opponent with a contemptuous gaze. Han's eyes lost their belief. No matter what we do, we can't penetrate their armor. He said sadly, we're all going to be wiped out. Hyunsu bowed his head and gritted his teeth. Han turned to the remaining warriors and called out, everyone. He spoke with a worried voice. If we keep fighting like this, the losses will be even greater. The whole team was stunned to hear those words come from his mouth. Hyunsu made a suggestion. First, let's reform our ranks and focus all our efforts on defense. He urged everyone to follow his lead. Quickly retreat into the forest behind us. I will follow right after. Han hastily gave the order. Everyone follow Hyunsu's command. We need to get the captain to a safe place. And regroup. He urged, hurry up, retreat into the forest. Set up a defensive line. Han turned to Hyunsu with some concern. In the forest, our speed will be reduced. Yes, after all we're doing is buying time. Hyunsu spoke seriously. Just 5 minutes, he pleaded. Can you hold out for just 5 minutes? Han affirmed firmly, yes. We will definitely make it. Hyunsu ran towards the dense forest. The blurry tree trunks rushed past on both sides. His feet moved swiftly over the ground, creating a rhythmic thumping sound. He couldn't help but wonder, can an arrow not penetrate that solid armor? Hyunsu decisively dismissed the thought. No. He stood alone among the moonlit shaded trees. He stood tall, one hand firmly gripping the hammer, preparing to activate a new skill. Jia Eng's hammer replica, epic item, special skill. He vowed to himself there will be a way. On this side of the front line, everyone was trying their best to hold on. The orc warrior mercilessly struck down one person after another, like a destructive storm on the battlefield. Blood splattered into the dark air. Han struggled to get up, trying to boost morale. We have to hold on. He continued to encourage, just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes? Han glared at his opponent, struggling to say, just a little longer. And we will never retreat. Suddenly, the giant orc warrior raised its spear, intending to attack Han, but was stopped by a mysterious force. The powerful collision created a blinding light. Before it could recover, it was hit by a fatal blow from afar. Han asked in bewilderment, what was that? Yunsu's shadow lurked at the edge of the forest, appearing for a fleeting moment between the light and the shadows of the trees. He hid among the canopy, focusing his aim on the enemy. It roared in pain and rage. Yunsu attacked it again. This time the arrow lodged precisely in the orc warrior's head. He gently released the bowstring, calmly observing the result of his shot. Yunsu looked towards his teammates, who were facing the legion of orcs. Han shouted in panic, Hyunsu! He had successfully unlocked a new skill, Pajian Broken Arrow. Hwasal Arrow Rare, Damage 95, Special Skill. Hyunsu calculated in his head step by step, split the tree trunk to make the bow and arrow shaft. He continued to ponder. The arrows are carved and multiplied by the blacksmith's hammer into Hwasal. Yunsu analyzed the situation in his head. Combine the two with the Gakgung and the system signals. Gakgung and Pajian activate set effect. Yunsu stood in a ready-to-fight stance. Han charged straight into the battle, swinging his weapon to support his teammates with all his might. A warrior shouted, his eyes resolute, hold the line. Buy time for Hyunsu to attack. Hyunsu hooked his fingers and drew the bowstring, preparing to release the arrow. The arrow was fired, aiming directly for the orc's forehead. He felt confident in his new weapon. The piercing power of Pajian can be compared to a weapon that uses gunpowder and arquebus. His eyes focused on the target. Yet another arrow was fired, flying at the speed of light. Its destructive power shook the ground, creating swirling energy rings, directly hitting the top of the orc warrior's head. A new notification appeared on the interface. You have defeated an orc warrior. The system flashed again, leveled up. The recent attack made it unable to stand firm any longer. The system signaled received title Orc Slayer. The orcs were stunned, watching their comrades fall before them. Fear was evident on their faces. It dropped its weapon and turned tail to run. No one wanted to miss the opportunity. Look, they shouted. The orc warrior is scared and trying to escape. Get it. Behind it, Hyunsu was in hot pursuit. The light from his weapon flared up, emitting a fierce energy. Amidst the dust of the battlefield, Hyunsu leaped into the air, drawing his bow and shooting down from above. His blood-red eyes shone brightly, exuding a terrifying killing intent. The arrow whizzed towards the orc warrior. It realized the danger in terror, trying to dodge, but the arrow arrived before it could react. The orc warrior was terrified beyond measure. Its mouth fell open as it screamed. The arrow hit, cracking and shattering its helmet. A new notification immediately popped up. S-rank quest subjugation of the invading orc army. Analyzing combat data. Contribution 92%. Quest progress update completed. With outstanding performance, the crowd of warriors cheered, shouting his name. Hyunsu, Hyunsu. The interface displayed a notification. The expeditionary force is ecstatic over your achievement. Another notification appeared. The expeditionary force trusts your command. Hyunsu received a hidden title, leader of the battlefield. Special skill, charisma +10. Han spoke weakly, Hyunsu. He turned back. Captain Han. He was emotional, his voice choked up. For so long, even defending has been so difficult. I thought I would never see this day in my entire life. I finally fulfilled my long-held wish to destroy the orcs. He looked at Han with a calm and respectful gaze. Han placed his hand on his left chest. He expressed his sincere gratitude. Thank you so much. Hyunsu's hand also touched his chest. He spoke humbly and gently. I thank you all as well. He sighed in relief inwardly. The test is finally over, Hyunsu muttered to himself. Now I'll be returning to the blacksmith's tower, right? He scratched his head in confusion. But how do I get back? In the central area of the tower, the blacksmith's hall. Jia Eng's voice was grim. The blacksmith's tower is in decline. He continued to speak. All glory and honor belong to the knights, and only those blinded by money. Come to the forge tower, Jia Eng said seriously. We need someone with the true spirit of a blacksmith. He spoke in a thoughtful tone. To be precise, Jia Eng affirmed, someone worthy of using this sword. He added, many have been chosen over the years, but the prophecy has not yet been fulfilled. The prophecy left by the god of blacksmiths from ancient times. The prophecy that a successor will appear and bring prosperity once again. Gao Cheng spoke with an arrogant tone. So you are the master Jia Eng. the only Tower Master, to have earned the right to participate in the Sword God's trial. Is that right? He said sarcastically. However, is this the deceit of the Chosen One? You called us here even though we were all busy to gather. To discuss. He was the Tower Master Gu Chung, master of the bow forging tower, showing his displeasure, giving the right to participate in the trial to an outsider, a fledgling no less. Jia Eng replied calmly. Gu Chung, have you read the letter I sent? This is a valid qualification for anyone who has passed the test that we have set. Furthermore, he recounted Hyunsu's achievements. He hasn't even changed his profession yet, and yet he led the soldiers and demonstrated his forging skills to wipe out the orc warriors. Master Blacksmith asked again in surprise, wipe them out. The person across from him continued, without changing his class. Zhang continued to explain, the trial was established based on the prophecy. The successor to the god Blacksmith is the strongest of all. Therefore, this sword will be bestowed upon the one with the perfect answer. He chuckled to himself, a joy only he could know. He will know soon enough. A soldier entered and reported respectfully, Lord Zhang. Mr. Hyunsu has arrived at the Grand Hall. He replied sternly, understood. Zhang ordered in a serious tone, bring him here. Hyunsu entered the hall, each step careful and decisive. He placed his hand on the wooden door, pushing it open bit by bit. The door swung wide open. Hyunsu stepped inside with a confident air. Zhang smiled and welcome, outsider. Having overcome many trials, you are now entering the blacksmith's sanctuary. He continued. Zhang eloquently declared further, you have earned the right to challenge the prophetic sword, the treasure left behind by the god Blacksmith. Zhang continued to encourage, as soon as you grasp the sword, everything will be decided right there. You will receive a worthy reward. Hyunsu was surprised. A thought flashed through his mind. A worthy reward? Since I even cleared an additional S-rank quest during the trial for a class change. Maybe I'll be changed to a legendary rank class. Kosen spoke from behind with a sarcastic tone. Congratulations on standing here with us in this glorious place, he exclaimed in feigned admiration. Your performance was magnificent. To be able to keep your cool in such a desperate moment. Kosen smirked contemptuously. However, the arrows you created were just copies of Suna's ions. His voice dripped with sarcasm. In any case, you were very lucky. If not for that epic-grade bow, you wouldn't have passed the trial in the first place. Kosen laughed loudly, challenging him. So go on, pull out that sword. Let's see if your luck holds out. Hyunsu pressed his lips together, suppressing a surge of emotions. He was aware that these were the masters of all blacksmiths. They were superhuman NPCs, the master blacksmiths, who had gone through many wars in the past, who had created the legends of Az. To do that, they must all possess levels and titles that are astounding for a blacksmith. The system screen displayed their power levels. Tower Master Kosen, Master of the Bow Forge Tower, level 365. Hyunsu thought to himself confidently, they're definitely amazing. But I don't think my skills are inferior to anyone's. He was sure of his assessment. Besides, if we compete purely, without relying on titles, then what? Hyunsu encouraged himself, I can do this. He stood before the sword. The light it emitted pulsed with immense energy. Before Hyunsu could touch the sword, it suddenly erupted with an aura and hidden power. He showed a look of terror, eyes wide, and mouth agape as he witnessed the scene before him. The sword, the treasured artifact, exploded into a blinding torrent of energy. A massive sphere of white light erupted from the center, where Hyunsu was standing. The source of energy, which was the sword, transformed its power and entered Hyunsu's body. He cried out in alarm, what is this? Where did the sword go? Why is this happening? Yang exclaimed joyfully, just as expected. He couldn't hide his joy. A wide, toothy grin filled with delight. Yang laughed heartily, completely satisfied. This is the meaning of the prophecy being fulfilled. He added, we were just arbitrarily creating rituals and procedures. The true successor doesn't even need to touch the sword. Kosen glared, his face contorted with anger. Damn it, this is unacceptable. The system immediately sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations. Hyunsu has successfully obtained a new achievement. First god class of Ares. He felt a bitter resentment in his heart. Not me. Not Yang, but that outsider. The system reported again. You have been anointed as the god Blacksmith. But Kosen still couldn't believe the reality before him. He's going to become our god Blacksmith. The class interface displayed, Hyunsu level 10 god Blacksmith. Hyunsu questioned inwardly, a god class. And the first one in Ares. The first notification appeared. Unique SSS rank title, God Blacksmith. A second guide interface appeared immediately after. When crafting artifacts, you are not limited by material level. A crafting guide was displayed. When crafting artifacts, your proficiency stat will increase based on each type. A system dialog box declared, you will become superior to all others in blacksmithing. The final instruction. Class quest challenge of the sword god will begin. Upon reaching rank 100, a master blacksmith whispered, "The sword chose that outsider." The other one spoke pensively. "Then according to the prophecy, the successor to the god blacksmith is..." Kosen roared in anger, "Unacceptable!" All eyes turned towards him. Rage flaring, Kosen lost his composure and yelled, "We are the Tower Masters. We have waited to become the great successor, to receive the revelation from the god blacksmith. You cannot conclude that the sword's choice is the will of the god blacksmith." Yang sternly refuted his words. "The prophecy is absolute." Kosen reacted very harshly. "This is not stubbornness. The one acknowledged by all Tower Masters will become the successor to the god blacksmith. That is also part of the prophecy." His voice was strong and powerful. "Therefore, I, Kosen, master of the bow-forged tower," he declared, pointing a finger straight ahead, "challenge you, outsider, to a forging duel." Kosen made a pact. "If you defeat me in this duel, I will recognize you as the successor. But if I win, then..." He lowered his voice, looking smug. "You must renounce your position as the successor chosen by the prophetic sword. Give it up." Yang called out sternly for everyone to intervene. "He's lost his mind. Everyone, we must restrain Kosen." But everyone turned a blind eye. He frowned and mumbled, blaming the crowd. "These people..." Kosen offered another option. "You can run away, if you want. In that case, I'll grant you the position of Vice Tower Master." He also added a condition. "On the condition that you receive proper instruction and behave obediently under my command." Jang yelled, his voice filled with helplessness echoing from behind. "I accept." Hyunsu accepted Kosen's challenge. "All right." He was confident in his decision. "I accept the duel. Your current stats." Hyunsu level 10, God Blacksmith attributes displayed. Class skills. Hyunsu was ready for the match. Because a blacksmith speaks through his skill. System notification. You can use divine customization. A duel between two blacksmiths is about to take place. Quest. A duel between two blacksmiths has been established. Finally, he spoke with a resolute expression. "The way we fight will be different from that of knights." He began to explain. "We will forge artifacts that carry our souls in the forge. Then using the blades that we have created, we will fight. The first blade to break loses." Kosen pointed to the waiting hall and introduced it. "The best forge has been prepared inside the waiting hall." Jayan spoke calmly. "With your two's smithing level, 1 day should be enough for you both to complete your blades." Kosen smirked smugly. "Indeed. But that's only if you truly are the god blacksmith. Well then, see you tomorrow." He left triumphantly, a cunning smile on his face. Jang spoke worriedly. "Hyunsu, you accepted the challenge too quickly." He revealed, "Kosen is one of the strongest in the tower." Jang reminded him. "Even though you've received the god class, it still takes time to develop, you know." Hyunsu understood this current situation clearly. "Yes, that's true. If my class were still as it was in the past, this would be a devastating loss for me. From the beginning of time, people have passed down stories about the world of the game Ares. And above all here, players would receive skills and enhancement, effects, powerful buffs, based on their rank and title. Each tower has a master. Moreover, the Tower Master of each tower possesses innate abilities. Hyunsu felt that, but when I ascended to the God class, that disparity is no longer significant." He confidently clenched the hammer in his hand. "Right now, the only difference is purely skill. And that is even more apparent than before." He thought to himself, "Because of the skill I received." The system displayed the attributes. Skill Love. 1 Divine Smithing Customization. Active Skill. God Tier. Description interface allows the user to freely craft weapons as desired. Inside the forge, the blazing fire from the furnace cast its light. Kosen forcefully swung his hammer high. Each powerful strike echoed. The firelight reflected off the hardened face of a veteran blacksmith. "I was once a blacksmith who forged many swords," but Kosen reminisced. "The art of swordsmithing has been passed down in my family for many generations." So he emphasized that I am the rightful heir, taught by my own father. The memories of the past slowly flooded back. But back then, someone far superior to me appeared. During that time, Kosen's heart was filled with bitterness. And so instead of forging swords, I was forced to become the master of the bow-forged tower. He couldn't hide his jealousy. I hated him, but I understood and accepted it. That person was none other than the Master Jang. The anger in his heart was uncontrollable, but his heart was full of resentment. That bastard brought back some random nobody and placed him in a position higher than mine. Kosen's heart was filled with hatred. I will never forgive that. He poured all his anger from his heart onto the metal. The fire inside blazed furiously. Sparks flew out fiercely. Hyunsu's face was dotted with sweat. He let out a sigh of relief, holding the blade in his hand. It glinted coldly under the bright light. Jang observed in silence. Infusing divine power and effects into a weapon, He silently assessed. Always follows the basic principle of give and take. Zhang quietly evaluated. To ensure victory belongs to me, one must first ensure durability, then maximize the armor-piercing attribute. In his mind, he had a clear goal. So to create the desired effects, you must forge it to the highest possible grade, Zhang considered. But Hyunsu's durability and attributes are only at the rare grade. Hyunsu stood straight, raising the newly forged blade high. A brilliant golden light illuminated the entire room. He said to himself, Hyunsu, what on earth are the thoughts and skills of a god blacksmith? The day of the duel had arrived. Kosen raised an eyebrow, his voice filled with scorn. You didn't run away, I see. Does that mean you were able to forge a sword overnight, huh? He uttered a contemptuous remark. Let's see if your creation can truly be called the work of the god's successor. Kosen slowly drew his sword from its sheath. A deep voice rang out. First, he threw the scabbard to the ground. Kosen spoke slowly. Allow me to introduce my blade. A series of stats appeared. Ignite, durability, damage, special skill. He stood with his arms crossed, watching intently. A master spoke up in praise as expected. Kosen's skills are extraordinary. The person next to him added, in just one night, he was able to create a perfect dueling sword. It's truly astonishing. Truly a masterpiece. Kosen smirked slightly, feeling an indescribable joy. Of course, this is a blade that bears the mark of my family's tradition and secret techniques. He was extremely curious. Now let me see your sword. Hyunsu drew his sword from its sheath, raising it for all to see. In that instant, his face froze. Contrary to Kosen's expression, Young was overjoyed. The stats appeared one by one. Hyunsu's first custom-made sword, grade rare. Everyone was surprised, muttering amongst themselves incessantly. Rare, a rare grade sword. The whispers echoed throughout the hall. How pathetic. Perhaps Kosen's speculation was right from the start. The more he heard, the darker Kosen's expression became. Anger swelled within him. He laughed coldly, dark schemes forming in his mind. This time you've made a grave mistake. Kosen turned and took his stance, his cold gaze fixed on his opponent. This ridiculous contest, he roared in anger, will be over soon. Hyunsu focused his energy into the sword in his hand, ready to fight. He frantically attacked his opponent. The two swords clashed, letting out a deafening sound that echoed through the space. The unexpected happened. Kosen's sword had broken in half. The recent development was so fast it left everyone stunned. Kosen was speechless, his eyes wide pupils shrinking in shock. But Hyunsu maintained his firm cold gaze, unwavering. One half of Kosen's blade fell to the ground. His feet froze, trembling uncontrollably. He asked in disbelief, what? How is this possible? How could it be? Hyunsu's lips moved and he spoke up to explain. You can't just look at the grade to judge a sword. The system immediately displayed detailed information about the weapon's skills. Hyunsu's first custom-made sword. Suddenly, his father's old advice echoed in his mind. Kosen, my son, one day, the god Blacksmith will appear in this land. His father's voice echoed in his mind. A person who can shatter our perceptions and lead us to new horizons. And the opportunity to meet that person belongs to all of us. Kosen naively asked, Father, if I can also become a great blacksmith, will I be taught by that person? Zhang watched from a distance. He thought to himself, if he only broke the sword, it wouldn't be enough to convince the tower masters. That's why he created the blade breaker. Zhang recalled their conversation from last night. He had asked, is this possible? Hyunsu shared frankly, this is not an easy task. To create a weapon with the desired grade depends entirely on, he said with a firm voice, and a blacksmith's skill, sweat, and blood. The system explained again. Divine smithing customization. The higher the effect's grade, the harder the crafting process. Zhang was overjoyed. Bold choices, along with the decisive will to break all the rules, combined with the knowledge and ability to execute it. He was filled with pride. Hyunsu possesses all of those qualities. When Kosen suddenly spoke up, God Blacksmith, he hesitated before speaking. Can I also forge a sword like that? Hyunsu turned his head slightly and gave a friendly smile. He replied calmly, of course you can. Kosen was moved, his eyes welling with tears. He respectfully knelt before him. He bowed his head in submission. Kosen, master of the Bowforge Tower, bows before the god Blacksmith. System notification. New achievement unlocked. Quest complete. A duel between two blacksmiths. Central Tower Blacksmith's Grand Hall. Kosen brought a box and gently called out Hyunsu. He held the box in his hands, his voice full of reverence. Please accept this. The box opened. Kosen introduced first the basic reward. 500 gold. Hyunsu was thrilled inside. This is the quest reward, Kosen added. And this is the scroll containing the crafting method for the mythical bow passed down to the generation of masters in the Blacksmith Tower. He acquired a new prize. You have received one of the 10 treasures of the blacksmiths. Crafting method, mythical bow. Kosen shared with regret, this is a crafting method that I could never complete. He believed that entrusting it to someone who is growing stronger every day like you is the right thing to do. Yang continued, now that the final god Blacksmith has appeared, we too will continue to perfect our own skills. So Hyunsu, please aim for the highest position. Hyunsu accepted his rewards. Yang added a final piece of advice, go and explore this vast world. He left to begin a new journey. Hyunsu waved goodbye. The growth of a god will now begin. Returning to the real world. At a roadside eatery, Hyunsu raised a beer to celebrate with a friend. Cheers! Ji-hun stood up excitedly. Am I really drinking a beer bought by Hyunsu himself? And you even got promoted to a god class? This is insane. He grinned, his face full of teasing. I suggested Ares to you, because I didn't want your amazing skills to go to waste. But I never expected you to be this talented at playing games. Ji-hun congratulated him. Finally, after all those days toiling in the forge, you're stepping into the light. He asked further, now that you have a god class, is it any different from before? Hyunsu answered, honestly, there isn't much of a difference yet. He had another worry. But more importantly, I have to pay Dad's hospital bills tomorrow. While I was getting my class promotion, the additional treatment fees have reached 10 million. Hyunsu sighed softly. I also looked into the experimental drug you asked about last time. Because there's no insurance. They said it would most likely be 20 million. He spoke sadly. Plus, there's also the treatment for your burn scars. Ji-hun clarified the current situation. Just your class alone won't be enough to pay for everything. No matter how many more weapons you craft and sell, your body has its limits. Ultimately, you still have to level up and build your own reputation. Hyunsu reminded himself. The growth of a god will now begin. Ji-hun offered his opinion. You need to build more relationships with the most famous people in Ares. That way, even quests of the same grade can yield bigger rewards and rare items. For you, based on that foundation, you can start crafting high-grade weapons again. Hyunsu thought to himself, build relationships with the most famous people. An idea suddenly struck him. I have an idea, you just wait, Ji-hun asserted confidently. This big bro here will achieve the greatest feats and carry you. Hyunsu sighed helplessly. You just try not to get fired. He retorted, hey, I'm being serious here. In the message logs, between Ares players, rumors were flying. You hear K, 2-1 shot. Finally reached legendary rank. Whoa, for real, that's insane. But that's not even the craziest part. The crazy thing is that Sword King Bazat was defeated. Someone actually managed to touch him. For real. No one could even beat him before. Holy crap, for real. How did that person do it? Seriously. How did that person manage to defeat him at the hospital? Hyunsu exclaimed in surprise. 30 million 1 month later? He thought anxiously. I have to pay the hospital bill since it's due today. He walked down the street, but his eyes remained glued to his phone. Hyunsu was still worried. Even if I combine the rewards from the quest and the auction profit, it's still not enough. Dad's treatment can't be interrupted. The phone screen displayed a message that surprised him. Huh! His eyes widened in astonishment. The notification stated that the custom-made sword of Hyunsu has been sold at auction. F310 gold purchased by user Ruth. Hyunsu immediately ran to the payment counter at the hospital. Excuse me, he told the cashier. The hospital bill you said was due. Today I'll pay it all off right now. Hyunsu resolved to himself, I will never be able to stop playing Ares. A message from the buyer, Ruth to Hyunsu. Thank you so much, with your sword. I was able to get through the match with Bazat as I wished. If people understood the true value of your artifacts, they would know that 50,000 one is still completely insufficient. I caught a flaw in the Sword King's attack. Even he was shocked. Hyunsu, the king of the Gozart Kingdom, Sword King Bazat is waiting for you. He said he wants to commission a sword from... Hyunsu stared at his phone, stunned. Sword King Bazat. What? Ruth messaged urgently. Go and meet him. These messages made his eyes light up. The sky was a vivid blue, brilliant with fluffy white clouds. He looked up at it, thinking, if things continue like this, I can pay for Dad's hospital bills and buy the treatment medicine. Hyunsu had made up his mind. I have to go meet Bazat. And I need to find a forge for myself too. A scene of a city with many tall buildings appears. A shiny black leather shoe steps lightly onto the tiled floor, sparkling under the light. A well-dressed man in black trousers and dress shoes steps out of a luxury car. He complained, a forge. Does something like that still exist these days? He called out loudly, Hyunsu! There's only 1 month left until the deadline. The sun had set long ago. The dim light from the street lamps cast out, creating a sense of tranquility. The apartment building appeared under the night sky. A single window was still lit. Hyunsu exclaimed in shock. What? He asked, bewildered. You mean, Ji-hun, I can't meet Bazat? Ji-hun on the other end of the line spoke up. Who do you think you are? You think having a god class means you can do whatever you want? How can a level 10 noob possibly meet the Sword King? He explained that, to meet a high-level NPC, the player's level and reputation must be on par with theirs. To meet Bazat, you need to be at least level 200. Hyunsu was stunned. What, Ji-hun added, but it's not completely impossible. He mentioned the Gozart martial arts tournament. That tournament is held annually in the Kingdom of Gozart. Ji-hun slowly explained further. A tournament limited to levels 50-60. The Sword King Bazat will be searching for potential talents. Because of that, he will host the Gozart martial arts tournament for outsiders every year. He continued to provide information. That tournament is about to start, and Bazat himself will set the prize for the winner. If you want to meet him now, that's the only way. A horse-drawn carriage was trudging along a dirt road through the dense forest. Hyunsu sat comfortably in the cart, leaning against the side. His eyes gazed into the distance, lost in thought. Jia An's instructions still echoed in his mind. Hyunsu, go to the Katsal territory. He added in a stern voice. That place lies on the border between the Borjai and the Kingdom of Gozart, where battles with the undead break out every day. But more than anyone, they will need someone like you. Jia An had told him that the Katsal territory, a contested region, where the invasion of undead monsters had to be stopped. Hyunsu carefully considered this. He decided to himself, if Jia An is right, then the fastest way to level up is to go there. A fierce determination rose within him. I must wipe that place clean no matter the cost. The resolve in his heart burned brightly. Against the pitch-black sky, lightning flashed like a blade tearing through the night. The entire fortress gradually came into view. System, you have entered the Katsal territory. A man spoke up. Are you the reinforcements from the capital? He asked warmly. That's great. We're seriously short on people. He was Company Commander Lander. He explained the reason. Because the number of invading undead has increased. Hyunsu asked, the number has increased. Is there a reason? He pressed. Lander turned and explained the cause. When the Holy Bell La Master rings throughout the Katsal territory, the invading undead become weaker, making them easier to kill. Lander continued. Until now, the sound of the Holy Bell La Master has held them back. Hyunsu thought to himself, so it's an event mechanism. Lander shared more of what he knew. But recently the bell shattered into pieces. He said sadly, we were caught off guard. We could only hopelessly strengthen our defenses, while the enemy started to realize and swarmed in. Hyunsu wondered, can't it be repaired? Lander was surprised, huh? He questioned, don't tell me you were sent by Master Jia An. Hyunsu didn't deny it. Ah yes, I was sent by Master Jia An, the master of the sword tower. Lander spoke urgently. Why didn't you say so sooner? We've been waiting for you for a long time. Let's go see the commander right now. A deep voice called out, hey! He asked suspiciously, you say Master Jia An sent him? He was the Knight Commander of Katsal Khan. Lander replied respectfully, yes, Commander. He wants to see the Holy Bell La Master in person. Surely you can understand the problem then. You must know that Master Jia An himself once declared that the Holy Bell La Master cannot be repaired. Kan listened intently, his eyes a mix of curiosity and surprise. Kan recounted the events. The Lord secretly commissioned its restoration multiple times, but the result was always the same. The Holy Bell La Master is shattered. It's now just an irreparable relic. He continued the story. Although there's still one person in Katsal diligently trying to find a way to fix it. It's just a fool's errand? Kan paused for a moment, then continued, his tone heavy. I heard that person is level 290 and is still helpless. Hyunsu, what are your abilities? The system gave a signal. Knight Commander Kan requests your level information. Hyunsu didn't hesitate to say, I am currently level 13. Kan was a bit disappointed. I don't fault your good intentions in coming to help, but with a level like that, you should probably find work that suits your strength first. His voice became heavy when speaking of the current situation. The Katsal territory is on the brink of collapse. The day the main undead army attacks will be the day of our doom, Ken declared resolutely. My duty is to protect the Lord and the people of this place until the very end. He emphasized his stance. We must fulfill that duty. A soldier called out urgently, Commander? He pointed in one direction, reporting, the undead are breaching the eastern wall. His voice trembled with fear. Ghouls. A giant horde of ghouls is coming. Interface displays ghoul level 41. Ken shouted urgently, hurry, hold the main gate at all costs. The soldier replied firmly, yes, sir. He ordered Lander with me. He quickly replied, yes, sir. Suddenly remembering something, he lowered his voice to instruct. What I said must be kept secret. Understood. Hyunsu thought loud and clear. He calmly told himself, if it's a battle with orcs, I can definitely handle it. A new notification appeared. Territory Defense Quest. Defeat the invading ghouls and protect the main gate. The ghouls swarmed in from all sides. The scene was extremely chaotic. They clung to the city walls trying to get inside. The knights were fighting in a perilous situation. Lander anxiously reminded, the undead will be very difficult to kill without holy powered weapons. You have to strike the same spot multiple times. An arrow whizzed through the air. The arrow Hyunsu shot lodged straight into a ghoul's head. Lander looked at him with utter astonishment. He took down a ghoul with just a headshot, without any holy power. Piercing arrow. An arrow he shot could pierce 4 ghouls at once. The horde of ghouls was torn apart, scattered under the relentless attacks. Everyone was overjoyed to see them being annihilated. He shouted excitedly, "Bring it on, I'll wipe every last one of them out." Hyunsu, filled with confidence, thought, "This is easier than I thought. At this rate, I'll clear this." Hyunsu didn't blink, as if he had seen something incredibly terrifying. The joy was short-lived. A new story begins. Defeat the giant siege ghoul. Lander's face turned pale with terror, his voice trembling. It's appeared. We have to call the commander. System displays giant siege ghoul. Level 89. Lander gritted his teeth, his heart filled with rage. Damn it! He worried about the current situation. Lord Kan is defending the gate and cannot leave his post. Lander was consumed by helplessness. At this rate, the wall is in danger. Hyunsu made a suggestion. I'll try to draw its attention. He stammered. What? How can you? As soon as the words were out, Hyunsu had already left. He charged straight towards the giant ghoul. Lander tried his best to stop him. It's dangerous to go alone. Hyunsu shot off like an arrow, completely ignoring Lander's protests. Quick as a flash, a sweeping slash decapitated it. Hyunsu nimbly jumped onto the wall. Then he gained momentum and landed hard on the ground. Hyunsu told himself with determination, "All right, I just need to take it down." He crouched low and dashed off at terrifying speed. Hyunsu did his best to attract its attention, aiming to create a diversion. A brilliant red streak erupted at its feet, creating a shockwave. He calculated carefully. First, I have to lure it as far away from the wall as possible. Hyunsu's heart was pounding. Did I get its attention? The ghoul raised its giant foot and stomped down hard, trying to crush him. Thanks to his agile body, Hyunsu skillfully dodged just in time. Hyunsu was gradually getting exhausted, his breathing becoming heavy. How is it so fast? If that's the case, a notification sounded confirming a change in tactics. Switching weapon Gakgung bow. Hyunsu gripped the bow tightly, his heart filled with hope. With this, he decisively released the arrow, aiming straight for the ghoul's head. It will all be over. It took the full force of the critical hit. But strangely, it was completely unharmed. It stood as firm as a rock, roaring in anger. The ghoul glared at him with murderous intent. Hyunsu was utterly stunned. No damage at all. It raised its leg and attacked unexpectedly. With no time to react, he was kicked away, his body tumbling through the air. System emergency alert, HP below 10%. Warning continues. When HP reaches 0%, you will be forcibly logged out. Hyunsu couldn't accept it. It can't end like this. The ground shattered under the heavy impact of his landing. Hyunsu lay writhing in pain on the ground. He pushed himself up, trying to get back on his feet. Forced log out. Hyunsu spoke with resilience. Does it think I'll give up that easily? He knelt on the rocky ground, his small figure facing the ghoul's gigantic body. Hyunsu told himself his desire for victory surging. If I don't clear this stage, I won't be able to participate in the Gozart martial arts tournament. Hyunsu had to bear the responsibility of his family. If that happens, father's hospital bills, he thought of the burns on his body. My treatment costs. He thought of his long-held dream, and rebuilding the forge. It will all be gone. I can't go back to being useless again. Hyunsu gritted his teeth. He realized that this game was where he began to change reality. Hyunsu resiliently stood up, continuing to fight the ghoul. He bit his lip hard. I absolutely cannot give up now. This attack pierced straight through its leg. An ear-splitting scream erupted as the ghoul writhed in agony. The pain made the ghoul even more ferocious. The system immediately issued a warning signal, HP below 3%. But Hyunsu continued to fight with a strong will. I will never give up. He shot another arrow at the ghoul. He focused all his strength and whispered, It's not over yet. During the heat of the battle, the bowstring suddenly snapped. Hyunsu was almost stunned. My bowstring! The ghoul took advantage of his unguarded moment to launch a surprise attack. This time, Hyunsu couldn't dodge anymore. The situation was now critical, HP 1%. Hyunsu couldn't believe what was happening before his eyes. Is this really the end? He whispered hopelessly, but his will was incredibly firm. It can't be like this. Hyunsu struggled. I absolutely cannot give up. System notification. Special condition has been met. HP below 5. A strong desire has merged with the condition of the divine blacksmith. You can acquire a new skill. Hyunsu was extremely surprised. A new skill! The system continuously reported. You have received God's emergency crafting. You can activate God's emergency crafting. The crafted weapon can only be used for 30 seconds. Hyunsu didn't have time to think. This is my chance. The system began to count down. God's emergency crafting begins. His heart filled with determination to overcome this challenge. System guide, you can select the materials. He thought to himself, this is my last chance. Without further hesitation, Hyunsu began crafting. He raised the hammer high and brought it down on the metal bar. The fierce strike created a resounding clang that echoed through the space. He gasped for breath, gathering his strength. Drops of sweat rolled down his cheeks. Hyunsu made use of every single second. A long, glittering sword enveloped in rays of light, a powerful weapon had been created. Hyunsu gripped the sword tightly. A powerful blue energy emanated from his entire body. All his strength was focused on this one strike. A powerful slash was aimed straight at the ghoul's body. Exorcism Holy Sword. It staggered, its entire body trembling from the powerful impact. The last slash split its body in two. Blood gushed out violently. Unable to stay upright, its body collapsed to the ground. Hyunsu was exhausted, each ragged breath draining his strength. He exclaimed joyfully, I did it. The system announced, congratulations. You have defeated the giant siege ghoul. You have received experience, leveled up to 38. Hyunsu let out a long sigh of relief. With this level, he struggled to say, it's enough. His body, now almost completely drained of strength, collapsed, and hurriedly called his name Hyunsu, Hyunsu, Hyunsu. The sky was clear blue, brilliant sunlight shining through the white clouds. Hyunsu, lying in bed, slowly opened his eyes. He tiredly asked everyone, how long has it been? The people cheered joyfully. He's awake. A true hero. Hyunsu asked dazedly, what is this? Kan approached and said calmly, thanks to you, we survived today. He was extremely grateful. Thank you. How did you do it? Hyunsu turned his head to look at the commander. He scratched his head, stammering, how do I explain this? Kan burst out laughing. Is it that complicated? Hyunsu thought to himself, even if I told them they wouldn't believe that I forged a holy weapon in the middle of a battle. Kan encouraged him, don't be modest. Today's victory is all thanks to you. Hyunsu knew well that ghouls are terrified of holy power. They're like vengeful spirits, a pure sword glowing, surrounded by twinkling constellations. The moment I realized that, I immediately thought of the Exorcism Holy Sword. It will exterminate evil souls and dispel all calamities, just like what Father used to say about restoration. He recalled his memories with his father from the past. It's also thanks to that I was able to create that sword. That's why I was able to craft it. Hyunsu was satisfied. I'm glad everything turned out as I imagined. This is a cheat skill. It's a shame it's a one-time use. Kan made a suggestion. Ah yes, I must reward you. He held out a bag of money to him. I will be very generous. System, you have received 2,000 gold. Hyunsu stammered, thank you, sir. He looked delighted. That's 2,000,001. Kan confessed. I mistook you for just another outsider. He bowed his head sincerely. I apologize. The surrounding knights shouted, Commander Hyunsu. He gestured for him to stand up. It's all right, Commander. Hyunsu grasped his hand, expressing, thank you for acknowledging me. The system interface appeared. Affinity with Kan has reached maximum. He bowed, his voice pleading. Then I want to formally ask you for a favor. Kan is counting on your help. Please repair the Holy Bell, La Master. Kan placed all his faith in Hyunsu. The sword you just used, I definitely felt holy power from it. If it's you, I believe you can do it. Hyunsu politely declined. Thank you for your faith, but I must go to the Gozart Kingdom now. Kan suddenly remembered something. I almost forgot something important. You're a blacksmith. He revealed, the Lord possesses the legendary ore. If you can repair the bell, he might reward you with it. Hyunsu's eyes lit up. A legendary ore. Brilliant sunlight shone on the city wall, highlighting its majesty and antiquity. Inside the citadel, Kan introduced this way. He opened the door for him to see inside. Kan presented, this is the Holy Bell, La Master. Hyunsu was completely shocked when he saw the bell. It wasn't just broken, it was completely shattered. He put his trust in him. I can trust you, can't I? Hyunsu hesitated internally. Can this thing really be restored? He replied, yes, of course. Hyunsu thought to himself, this is even worse than I thought. But there must be a way. Suddenly a voice called out from behind. Commander! It was Bayo slowly approaching the two of them. Bayo said firmly, that bell cannot be repaired. She leaned close to Hyunsu and whispered, even at level 290 I was helpless. And you say you can do it. She bowed her head, a mysterious smile on her face. She looked up and challenged him. You're a fraud, aren't you? Bayo suddenly made a decision. I'm leaving the guild. He tried his best to stop Bayo. Team leader Kim, what are you saying? He was the guildmaster of Golden Shield Jun. Why are you leaving so suddenly? He tried to persuade her. Won't everything you've built go to waste? Bayo didn't seem to care. Yes, but I'm tired of it now, he mumbled half-heartedly. But this time we managed to invite the blacksmith Hyun, Bayo shouted angrily. That's exactly the problem. offering an unknown player 500,000 one a year. June emphasized, Blacksmith Hyun sold the first sword he forged for 50,000 won. If we have him, the guild will rank up in the blink of an eye. Bayo disagreed. The recent blacksmiths you brought in, they were replacements for the previous ones, weren't they? And then he ran off with the signing fee, right? She recounted his past mistakes. Another one won the lottery and just disappeared. And the time after that, and the one after that? He replied sadly, I know. Let's stop here. Bayo closed her eyes and sighed. Now do you understand how hard I've worked cleaning up your messes, so please don't stop me anymore? Jun respected Bayo's decision. If that's what you want, I understand. She assured him, don't worry. For now I won't be joining any other guilds. June called after her. Even so, there will always be a place for you here, if you ever want to come back. Outside the strong fortress of the Katzal territory, Bayo looked around stunned by the destruction. My God, she said with a hint of regret. This village, it wasn't supposed to disappear so easily. In Bayo's mind, an image of her past appeared. It was here that I realized that the people in this world are not just NPCs, but are real people just like me, Bayo told herself. If I can just fix the Holy Bell the Master, I can prevent this disaster. She held firm to her resolve. I have to check the bell one more time. Returning to the room from before, where the meeting with Hyunsu took place, Bayo questioned him sternly. You're a fraud, aren't you? Going back in time a bit, Bayo suddenly made a decision. I'm leaving the guild. He tried his best to stop Bayo. Team leader Kim, what are you saying? He was the guild master of Golden Shield. June, why are you leaving so suddenly? He tried to persuade her. Won't everything you've built go to? West Bayo didn't seem to care. Yes, but I'm tired of it now. He mumbled half-heartedly. But this time we managed to invite the blacksmith Hyun. Bayo shouted angrily. That's exactly the problem. Offering an unknown player 500,000 won a year. June emphasized, Blacksmith Hyun sold the first sword he forged for 50,000 won. If we have him, the guild will rank up in the blink of an eye. Bayo disagreed. The recent blacksmiths you brought in, they were replacements for the previous ones, weren't they? And then he ran off with the signing fee, right? She recounted his past mistakes. Another one won the lottery and just disappeared. And the time after that and the one after that? He replied sadly. I know, let's stop here. Bayo closed her eyes and sighed. Now do you understand how hard I've worked cleaning up your messes, so please don't stop me anymore. June respected Bayo's decision. If that's what you want, I understand. She assured him, don't worry. For now I won't be joining any other guilds. June called after her. Even so, there will always be a place for you here, if you ever want to come back. Outside the strong fortress of the Katzal territory, Bayo looked around stunned by the destruction. My God, she said with a hint of regret. This village, it wasn't supposed to disappear so easily. In Bayo's mind, an image of her past appeared. It was here that I realized that the people in this world are not just NPC, but are real people just like me, Bayo told herself. If I can just fix the Holy Bell the Master, I can prevent this disaster. She held firm to her resolve. I have to check the bell one more time. Returning to the room from before, where the meeting with Hyunsu took place, Bayo questioned him sternly. You're a fraud, aren't you? Hyunsu was startled and backed away cautiously. He retorted, Who are you to talk like that? She smirked, her words laced with arrogance. A blacksmith of a much higher class than you. Ken quickly intervened. Don't fight. This is Bayo, the high-level blacksmith I mentioned earlier. Bayo, this is Hyunsu, the one who helped us in the recent ghoul subjugation. He quickly clarified. First he helped us fight the ghouls, and now he says he'll help fix the bell. Isn't he very trustworthy? But Bayo didn't think so. A level 38 helping to subjugate ghouls, and what's more, fixing the bell, she said threateningly. I don't know what tricks you're using, but that bell is fundamentally beyond repair. Don't you dare take advantage of Katzal's decline for your own profit. Are you listening to me? Hyunsu pretended not to hear. What's that buzzing sound I've been hearing? Bayo stared at his back, annoyed that he was ignoring her. She began to speculate. Could the fragments have changed? Display screen. The Holy Bell the Master originally contained holy power. It is now completely shattered and cannot be restored. Bayo leaned forward slightly to observe. Just as I thought. Hyunsu picked up a hammer and slammed it down forcefully on a fragment of the bell. But witnessing that action, a thought flashed through her mind. No way! Bayo's eyes widened and her jaw dropped as she shouted, What are you doing? Stop! Hyunsu simply replied, It's possible. She asked, stunned, What did you say? He repeated his words, Restoration is possible. Bayo immediately retorted, Don't you know what an irreparable holy relic is? A soldier ran up to report, Commander, he said with a trembling voice, The undead are pouring in. Kan whipped around, his voice panicked. What, Hyunsu thought to himself, another quest. The system displayed a notification. Katzal territory update will begin. After the update, an undead territory will be established. An update notification. Bayo covered her mouth with her hand, her whole body trembling in fear. The Katzel territory is gradually turning into a territory of the undead. How? She whispered helplessly. So it's over. Hyunsu still didn't give up. Sir, if the bell can be reforged, we can stop it. Bayo was still in disbelief. You're saying you can remake the bell? That's absurd. He replied with a firm tone, I can. Hyunsu shot up, his voice serious as he questioned her. This territory, don't you want to protect it? Bayo lowered her head, her voice weak. You're right, but how? Hyunsu signaled for her. Follow me. The system prompted executing, placing Llama's bell fragments into inventory. He clenched his fist, showing his determination. Let's protect this place together. Han's voice was full of trust. Hyunsu, I believe you can fix the bell. We'll hold them off for as long as we can. He replied firmly, got it, I'm counting on you. Kan, sword in hand, led the knights, shouting, don't lose hope. He encouraged everyone. Fight until the very end. Hold on just a little longer. Kan yelled decisively. We must protect Kasal. The last rays of the setting sun shone on the wooden roof of the forge. The two stood in silence, surrounded by a pile of weapons and forging tools. Bayo turned to look at him, her voice curious. So what's your plan? Hyunsu replied, when I struck the fragments earlier, the holy power didn't vanish. Disappear. That means the holy power is still inherent in the material. He smiled confidently, holding a broken piece of the bell. We'll melt this material down and forge a new bell. If it's a complete bell, will the holy power be even stronger? Bayo interrupted. I've never seen a skill like that. He explained, to fix something. You don't necessarily need a skill. But she cut in surprised, what? Hyunsu calmly replied, what do you think you have hands for? Let's start melting the material. Bayo watched from the side, thinking he's planning to do it by hand. Who even does that anymore? He turned and called out, what are you spacing out for? Hyunsu smirked. I can't do this alone. Deputy Manager Lee and TC Ock sat in front of a computer screen, staring intently at the data. He raised his cup and took a sip of water. One of the TC Ock guys sighed, we're screwed. The Kasal territory update. Looks like this update is going to be a failure. The team lead approached. What's this nonsense? Don't jinx it on update day. TC Ock gestured. Hey, look at that screen. He leaned closer to the monitor. What are you looking at? He asked, surprised. What is it because of that Blacksmith guy? He declared confidently, no. There's no way a player can fix that thing. Don't be scared, Deputy Manager Lee warned. I say that because he's not just some ordinary player. A scene of chaos on the battlefield on update day. Kasal territory. Kan roared desperately, stop the undead. Don't let them break through. The knights were being swarmed by zombies. A knight was caught off guard by a zombie attack. His entire body was thrown from the ground. The zombies attacked frenziedly. He gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down from the strain. Luckily, Kan rushed in to help just in time. He asked with concern, Hun, you okay? He replied, Commander. Kan boosted their morale. Just a little longer. Hold out a bit more. He gritted his teeth and declared heroically, this is where we've lived our entire lives. We must protect Kasale. Cracks began to appear on his blade. Kan froze, blaming himself. Why now of all times? The blade was now completely shattered. A zombie seized the opportunity, unleashing a powerful fatal blow. Kan closed his eyes, resigning to his fate. Damn it, it's over. Before the blade could reach him, it suddenly stopped. Kan seemed to recognize the sound. The zombies clutched their heads, writhing. The zombies retreated, their flesh scorched by holy flames. They clutched their heads and swayed, convulsing in unbearable pain. The tower emitted a halo of light, blindingly bright, illuminating the entire battlefield. Kan looked up at the tall tower where the light originated. He cried out with joy. The Holy Bell Llamas, it's been restored. The event unfolding before him made the team lead choke on his water. His jaw dropped and his eyes widened in utter shock. Is he nuts? Hyunsu raised the hammer in his hand high. He continuously struck the Holy Bell Llamas. The team lead couldn't believe what had just happened. Did he actually succeed? An astonished voice rang out. Did he really do it? What is this? Is the update a failure? An employee with long hair held his forehead wearily and reported, that user hasn't slept a single second since the update countdown began. The man standing next to him stared wide-eyed and yelled, for a whole week, 5 days ago. The main character immediately ran to the forge in the Kasal territory and mobilized all the villagers to start repairing the llama's bell. He announced loudly, listen everyone, we need to melt down the completed bell to get the base material. To be precise, we will cast the power of the gods into it. While the main character drew the detailed blueprint, he gave Bayo full authority over war supplies and managing the blacksmiths. The system panel flashed before everyone. Begin custom forging divine might. The main character said confidently, with a skill that maximizes suppression power, against undead and demons. We can add a true damage effect. The furnace fire blazed fiercely. He shouted, "Turn up the heat." The will to protect the Casal territory is being entrusted to this very batch of metal. Everyone continuously poured ore and stirred, making sure not a single impurity remained. A shout echoed through the forge, "Focus! We are doing our best to protect the territory." The divine power grew more concentrated, seeping deep into the mold. The next day, the team hammered and adjusted the mold all night without rest. The next day, several smiths had collapsed right by the anvil from exhaustion. 2 days before the official update, Bayo, with dark circles under her eyes, dozed off next to the forge. The final day before the update, the sound of hammering was relentless. Suddenly, Bayo woke with a start, murmuring, when did I fall asleep? She rubbed her eyes. She sat up in the middle of the forge's courtyard. The clanging of the hammer still echoed. Startled, she turned her head. In the middle of the courtyard, the newly cast gleaming bell was still resonating. She was silently stunned. He's been working on the bell for days without rest. The main character stood hammer in hand, carving patterns onto the bell's body. Drenched in sweat, a notification box appeared in front of Bayo. Title: The Apprentice's Glow. You have witnessed the forging process of a proficient divine master blacksmith. Advanced forging increased by 2.2%. Bayo's jaw dropped. A master, that guy. The main character glanced over and said calmly, "It's noisy. And yet you still managed to sleep so soundly." Bayo blushed and shouted, "I didn't sleep that much. And look, we're just at the finishing touches now. You can just stay here." "No." She quickly cut herself off, stammering, I wanted to ask something. You're the blacksmith Hyun, aren't you?" The main character paused for a moment, pursed his lips, and gave a small nod. "Yeah." Instantly, a brilliant golden light erupted. A ring of energy swirled around the bell's body as he placed his hand on the final engraving. Bayo looked up at the newly completed bell, whispering, "Whoa," then laughed and shook her head. "No, whoa isn't enough. It's really beautiful." The system panel glowed brightly next to the bell. Hyun's second custom forging. One of a kind. Durability infinite. Special skills. Purge undead blessing against undead foes. Recreation of an artifact once considered unsalvageable. Bayo turned to the main character. "Recreation. Is that why it's so next level?" Then she thought, "I've never seen anyone do this before." She stopped right in front of him, calling out softly in confusion, "Hyun-soo." Suddenly, she grabbed his hand, pulled him close, and stammered, "Please stay by my side from now on." The main character's eyes widened. "Huh?" Then he blurted out, "Is this a confession?" Bayo's face turned beet red as she shouted, "It's just a misunderstanding." Cut to the present. The main character brought his hammer down hard. The toll of the bell exploded, spreading across the sky. From outside the city walls, the monsters shrieked in terror as the sound of the bell washed over them. They collapsed amidst a sea of fire, wailing horribly. The warriors stood frozen, panting. The system panel appeared. A new bell has been forged, wiping out the undead. Next, the update can be stopped, and a new story can be created. The main character by the bell tower breathed a sigh of relief. "We did it. Glad we weren't too late." But suddenly his body swayed. A warning flashed. Accumulated fatigue. You will enter an abnormal state. At that moment, main character crumpled at the base of the bell. Bayo rushed over, shouting anxiously, "Hyun-soo! Hyun-soo, are you okay?" A notification appeared. Quest: repair the llama's bell. Complete. Reward will be modified. The world chat exploded. "Hey everyone! Does anyone know where Blacksmith Hyun is right now? What's this, a nerd alert? This is the reason Ares' Casal territory update failed. Hey, before and after pics of the bell tower, I remember now, wasn't he the one who made Hyun's first custom sword? Oh, that Hyun is the Hyun, what the hell? He fixed the llama's bell too." A flood of notifications poured in, now following Hyun's blacksmith shop. Early morning sunlight streamed through the window. The main character woke with a start, clutching his head from the relentless sound of notifications. A notification popped up, Hyun's blacksmith shop. 10165 followers. He shot up. 101,655 followers. How is that possible? This is unreal. He suddenly smiled. Glad I carved Hyun onto the bell. From now on, anyone who visits the Casal territory will see that bell. At the same time, a knock came at the door. "Hyun-soo, may I come in?" "Yes, come in." The bandaged captain entered with a loud laugh. "The savior of our territory is awake." A heavy bag of money was set down. 3,000 gold. System panel, you have received 30,000 gold. The main character's eyes lit up. With this money, I can contact them. Next, Lando entered carrying a wooden jar. "And this is a worthy reward for a savior. The Lord instructed me to give this to you." The jar's lid opened. A brilliant light filled the room. A notification appeared. "You have received the legendary mineral orichalcum." The main character bowed his head. "Thank you." The captain smiled and shook his head. "We should be the ones thanking you." Unlike the other players, you didn't give up, you protected our territory. We are truly grateful. The main character felt the sincerity in their hearts. He said softly, I only did what needed to be done. He thought to himself, because of the desperation of the people of Ares are no different from real humans. He continued, for now I'm going back to where I lived before. The captain smiled. All right, as you wish. The main character logged out. A notification appeared. Hyunsu has logged out. The captain was impressed. This person is truly a mystery. The next day in Gyeonggi-do, a man looked at his phone. Account has just received 300,000 won. He looked up and said, you actually did it. A man standing opposite him broke into a radiant smile. It was the real estate investor Kang Hyuksu. He looked at the main character and praised amazing Hyunsu. 1 year ago in a meeting room, Hyunsu sat across from Kang Hyuksu. The other party flipped through a file and spoke slowly. The total is 30,000 won. They said it was a big fire. Hyunsu nodded slightly. Yes. The man continued. Anyway, with this money you can cover the hospital bills. Hang in there. Kang Hyuksu stood up. I'm busy, so I have to go. Hyunsu suddenly blurted out, Can I buy back the forge? He paused. What did you say? Hyunsu clenched his fists. If I can get the money, will you sell the forge back to me? Kang Hyuksu sighed. Buying back a place that's almost completely destroyed will cost you a lot more. If you need a forge, it'd be better to buy a new building. Hyunsu shook his head. No, that is our forge. It holds too many memories of me and my father. Kang Hyuksu thought for a moment, then said, 1 year, I'll give you exactly 1 year. But remember, after that deadline, I will dispose of this property. Hyunsu bowed his head, thanking him profusely. He left, but turned back to add, I hope the first person to contact me will be you. To the present. The bank notification appeared on the screen. Kang Hyunsu has received 330,000 won. The main character smiled. Seeing this, Kang Hyuksu replied, You really did it. That's impressive, Hyunsu. Even though I was the one who made the request, I knew it was pretty unreasonable. 1 year was already tight for a real estate guy like me, and yet I still kept my promise because I believed in you. Hyunsu asked quietly, Why were you so good to me? He gave a slight smile. Your father was the first person to say he wanted to buy back something he had sold. I just wanted to root for someone like that. Hyunsu was about to thank him. He shook his head. Don't thank me. I should be grateful that you kept your promise. The main character thought, thanks to him I didn't have to give up on the forge. Hyunsu hesitated slightly, then asked, Do you know about the game ASR? He laughed. Of course. Who doesn't know about it now? Hyunsu scratched his head. Actually, I'm working as a blacksmith in ASR. I want to forge an artifact for you as a gift. His eyes lit up. Then could you make me a custom piece? No limits on elemental effects or level. Hyunsu smiled confidently, clenching his fist. Of course. I'll make you anything you want. Cut to a bustling tavern in the game. Hyunsu entered. Baeo waved and called out, Hyunsu over here. This is the first time we've met since the undead wipeout. Huh. The main character nodded. Yeah, I think so. She teased, You're so hard to get in touch with. Playing hard to get, huh? Her comment made him blush. Sorry. Baeo laughed it off. I'm just kidding. She got serious and introduced herself. I am the strategic team leader of the Golden Shield Guild, the one who brought the guild to its current standing. Remembering the moment the main character rang the bell, she continued, That day, I knew you would become a top-tier ranker. Let me be blunt. If you ever start a guild, I want to be the first member. Hyunsu paused, his eyes widening, then he laughed. Didn't you when we first met? Call me a scammer. Baeo blushed bright red. Sorry. The situation back then was easy to misunderstand. That's not the issue anymore. He waved his hand and laughed. I'm kidding. The two shook hands. The main character said, I look forward to working well with you, Ms. Baeo. But before we get to business, there's one more thing. A moment later, Baeo jumped. What? You're going to meet Ba Jap. Sword King Ba Jap. One of the 10 legendary myths. The main character chewed his food calmly, replying, That's right. I'm going to participate in the Gozart martial arts tournament. I heard that Sword King Ba Jap himself will present the award to the champion. Baeo clutched her head. That's true, but that tournament is full of exceptional rookies. It's not that simple. The main character just shrugged. Then I just need to win. Annoyed, Baeo slammed the table. Hey, you're taking this way too lightly. How can you even swallow another bite? He smiled gently. Don't worry. I'll aim for victory with what I do best. Hearing that, she froze, slightly surprised. Hyunsu tilted his head and asked quietly, By the way, aren't you going to eat anything? Baeo replied curtly, I'm fine. Cut to the day of the Gozart martial arts tournament. The stands were packed in the sun-drenched city. A knight on a red dragon swooped down into the middle of the arena. He raised his hand in greeting. Welcome, outsiders, to the Gozart martial arts tournament. The tournament will begin as soon as I leave the field. You will face the monsters that are about to appear. You may not know this, but His Majesty is watching. so maintain proper etiquette. Good luck. A roar of excitement filled the air as he rode his dragon up and away. The system announced, the Gozart martial arts tournament has begun. An iron gate rumbled open. The cheers exploded. The ground shook. Something fell with a thud, making everyone gasp. The crowd looked up. They only saw a giant rock golem appear amidst the dust. System notification, survived the golem horde. Time limit 1 hour. The countdown began. The shouts intensified. Someone roared, all right, bring it on you rockheads. We knew it would be golems, let's fight. The system continued. First challenge. Defeat the level 109 stone golem to receive a reward. Some people hesitated. The level is really that high. Another reassured them. Don't be scared. They said the first round would be easy. Whoever strikes first has the advantage. Before he could finish, a single swipe crushed several people. A red light flashed. A cold notification. HP has reached 0, forcing player logout. Panicked screams erupted in the arena. Hey, you said it would be easy. The rest turned and fled in chaos, while 7 golems continued to advance growling. A golem swung its arm, crushing a shield, and eliminated another player. The surviving players shouted in panic. The info we got was completely different. How are we supposed to win like this? Amidst the screams, Hyunsu stood calmly in the crowd above. The red dragon circled the palace. Cut to inside the palace. Bayo panting rushed through the hallway, thinking the tournament is taking a negative turn. A higher-level golem has been released. There's no more time. If this continues, all the outsiders will be wiped out. She yelled at the guards before the door, move! I need to see His Majesty immediately. The 2 guards blurted out, Lady Bayo, but without His Majesty's permission. Bayo ignored them and roared, Your Majesty, we must stop the tournament now. A deep, calm voice rang out. I will not permit it. Bayo stammered, but, sire, the voice cut her off. Have you still not realized? Look closely. Look at that blacksmith down in the arena. Down in the arena, Hyunsu drew his bowstring, his muscles tensing. He gathered his breath. The moment before releasing the string, the arrow left the bow. Its trajectory spiraled into a bright line shooting straight towards the stone golem. It just grazed past, then suddenly returned, landing in his hand. He flicked his wrist, activating a self-created secret technique. Third custom creation recall. Returns to user. Next is a short arrow made from orichalcum. The people in the distance stared wide-eyed. Did that arrow just come back? What kind of arrow acts like a boomerang? Hyunsu calmly caught the arrow and knocked it again. A thought flashed through his mind. This was the reward from the Casal territory incident. The metal glinted coldly. Orichalcum! Something that only exists in legends. He drew the string again. As expected, the arrow shot out, embedding itself straight into the stone golem's chest. A halo of light exploded, but the arrow suddenly changed direction. Recall it skimmed across the arena floor, whizzing past another player. A shout rang out. Hey, you trying to PK me? Hyunsu was startled. Ah, sorry. At the same time, the golem let out a long roar. System notification. Golem has been stunned for 4 seconds. Stayed unable to move due to physical shock. Cheers erupted. The golem is stunned! This is our chance. Attack! The hunters swarmed. Skill blades flashed, slashing across the monster's body. A series of explosions battered the golem. It roared in pain, stomping so hard the ground cracked open. Its red eyes still flickered as if it was about to recover. It swung its stone fist in a wide arc. Someone cheered. Just a little more and it's done. Run! The giant arm raised, preparing to slam down. Hot wind whistled past his ears. It threw a punch straight at Hyunsu. Crunch! A loud noise echoed as dust flew everywhere. The players yelled, damn it, in the dust cloud. Hyunsu's voice rang out, change weapon. Metal clashed against the stone arm. He panted, it's not over yet. He gripped the hilt of a new sword. He held the gleaming blade up to block the next hit. The moment they collided, a flash of light and a cracking sound right before his eyes. Hyunsu was thrown high into the air, his sword shattering into pieces. In the observation room, someone quickly said, Your Majesty, we should stop the tournament. That player is nearing his limit. Bajap exhaled slightly, saying nothing. But a flash of light on the orb startled him. He stared down at the arena. In the center of the golem's chest, a ring of metallic light coalesced into the shape of a blade. Divine emergency crafting has been completed. Hyunsu panted, tightly gripping the hilt of the new weapon. Damascus crescent blade, capable of slicing through stone. A flash of metal cut a clean line through the rock. Chunks of stone cracked and then crumbled with a roar. The golem's body staggered and fell. A notification appeared. You have defeated the stone golem. The phantom blade slowly faded from his hand. Divine emergency crafting. Damascus crescent blade has now vanished. System notifications rained down. You have leveled up. Hyunsu looked up and sighed in relief. Whoa. My level went up by 14. In the distance, someone was stunned. Unbelievable, he actually beat it. Hyunsu smiled. Huh, Didn't we all take it down together? A player with a wizard-like interface shouted, "How are we supposed to beat something with that much of a level gap?" The main goal was to survive. The test was supposed to have 3 phases from the start. But you ruined everything. They didn't put that thing out there for us to beat. Hyunsu gave a slight nod. Oh, I see. Suddenly a wave of dizziness hit him, his ears ringing. His body staggered, then fell. His vision spun. The sound of murmurs mixed with the commotion. Did he pass out? There's no log-out sign. Are we just going to leave him there? Isn't it more important that the tournament continues? How many weapons did that guy use? I thought he was a jack of all trades, but it turns out he's a weapons master. That's insane. I'd be happy just to have one of those items. Just then, Bio shouted, "Attention all contestants! Due to an error from the organizers, today's tournament will end here." The call to disperse echoed across the arena. The screen slowly opened. Hyunsu still lay there. A live comment feed scrolled by. What the hell just happened? Unbelievable, he actually beat it. Did anyone record that one arrow was on the ground? On it, Hyun was clearly engraved. The audience was stunned. This is the same guy who created the unrepairable item in the territory of Casal before. Messages flooded in. This is nuts! That guy's a blacksmith. No way a blacksmith is that strong. Those items were too OP. In the customer service room, the sound of typing and complaints filled the air. Why was the Gojot martial arts tournament stopped? The employee with the headset forced a smile. I'm sorry, that falls under an internal decision of the Gojot kingdom. We cannot answer that. On the other end of the line, what about the level 100 plus golem that appeared out of nowhere? Were you trying to get us killed? The employee could only repeat a helpless apology, a tear rolling down. Outside, many people were still skeptical, but the audience in front of their screens could only watch on, in astonishment. The scene changes to another location. A woman with glasses smiled faintly, her eyes lighting up with curiosity and excitement. Captain, something big has happened. The long-haired man grumbled, "What now? I'm busy." She turned to him. The Gojot martial arts tournament was cancelled. The long-haired man replied, "I already know that." "Forget about it," she continued. "It's not that. Bajot just summoned the user Hyunsu." The long-haired man spat out his coffee and shot up from his seat. "What, just cleaning up the tournament is taking time. And they're holding a meeting at a time like this," she added. "Hyunsu is on his way to the palace to give his opinion." The long-haired man held his head. "We're screwed. Another all-nighter." She whispered, "I just want to go home." The long-haired man was helpless. "Me too. That user is beyond common sense." "I can't predict anything." The woman with glasses added, "That's true. And what if Hyunsu completes Bajot's request and reaches maximum affinity?" The long-haired man replied, "He'll become the strongest blacksmith. And at the same time, he'll master the Sword King's swordsmanship. Of course it won't be easy. It depends on Bajot's decision." She added, "But I'm suddenly getting worried." "Right." The long-haired man was annoyed. "Don't jinx it." Cut to the next day. Hyunsu entered the grand hall, thinking to himself, "I'm meeting Bajot sooner than I expected." A deep voice echoed down from the throne. "Traveler, listen to me. Normally I would bestow your reward before everyone, but due to yesterday's incident, I hope you understand the simplification. As a master of weapons, your achievements have been seen by all. Let us honor this warrior. The reward is 13,000 gold." He knelt. "Thank you, your majesty." "But your majesty, I heard you were looking for me." The red eyes paused for a moment. A guard shouted loudly, "Insolence, no matter how rare you are. You cannot speak with such arrogance." How audacious, his majesty has not finished speaking. "There's no way his majesty would be looking for you." He lifted his head calmly. "I am Hyun the blacksmith." The soldier requested, "Your majesty's permission. Please forgive us. We will remove him at once." Bajot raised his hand. "Stop. He is the very guest I have been waiting for." The protagonist looked up and replied, "My journey here was quite difficult." Bajot added, "So do you know why I have summoned you here?" The protagonist replied immediately, "Yes, your majesty. You summoned me to commission the forging of a sword." "Correct." His red gold eyes flashed. "Correct. Furthermore, what I want to commission is something that even the greatest blacksmith in this kingdom could not create. Even the best blacksmith gave up, and even the master of the sword tower has failed." He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. His voice deepened. A red aura flared around his body. His gaze was heavy, like a scorching killing intent blowing towards him. "I want to know why I should trust you." The pressure crashed down like a wall of fire. He gritted his teeth. A soft hiss escaped as he spoke slowly and clearly, each word distinct. "Just one thing. I came all this way believing only in my own skill." The corner of Bajot's lip lifted. Then he suddenly burst into loud laughter. His laughter echoed throughout the grand hall. "Ha ha ha, a bold outsider, very good. Bring what has been prepared." The steward, startled, replied, "Yes, your majesty." Just a moment later, he hurried out onto the red carpet. carrying a large urn and placing it right in front of him. Bajat looked at the protagonist. He said softly, "I will bet on your confidence." As soon as the urn was opened, a chilling blue light flared up. Inside was a block of cold blue metal. A notification appeared. 100-year cold iron. A special mineral that has been kept cold for exactly 100 years. It possesses extremely strong fire resistance and the pure ice attribute. Seeing this, the protagonist whispered, "Even minerals only found in martial arts stories are appearing now." He stood before the urn. His eyes lit up, narrowed, and he nodded slightly. Bajat's golden eyes held a stern expression. "Conversely, if you disappoint me, you will never be allowed to set foot in the Gojat kingdom again." The system lit up right in front of him. Quest the King's Commission rank S a reward. Any one request will be granted by Bajat. Failure banished from Gojat. Description: Sword King Bajat commissions the forging of a sword. He smirked, thinking to himself, "This is my chance to demand anything from Bajat." He stood straight, placing a hand on his chest. "I will absolutely not disappoint you. I will do it no matter what it takes." He told himself, "I will not fail," his voice steady despite the beads of sweat forming. The afternoon sun slanted through the wooden frame as the protagonist stepped into the workshop. As he laid out his tools, he realized a pair of eyes was fixed on him. Besides him, a female knight stood with her arms crossed, leaning against the wall, watching silently. An info box appeared. Gojat Kingdom Deputy Knight Commander Bella Level 301. He sighed softly, thinking, even though I'm an outsider, posting a guard this obviously is a bit much. Then he dismissed the thought. No, it makes sense. It would be strange if His Majesty trusted me too easily. Bella spoke softly. Are we that obvious? Just pretend I'm not here. Focus on your work. He scratched his cheek and smiled. Okay, whatever you say. Bella's gaze hardened as she thought, His Majesty has given him a chance. Don't you dare fail. She closed her eyes, weighed down by the sense of responsibility. What a burden. He took a deep breath and told himself to pretend Bella wasn't there. Just then, a blue notification box popped up. The doorbell is ringing. He froze. Huh? Then he turned to Bella and said, Hey, it seems something's happening in my real world. Can I go check it out for a moment? She just stood with her arms crossed and gave a slight silent nod. The screen goes dark. In a small room in the real world, the doorbell rings insistently. He shot up from his chair and shuffled to the door. Coming! The door opened. The landlady exclaimed in surprise, Oh, Hyun-soo! You're home. He bowed his head. Hello, ma'am. A thought crossed his mind. Huh. The landlady. Then he asked softly, Is something wrong? The landlady was flustered. I've decided to sell this apartment. My husband had to quit his job recently, so I need you to clear out the room for me. I'm so sorry. He looked around and then smiled. Don't be sorry, I'm the one who should be apologizing. You let me rent for less than the market price, and I was still late with the rent several times. Yeah. So when do I need to be out by? She replied, Within 2 weeks, please. She apologized again. He bowed his head. Please don't say that. I've really lived well here. He stood there as the door closed and sighed. 2 weeks, huh? He quickly did the math in his head. Buying back the nearly burnt-down blacksmith shop cost 330 million gold. Even though I made a decent amount of money in AZZ, several thousand gold, had to go to my father's hospital bills. My own burn treatment hasn't even started. Where am I going to live now? Just then his phone vibrated. The screen displayed the name Kim Hyun-in. He muttered, Is that Neo? And answered. Hello? Her voice came through. Hyun-soo, what are you doing? I just had a great idea for your current quest, so I called right away. The protagonist said over the phone, I heard a rumor you lost your memory, but are you okay? Neo replied, I'm perfectly fine. Go ahead, what's your suggestion? I have something that might help you remember everything. Immediately she frowned, her voice annoyed. Hyun-soo? He asked naively, what's with your tone? Neo shouted through the phone, making him freeze. I'm really looking forward to this quest. Through this quest, I'm expecting 2 major effects. The protagonist asked, 2 effects. Neo explained. Right now, people are debating whether the Gojat tournament champion and the blacksmith Hyun are the same person or not. If you're not in a hurry to reveal your identity, keep it a secret and make a huge reveal when you form a guild. And another thing, the NPC, Hyun-soo is one of the most influential characters in AZ. You were just commissioned by Bajat to forge a sword. Imagine when Bajat's new sword is revealed. With your mark on it, now is the time to increase your value. I believe in you and will be with you. The protagonist clenched his fist and said in a low voice, Thanks, Neo. Thanks to you, I'm fully awake now. I'll do my best. She added, That's the spirit. A moment later, the protagonist logs back into the game. As soon as he appeared, Bella grabbed his arm. Wait! Why are you just now coming back? The protagonist turned his head and asked, Did something happen? Did something happen? Bella spoke quickly. His Majesty has been isolated in the fire dragon's lair. The protagonist swallowed hard, sweat beating on his temple. What do you mean, isolated? Did something happen to His Majesty? Bella frowned. He quickly corrected himself. It sounded serious, so that was just my reaction. She clenched her fists, her voice low but firm. There's no time. I'll be quick. The fire dragon's nest is the collective name for the territory of fire-type monsters. Within it is Ifrit's dungeon from which no one has ever returned alive, except for His Majesty Bajat. The protagonist raised an eyebrow. Then why did he go back to a place he's already been to, without even receiving the weapon he commissioned from me? Bella lowered her voice. Because His Majesty's target for revenge is in there. He repeated in surprise, target for revenge. The scene shifts to the fire dragon's lair, a sea of erupting lava. Bajat, gripping his sword tightly, rushed through a wall of fire, gritting his teeth. Almost there. He leaned against a rock right in front of a fiery gate, breathing heavily. I just need to step through that gate. But this time this sword won't be enough. He rubbed his forehead, looking at the glowing red entrance, and thought to himself, at least my subordinates who came with me retreated safely. Even if I call for reinforcements, it will take at least 3 days for them to arrive. The sword I haven't yet received from that traveler. I should have waited for him to finish forging it. If my son Ban were still alive. Bajat's eyes closed slightly, his breath hot. Hyunsu! An image of Ban appeared in his memory. A boy about the same age as the traveler, with a bright smile. Then the scene of his blood-soaked armor, his lips trembling as he called out, Father! A choked growl caught in Bajat's throat. Ban, why did you come in here without a word? Bajat knelt supporting his dying son. Ban whispered, the light fading from his eyes. I thought if I conquered this dungeon, I would be a son you could be proud of. But I wasn't strong enough. I'm sorry. Bajat shook his head, gripping his shoulders tightly. Don't apologize to me. I just need you to live. Ban trembled, saying softly, I'm truly sorry. Father. And before he could finish, his hand fell limp. Bajat held him tightly, calling out urgently, Ban, wake up, Ban! Ban! Darkness fell. Specks of light dissipated like a final breath. In the present, Bajat gritted his teeth. I should have waited until the traveler brought the sword. The sword. In the forge, bathed in the sunset's glow, Bella stood opposite the protagonist. Her voice was low, her eyes filled with anxiety. Ever since the prince died, His Majesty has done everything to catch Ifrit, but it refuses to come out on its own. Perhaps this is His Majesty's last chance. Honestly, it's hard for me to trust a stranger like you, but there must be a reason. Why His Majesty entrusted this to you? She suddenly bowed deeply before him. Her urgent voice trembled slightly. As a citizen of the kingdom, of Gojat, and as a knight, I beg you, please save His Majesty. Before his eyes, a quest window lit up. Emergency quest, a sword to save the king, rank S. Condition. You have accepted Bella's request. Reward. Increased trust with Bella. Failure. Bajat's death. Description. Sword King Bajat is trapped in Ifrit's tomb. Forge a sword capable of rescuing him. He thought to himself, I never knew Bajat was in such a state. That day I almost lost everything myself, because of that damn fire. If I had lost my family like Bajat, could I have continued to live as I am now? His hand clenched, reflecting the glow of the forge. His face was calm and resolute. He looked up and replied curtly, I will do my best. The hammer swung high, cutting through the air. The first blow struck the anvil. The forging of a sword to save the king began. The red-hot steel sparked on the anvil. Each rapid hammer blow stretched the body of the sword. The steel gleamed brightly before being plunged into the water trough. Steam billowed up thick and obscuring. He looked up at the still smoking blade, thinking to himself, the heat of Ifrit can melt even unique-grade weapons, so I must create one that surpasses that rank. Focus on the non-melting effect, with the ice attribute as its core. A blue light flared in his hands. His understanding of the 100-year cold iron deepened. A cold aura filled the workshop. The blacksmith's soul awakens. The hammer came down again. Ice shattered. The body of the sword absorbed the cold energy and continued to be forged. Icy mist swirled throughout the forge. A blue light covered the ground. A notification appeared. You are the most immersed while creating this sword. Beads of sweat formed. Another line appeared. Passion, determination, and empathy have put you in a state of selflessness. He continued to swing the hammer, the steel blade overflowing with cold light. An aura swirled and shot up around the body of the sword. A notification flashed. Hyun's first legendary grade sword is being forged. An explosion of light. The sound of metal rang through the workshop roof. Bella, startled, rushed forward. Her eyes widened. Is it done? The protagonist turned his back. He lifted the sword, which radiated a blue light like a reverse waterfall. His gaze was calm but resolute. Let's go. To save His Majesty Bajat. The scene changes. A terrifying burst of flame explodes, blocking Bahat's path. The heat lashed against the cliff wall. He roared in pain, his figure staggering amidst the flames and smoke, collapsing to the ground. His red eyes burned as he gritted his teeth. "Let's end this today, Ifrit." From the depths of the lair, firelight gathered into a colossal figure, wielding a flaming spear. A hissing laughter echoed. A blazing red info box appeared. Flame Nest Larva Ifrit, level 409. The ground shook violently. Bajat shot forward. The blue blade sprang forth, a chilling light. The slash tore through space. He growled, "You have no idea how long I've waited for this day." His aura exploded. The sword's light enveloped his body. A strike like a bolt of lightning landed straight on Ifrit. The monster roared from the deep gash, but its seemingly endless body regenerated instantly. Ifrit turned its head to look at Bahat, then swung its fire staff. A wave of heat swept across, melting the stone floor red. A piercing sound echoed. Bajat jumped to dodge the attack, but the flames, as if alive, chased after and wrapped around his old sword. Bajat let go, thinking, "The sword is broken." Ifrit stood tall, a hissing smile on its face as it drew fire into its chest. A series of explosions sent rubble flying. Ifrit shrieked and flames erupted, covering the cave ceiling. Bajat, surrounded by the current of fire, blurted out, "Damn it!" He gritted his teeth, his body searing hot. Ifrit cackled. Fire gathered around its hands. Bajat, on one knee, gasped for breath, muttering, "Damn it! Did I fail after all?" Ifrit raised its staff, throwing a column of fire in a circle. A circle of flame opened like a small sun. A beam of light from the center of the circle extended into a pillar, striking straight down. A roar shook the entire cave. He looked up, his pupils contracting as he felt the final blow descending. A column of fire descended. The ground trembled violently. Just then a streak of cold light swept across. Ice crystals bloomed like a giant flower, swallowing the inferno. Bajat was startled, looking at the cold sword stuck in the ground. He turned his head to see the protagonist and Bella rushing forward. Both were panting. Bella shouted, "Your Majesty, use that sword!" He gripped the hilt tightly and stood up. A system window appeared. Hyun's custom-made sword. For Bahat Legendary. Fire resistance, plus 43%. Ice attack power, plus 18%. Damage to fire-type monsters, plus 37%. Active skill. Ice Flame. The protagonist smiled, his eyes shining amidst the smoke and fire. "Please, Your Majesty, take it." His two hands gripped the hilt tightly. A current of icy energy coiled around the blade, like a blizzard just unleashed. Ice-like sharp spikes rode the cold wind toward Ifrit. Seeing this, the monster let out a pathetic roar. Immediately, Bahat changed direction, circling to the right. His eyes filled with killing intent, he raised the sword high. He roared, "It's over!" along the body of the sword. A slash cut across Ifrit's side. From where the sword made contact, a continuous cracking sound was heard. A scream of pain echoed throughout the fiery dungeon. Bajat's gaze became sharper than ever. He landed lightly on the ground. At the same time, Ifrit collapsed, its body completely frozen, with no signs of life remaining. He stuck the sword into the ground. The protagonist and Bella, standing by, were frozen in awe of the terrifying power. Bajat fell to his knees, exhausted, and at the same time a notification popped up. "You have defeated the dungeon boss, Sword King Bahat." Sweat streaming down whispered, "Finally, it's all over." Suddenly the cracking sound was heard again. Flames that could burn anything alive exploded into a long column. Seeing this, the protagonist asked urgently, "What's happening?" Bella replied hastily, "Some monsters self-destruct when they're about to die. His Majesty is still in the danger zone. Your Majesty, please get out of there. It's dangerous." Her urgent calls echoed, but he shouted loudly, "Stay put!" "That's an order." He gripped the hilt of his sword. With one hand, he took out a picture of his son. He said with a sense of peace, "So this is the end." Bella thought worriedly, "I have to save His Majesty. Even if he forbids it, I still have to do something." The protagonist, standing next to her, silently watched the core of the fire contracting before it exploded. Then he stepped forward. Bella shouted, "Don't go over there!" The protagonist turned his head and said one word, "I'm going in to bring His Majesty back." The blacksmith god's emergency creation skill lit up. A layer of fire-resistant armor enveloped him. Heat swirled around but couldn't touch him. He strode through the roaring curtain of fire. His gaze locked on Bahat in the center of the flames. Bajat's deep voice rang out, "Go back, traveler. You have done more than enough." He shook his head, standing opposite him amidst the blazing fire. "I can't. I came here to escort Your Majesty back." But he still didn't move. He said, "I'm not leaving." He looked straight at him. "Because of the owner of the necklace." Bajat froze his eyes, turning red. "My son's death is because of me. What face do I have to continue living?" The protagonist clenched his fist, asking urgently word by word through the fire. "The owner of the necklace. Would he be happy if Your Majesty chose to give up like this?" He roared, "You know nothing." No one can understand this feeling, the pain of losing a child because of myself. He charged forward, shouting, "Who gave you the right to speak of that?" He clenched his fists and lowered his voice. "You're right. I will never fully understand that pain. But I can say this." When he looked up, his eyes were bright in the fire. "I also almost lost a loved one. My father is in a coma. Every day I pray for him to open his eyes. And now I am just grateful that no matter what form he's in, my father is still alive. And I believe that your Majesty's son would wish for the same thing. Choose peace for yourself and for him as well." Ban, Bajat froze. The image of his smiling son appeared right before him. "I'm sorry." His broad shoulders trembled, his eyes moist. "I'm sorry, Ban. This foolish father was wrong." The fire still roared around them, but the burden on his shoulders gradually dissolved, as if carried away by the wind. The protagonist said softly, "Your Majesty must live on. Shouldn't you become a father that your son can be proud of?" His eyes softened and he nodded. "Yes, I cannot become a shameful father. Let's go." He gripped the sword hilt, a faint smile on his face. He and the protagonist supported each other out of the heart of the fire. At that moment, a panicked Bella ran over. "Outsider, is His Majesty safe? System HP has reached 0, forced log out." The protagonist was logged out, but his voice was reassuring. "I'll be back soon. Don't worry, no one really dies here." His figure dissolved into light. Bajat watched him go and sighed. "Hyun-soo. He saved me." Before he could finish, he collapsed unconscious. A voice called out, "Your Majesty, please wake up." But a smile remained on his lips even as he was unconscious. Outside the capsule, the protagonist opened his eyes. The screen showed a penalty, level decreased by 1 due to forced logout. He thought to himself, "I will also keep moving forward." "Yes, father." The scene changes to inside Bajat's mind. At this moment, he was seeing his son Ban standing before him. Then, as if sensing the Sword King had arrived, his son happily turned and greeted father. Seeing his son's face, Bajat also became stunned. He stammered, "Ban? Is that you, Ban?" Ban smiled gently and nodded. "Yes, father, I came to say one last goodbye." Those words made the Sword King's expression immediately turn to panic. He hurried forward, gripping his son's wrist tightly. Then he asked in a low voice, "One last goodbye? What are you talking about?" In response to his words, Ban just gently explained, "As your friend said, I only wish for your happiness. So from now on, please live your own life, father." As these words were spoken, Ban's body began to slowly fade away, like particles of light carried away by the wind, and the powerful Sword King himself could not stop the tears from flowing. His mouth endlessly muttered his son's name, "Ban, Ban, Ban." At the same time, those outside heard the noise and rushed inside to check. They cheered, "His Majesty has woken up." "Your Majesty, 3 days have passed. Are you all right?" He rubbed his forehead, his heart still pounding as if he were in a dream. His voice was hoarse. Ban came to say sorry, not goodbye to me. He looked down at his hands, where golden dust motes danced in the sunlight between his fingers. It's all thanks to him. The thought sparked a decision as swift as a blade of wind. "Hyun-soo. I must see him at once." Time flies. The scene shifts to a spacious open room. Bajat sat silently. A low report was heard. "Your Majesty. Hyun-soo has arrived." The door opened. Hyun-soo strode in quickly, knelt on one knee and bowed his head in greeting. "I pay my respects to your Majesty, Bajat." Bajat gave a slight nod. "All right, rise." Hyun-soo pushed himself up with his hand. He raised his eyes and asked, "Are you well?" Bajat leaned back in his chair. His voice was deep but gentle. "Come sit down. I called you because there is something I want to ask." When the two of them were facing each other across the stone table, light streamed through the curtains, creating golden streaks. Bajat spoke slowly, each word as heavy as stone. "I know that outsiders can return even after death, but that does not make death any less frightening. So why did you risk your life to save me?" Hyun-soo placed a hand on his chest, his eyes calm and sincere. "There are 2 reasons. Bajat tilted his head. 2 reasons. Hyun-soo gave a faint smile. "First, because I wanted someone like you, someone who carries such a heavy burden to live on. The second reason," in the sun-drenched hall he continued, "the second reason is, I truly believe your Majesty will reward me handsomely." Bajat paused for a beat, then let out a soft chuckle. His eyes narrowed with interest. "Quite confident, aren't you?" "A bold declaration indeed. You're right." He nodded, his voice as casual as if passing judgment. "I had intended to give you a worthy reward. This is the payment for the sword you forged." The scroll landed neatly in Hyun-soo's hand, as heavy as a confirmation. A notification box lit up. "You have received 107,600 gold." Hyun-soo's eyes widened, his heart skipping a beat. "Over 1,000 gold." Bajat crossed his arms, his voice calm but firm. "You saved my life with that sword. Isn't this price a matter of course?" Hyun-soo swallowed hard, managing only a short sound. His chest filled with the dizzying, overwhelming feeling. Then he bowed deeply. His voice was loud and reverent. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Bajat waved his hand, slightly smiled, and said, "Sit down." Hyun-soo replied softly, "Yes," and pulled out a chair. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. Bajat spoke as if making a promise to himself. "As you said, I will strive to live my life to the fullest, so that when I meet Ban again in the heavens, I will not have to bow my head. I hope you will do the same. Live strongly for your father. He will wake up one day." He tilted his head, his eyes filled with curiosity. "And sometimes come visit me. I want to hear the stories of your journey, and the people you will meet from now on." Hyun-soo nodded. "Of course, Your Majesty. I would also like to hear your stories." He extended his hand slowly and called out softly, "You have awakened me. May I call you my friend?" Hyun-soo froze, his eyes widening slightly. His heart skipped a beat. A blue notification box appeared. "Friendship with Bahat has reached its maximum level. The blessing of friendship has been bestowed upon you." Bajat smiled, extending a hand glowing with a warm light. Hyun-soo stood and took it. It felt like a firm promise. He thought to himself, "I can't believe I've befriended someone as illustrious as Bajat." He shook his hand, his voice sincere. "It is my honor to be your friend." He released his hand and stood tall, the sun on his white shoulders. "To commemorate this friendship, I wish to pass on my swordsmanship to you." The air stilled. Hyun-soo froze for a moment. A silver-haired knight strode in quickly. "Your Majesty, you wish to pass on your swordsmanship to another outsider? Note Benson, captain of the Gojot Royal Knights." He continued, "Recently you chose Lord Roth as your successor. Isn't he the one who deserves to receive your swordsmanship? The successor must be qualified to inherit the sword." Bajat raised his hand, his voice calm but firm. "Of course, I have no intention of passing it on to just anyone, Benson." The quest sound chimed. A quest window appeared in mid-air. Quest: Skill Sword King's Swordsmanship, Rank S, Condition. You have accepted Bahat's invitation. Reward: Sword King's Swordsmanship Partial. Penalty for failure: friendship with Bahat decreases. Bajat's technique is not something anyone can obtain. Defeat Captain Benson and land 3 hits on him without making a mistake. Bajat looked straight at Hyun-soo. "Captain Benson will test your qualifications. Let's see if you are worthy. I will give you 2 days to prepare." Hyun-soo logs out and returns to his real-world room. The warmth of the sunlight still lingered on his palms. In the grand hall, the first thing he did was go to the hospital and pay his father's entire hospital bill. Then he found a decent place for the two of them to live. He signed a long-term lease. He even brought a thank-you gift for his old landlady, who had let him be late with the rent many times. "Take care of yourself," she said with a smile. When things had settled down, he thought to himself, "The only thing left is..." He dialed Ji-hun's number. "Hello, Ji-hun, are you free? Come over, I'll treat you to dinner." Laughter came from the other end of the line. "Dinner? Are we just going to drink beer at the convenience store again?" Cut to the sound of sizzling oil on a grill. Pink strips of meat sizzled as they were placed down. The barbecue restaurant was bustling with the glow of the fire and the sound of people. Ji-hun, looking at the plate of high-quality beef, his eyes lit up. "Oh my God, is this really high-quality beef?" Hyun-soo nodded. "I told you, we're eating at a proper place." Ji-hun laughed like a child who had just received a gift. He immediately picked up a piece, nearly jumping out of his seat. "Kang Hyun-soo, are you really treating me to Hanwoo beef?" Hyun-soo's voice was slow and sincere. "I feel like I owe you a lot. Let me treat you today." Ji-hun got goosebumps and waved his hands, laughing. "Don't say things that give me the creeps." Hyun-soo placed a gift-wrapped box on the table. "A gift for you." Ji-hun was stunned, muttering, "Why does this look so expensive?" He pulled out the box and the lid popped open, sparkling in the light. A brand new pair of leather shoes with a shiny H-shaped buckle. Ji-hun gasped. "What is this? Are these really designer shoes?" He turned both happy and panicked. "Kang Hyun-soo, where did you get so much money? Wait, are these really for me?" Hyun-soo smiled. "You've wanted them for a long time. Consider it my gift. I also transferred you the money for the medicine you bought for me before." Ji-hun was stunned. He hugged the shiny shoes and exclaimed, "Thank you so much." Hyun-soo smiled, thinking to himself, "Thanks to Ji-hun, my life has started to get better." He blurted out, "Maybe I'm the one who should be thanking you." Ji-hun looked bewildered. "Huh, what did you say?" But before he could hear clearly, Hyun-soo had already placed a hot piece of meat in his mouth. "Eat up, kid." Night fell outside the glass window, a crescent moon hanging over the restaurant's roof. The sound of laughter and the warm smell of grilled meat filled the air. Dawn broke, casting a golden glow over the palace square. At the bottom of the long steps, Hyun-soo stood opposite Captain Benson. Between them stood Bella as a witness. In the distance, on a stone platform, Bajat sat silently. "Then let's begin." Benson's voice was cold. "Your Majesty, please draw your weapon." "Sir Hyun-soo." I will not go easy on you just because you are a friend of His Majesty. Steel was drawn from its sheath. The glint of the blade seemed to cut through the air. Hyun-soo took a slow step, the corner of his lip twitching slightly. Neither will I. He pulled out a glowing crystal. Let's fight with all we've got. The stone in Hyun-soo's hand suddenly glowed. The aura surrounding it was also quite unique. Benson looked at the white light emanating from the stone and couldn't help but exclaim in shock, "What?" The stone slowly faded, and in its place a sword that looked simple appeared in his hand. He saw the sword and froze for a moment, staring at the sword. Then, sound of surprise. Right. After that, Benson stood up straight, breathed in and said, I thought something amazing would appear. But isn't that just an ordinary sword? What a foolish thought. With that, he gripped the sword in his hand and got into his stance. Benson spread his legs and shouted in a serious tone, Do you think you can defeat the knight captain of this kingdom with just one sword? As soon as the words left his mouth, he had already burst forward and jumped, slashing straight at him. Hyun-soo gritted his teeth, using his ordinary sword to block the powerful attack. The sword couldn't hold up and began to show signs of cracking. Benson frowned in contempt and said, What were you thinking? Making a sword with such low durability? Before he could finish his sentence, the sword began to shatter into many pieces. Suddenly, Benson's pupils contracted violently. The sword fragments didn't fall to the ground, but instead flew straight back, attacking him continuously. Benson was momentarily unable to defend himself. After a moment, the aggressive sword fragments fell to the ground, one by one. Benson looked at the sword fragments on the ground with a bewildered expression. Faced with his disbelieving gaze, Hyun-soo said casually, My mission is just to land a successful attack. And the number of successful attacks on you, Benson, is... Hyun-soo looked up, looking at the system notifications. 1 hit, 18 hits, 34 hits, 59 hits. Finally, he gave a total of 59 times. Hyun-soo shook the sword in his hand and smiled, asking slyly, There's no rule against doing it this way, is there? No way. Benson looked at him stunned and thought, To think of using this method, it's truly unimaginable. After thinking for a moment, Benson said hesitantly, Sir Hyun-soo, what is your true identity? This unexpected question from him made Benson freeze. He held out his hand and took out his large hammer. He said calmly, I am the god of the blacksmithing world. As soon as the words left his mouth, he held the large hammer in his hand, pointing it straight ahead. As soon as these words left his mouth, Benson was immediately filled with excitement. He looked at him with sparkling, adoring eyes. Immediately after, he bowed 90 degrees before him and said respectfully, It is an honor to meet the blacksmith god. Please spread your swordsmanship throughout the world. As soon as he said this, Hyun-soo had to take a step back. He said frantically, Stop talking. He screamed internally, The pressure is too much. Back at the magnificent palace, warm light streamed through the windows. Hyun-soo walked down the hallway exhausted. He thought wearily, I've been exiled for 2 weeks straight. But thanks to that, I learned the Sword King's swordsmanship, and my basic swordsmanship has improved dramatically. Hyun-soo sighed wearily and thought, But are all swordsmen like that? A feeling of déjà vu. He seriously rubbed his chin and calculated somberly, Because my level is still low. I only learned 3 techniques. But so the Sword King's swordsmanship, Technique 1 Beast Soul Sword Intent, Technique 2 Sword Wave, Technique 3 Sword Dance. They promised to teach me the rest when I'm proficient enough. Sometime later, outside the magnificent palace, he just walked inside, and 2 butlers respectfully approached him and said, Sir Hyun-soo, you've arrived. He had just opened the door and stepped inside when Bajat, sitting at his desk, said politely, You've arrived. Hyun-soo also replied politely, Yes, Your Majesty. He stood up straight and said seriously, I came because I have a request for you, Bajat. Seeing him like this, he also asked seriously, What is it? Hyun-soo didn't beat around the bush and said directly, The 100-year cold iron. I used it to make your sword. I need more. Hearing his request, Bajat put on a thoughtful expression. He tapped his fingers on the table and said somberly, I would have given it to you right away, my friend. But unfortunately, I gave away the last of it that day. Hyun-soo was shocked to hear this and exclaimed, It's all gone. Hyun-soo immediately became dejected, thinking to himself, This is going to seriously affect my plans. Bajat, seeing him like this, smiled reassuringly. Don't be too discouraged. You can get 100-year cold iron from the ice mine. Hearing this, Hyun-soo looked up, listening intently. Bajat gave him a serious instruction. Why don't you go get it yourself? Hearing this, Hyun-soo was a bit flustered and asked, Is that okay? Bajat turned with a serious face and spoke to his guard, Bella. She immediately turned and replied, Yes, Your Majesty. He smiled gently and said, Go to the ice mine with Hyun-soo. Bella seemed to disagree and said, But I must stay by your side. Bajat smiled and replied, Going will be a good lesson for you, Bella. Finally, she reluctantly replied, Yes, I obey. A moment later, Bajat's voice rang out heroically. And so, we announce the defeat of the final boss, Ifrit. As soon as these words rang out, countless comments began to pour in like a storm. Unbelievable, they finally succeeded. Oh my god, a true legend. They call him the Sword King. For a reason. Everyone looked at the equipment on his body, and suddenly noticed something strange, starting a lively discussion. Hey, wait, what's that sword Bahat is holding? What kind of sword looks that cool? What's so strange about that sword? Look closely. Look closely. The sword is emitting an insane amount of cold energy even from a distance. Is that dry ice or something? It's so cold it looks like it's emitting dry ice smoke. There's the name Hyun carved on the sword. It's Hyun again. What is Hyun? Oh my god, have you been living under a rock? How can you not know Hyun? The comments and discussions started to shift to a new topic, about Hyun-soo. The arrow used by this martial arts tournament champion was also carved with Hyun. Rumor has it the blacksmith Hyun is in the Gojot kingdom, but no one knows anything about Hyun. Age level, gender, it's all a mystery. The girl outside the screen, seeing each of those comments, let out a silent sigh of relief and said, "Good thing I spread the fake news that Hyun-soo and the blacksmith Hyun are two different people." Everyone was still talking non-stop. I heard Hyun is a fat guy in his 40s. Since no one has seen his face, anything is possible. Another acquaintance of his, after hearing these words, also burst out laughing. A middle-aged fat guy. You're kidding, right, Hyun-soo? The comments just kept scrolling by. I don't know anything. I'll just follow him. One day they'll have to come looking for Hyun to place an order, you'll see. Immediately after, there was a frenzy of follows from all the curious people. Hyun-soo, now sitting in his apartment, silently scrolled through the comments. He looked at the comments and the changes to his page and said, "Thanks to Baha, publicly revealing my sword in his speech. The number of followers for my blacksmith shop has surpassed 300, 1,000. Everyone wants to know who the blacksmith Hyun is." Hyun-soo sadly thought to himself, if people find out that I'm the one who won the martial arts tournament, and also the blacksmith, Hyun... He looked at the scars on his body and made a resolution. I definitely have to be more careful. He clenched his hand into a fist, thinking, because I still have so much to do. Hyun-soo, while typing on his phone, muttered, but before I go to the ice mine, I have to thank someone. I still haven't thanked that person. As he said this, his scarred face broke into a gentle smile. Kang Hyuk-soo was still sitting in front of his computer, working seriously. He moved the mouse and said, Bahat cleared Ifrit's tomb in just 3 tries, but I predict this is an area that's off limits to normal players. Kang Hyuk-soo rubbed his temples and smiled, looking at the computer screen. A thought came to his mind. Even though I've been to the Salamander's dungeon many times for my class, but so the investor, the real estate and unofficial high ranker, tanker back when all the items melt. Is there no way to get through? Hyuk-soo at that moment it muttered in dissatisfaction. It even melts unique level shields. Returning to reality, Hyuk-soo turned and leaned against the desk, sighing. Even with money, you can't buy fire-resistant items. Who knew a blacksmith who makes high-quality gear was there? Suddenly, the phone on his desk lit up. Seeing the familiar text message on the screen, Kang Hyuk-soo exclaimed with a mix of surprise and excitement, "Isn't that Hyun-soo?" Suddenly, he paused for a beat and tilted his head, wondering. But the promise... Then, as if remembering something, he let out an ah. Is it that creation we talked about that day? He remembered the scene of talking to the young man. His message appeared on the screen again. Have there been any changes to the effects of the creation you wanted? I plan to forge and send it soon. Kang Hyuk-soo looked at the message and thought, what if Hyun-soo can make exactly what I need? With that thought, he replied, no changes. Ah, Hyun-soo, what did you say your level was? Hyun-soo quickly replied, I'm level 59. Kang Hyuk-soo frowned slightly, assessing the situation. Still pretty low, but then he took a gamble and replied, if you don't mind, thank you very much, Hyun-soo. After sending the text, he placed his phone on the table and said casually, well, he's a promising young man after all. It's okay to have some expectations. With that, Kang Hyuk-soo sat back down at his desk. He looked at the news on the screen and said thoughtfully, or maybe I should just send a request to the blacksmith Hyun. The blacksmith Hyun who created the Ifrit sword for Bajat. After thinking for a while, Kang Hyuk-soo also let out a sigh and said, forget it. He doesn't even accept requests from the top players on the server. So why would he accept one from a nobody like me? However, it seems that in his heart, he wasn't quite ready to give up, and he thought, but my class change quest is about to expire. I should at least try. With that thought, he began to type furiously on his keyboard. Cut to another location. A sturdy foot stepped forward. Hyun-soo stood before the ice mine. Looking at the scene before him, he exclaimed excitedly, so this is the ice mine. The system suddenly appeared. Notification, you have set foot in the ice mine for the first time. For 1 week, experience gained will be doubled. Kang Hyun-soo smiled gently and thought, the first person, huh? I'm a little excited. And double EXP. 2. He turned to look at his partner and asked cordially, "Miss Bella, have you ever been to this place?" Bella replied with a blank expression, "Not yet. This is my first time here as well." This answer made Hyun-soo give a wry smile. Still as cold as ever. The two of them chatted back and forth as they slowly entered the ice mine. A young man, with a pickaxe on his shoulder, stood with his hands on his hips and said, "So how did you guys get here? This place isn't just open to anyone." Bella stepped forward and presented a document to him. Then she introduced herself. "I am Bella, Deputy Commander of the Royal Knights. I have been granted permission by the royal family to enter." As soon as the young miner saw the seal on it, his eyes lit up with excitement and he said, "The royal family, is this a royal seal?" "This is my first time seeing one." The young man then spoke up cheerfully. "Hello, I'm Banya. I'm a miner." He also replied cordially, "I'm the blacksmith Hyun-soo." Banya stood with his hands on his hips and said seriously, "It's been a long time since we've had outsiders. But anyone who wants to can enter this mine." Hearing this, Hyun-soo was a bit flustered and asked, "So what should I do?" Banya gave a bright smile and replied, "But luckily, my father is the mine foreman." The young man turned to go inside and said to Hyun-soo, "Let me show you the way, this way." Hyun-soo, faced with this enthusiastic young man, was a bit overwhelmed and stammered, "Thank you," Banya said enthusiastically. "No problem." Bella stood there, her expression completely unchanged. The three of them slowly entered the ice mine, following Banya's directions. Suddenly, a few glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, catching Hyun-soo's attention. Looking closer, the monsters had gemstones on their backs. He asked curiously, "Are those monsters?" Banya stood with his hands on his hips and replied with interest, "They look amazing, don't they? I heard this is like a dungeon." Before, monsters swarmed out from every corner of the mine. But 100 years ago, a mage came here and sealed them in the sealed area. He hesitated before saying, "The thing stuck to the monsters." "Is that ice iron?" "Of course. He's already noticed the things on the monsters." Banya's face fell and he crossed his arms, replying, "That's right. But if you're greedy, you'll regret it. The sealed area is their territory. You can get in, but it's hard to get out alive." At this, Banya sighed deeply. "We regret it too. Because that's definitely the place with the most minerals. But anyway, it's good to be alive to work." With that, Banya excitedly turned and continued to lead the way. After following the young man for a while, Banya finally stopped and said, "We're here." "That's my father." After speaking to Hyun-soo, Banya called out to the front. "Dad, we have visitors," he called out to his father. Banya waved his hand again and said to him, "My job as a guide is done. I'm heading back now." Kang Hyun-soo waved back and said cheerfully, "Thanks for bringing us here." Banya walked a few steps, then turned back, staring at the two of them. In the end, curiosity got the better of the young man. Banya quickly turned around, hid in a corner and peeked at his father. The enthusiasm in his eyes had completely vanished. Banya thought with a serious expression, "What is this outsider doing all the way out here?" Kang Hyun-soo stepped forward and spoke seriously to the person in front of him. "Excuse me for a moment." Before he could finish his sentence, the person in front of him said in a loud voice, "A royal knight and an outsider." Hyun-soo, being interrupted, was also stunned for a moment and replied, "That's right." The man in front of them narrowed his eyes and looked at the two of them. He was the foreman, mine foreman Rich, level 231. He looked at the two of them and asked thoughtfully, "A strange combination indeed. What brings you two here?" Hyun-soo seriously got straight to the point. "I came to find 100-year cold iron. It must be a higher grade mineral than that," Rick asked thoughtfully. "A mineral of a higher grade than 100-year cold iron?" Hyun-soo immediately replied, "Yes. Do you know of any such thing?" Rick narrowed his eyes, looking at the young man before him indifferently. He thought to himself, higher than 100-year cold iron. There is, but there's no way I'm telling him about it. Especially to a greedy outsider like this. Hyun-soo, in his eyes, was just another greedy person like all the others. Rick thought seriously, and if that gets out, the entire ice mine will fall into chaos. Rick looked at Bella, feeling a little torn in his thoughts. But he's with someone from the royal family. Is there any way to make him leave? After a moment of thought, he finally spoke up and asked, "Young man, have you ever mined for ore before?" Hyun-soo honestly shook his head and replied no. Rick crossed his arms, a polite smile on his face, and said, "An ordinary miner digs up 3 crystals a day. If you can mine 40 chunks in a week, we will share what we know." Before he could say anything, the system screen appeared. The information on it was clear to his eyes. Quest: mine 40 ore crystals within 1 week. Rank a condition. Must be assigned the quest by Rick. Reward: depends on the amount mined. Failure: will not learn anything more about high-grade minerals. Description: prove your worth as a true miner. Rick smiled and asked in a loud voice, "So do you dare to accept?" Hyun-soo clenched his fist. He spoke in a serious tone. "What if I mine more than 40? The confident smile of the young man before him momentarily stunned Rick, but he quickly recovered his smile. and said that won't happen. But if you really manage it, I will personally dig and give you the minerals. And you're forbidden from getting help from your companion. Hyunsu heard this and asked, You promise? Rick laughed heartily in response. Yes, I promise. After getting Rick's agreement, he bowed politely and replied, Then see you in a week. Suddenly, he spoke up. Hey, Banya, I know you're hiding there. Come out right now. Rick went over, dragged Banya out from her hiding spot in the corner and left. He yelled as he walked away. You're injured and you're still running around like this. And eavesdropping again. Banya struggled in vain, crying out continuously. I'm sorry, Dad. After the other two left, Bella approached. Her brow furrowed as she asked Hyunsu, Why did you provoke Mr. Rick like that? Faced with this question, Kang Hyunsu seemed incredibly excited. He raised his hand in the air and said, But actually, because I knew I'd be coming to this mine, I prepared something in advance. As soon as he finished speaking, a pickaxe, one that looked far from ordinary, appeared in his hand. Hyunsu seemed like a different person. He gripped the pickaxe tightly, a cunning smile on his face, and said, Better minerals? I have to get them no matter what. Bella, standing behind him, saw this and thought to herself, Honestly, His Majesty has befriended a very strange person. Time passed quickly. 1 week later at the ice mine, Rick sat outside, chin in hand, looking thoughtful. He frowned, thinking grimly, I heard that outsider has been in the mine for a week without coming out. Still, digging up 40 chunks is an impossible feat. Just as he was thinking this, a figure emerged from inside the mine. Seeing the man's soot-covered but cheerful face, Rick gave a polite greeting. You're finally out, outsider. He stood up, chuckling. He held out a hand in front of Hyunsu and said, Looking at your face now, you look like a proper miner. The appointed time has come. Show me your results. Kang Hyunsu reached out his hand and replied with a smile. Just a moment. As soon as he spoke, an ore crystal was taken out, rolling onto the ground. Looking at that single ore crystal, Rick wasn't surprised at all and thought, Of course, an outsider like him probably couldn't. But right after that, a stream of colorful ore crystals poured out endlessly, piling up into a mountain of ore on the ground. The mountain of ore grew higher and higher, proportional to Rick's jaw, which was dropping, wider and wider. Hyunsu looked at the mountain of ore in front of him with satisfaction. He wiped a smudge from his face and said casually, A total of 200. At this point, Rick completely lost his composure. He pointed straight at him and demanded, You! Who in the world are you? Are you the legendary mining prodigy from the stories? Hyunsu, having heard this kind of thing before, just casually put his hands on his hips and said, No, just an ordinary blacksmith. Just then the information for the Damascus sword, used as a pickaxe, began to appear. Unique Damascus sword. Durability 12,000, 12,000. Damage 3 requirements. None for the creator. Level 5200, special skills. Damage to stone increased by 170%. 70% reduction in durability loss from mining, active skill. Damascus pickaxe, description, Hyunsu's custom sword. Specialized for breaking rocks. Can occasionally transform into a mining pickaxe. He held the pickaxe high in his hand, currently being used as a pickaxe, looking at the mountain of ore in front of him. After a long moment, he finally regained his composure and understood everything. Then he spoke. Rick, with his hands on his hips, continued, As a blacksmith, you've forged your own path. At that moment, Rick finally faced Hyunsu seriously and offered, I'm truly sorry for looking down on you. Tonight, I'd like to invite you to dinner. What do you think? He didn't make things difficult for him anymore, but simply smiled. He reached out and shook Rick's firm hand. Hyunsu gave a friendly smile and replied, I'd be honored. He also added a small request of his own. Can I invite Ms. Bella to come along? Rick didn't object and even welcomed it, replying, Of course. A while later, they all arrived at the tavern. Inside was indeed very lively. Most of the patrons were large, sturdy men. Over here, Bella was tilting her head back, drinking from a mug of beer bigger than her face. Banya, seeing her like this, asked curiously, Hey, Ms. Knight, why are you eating so quickly by yourself? Hyunsu agreed, adding, Ms. Bella, please come chat and drink with everyone. Bella, with no regard for saving face, said matter-of-factly, I feel more comfortable eating like this. Suddenly, a large hand clapped Hyunsu hard on the shoulder, making him jump. A large, tipsy man with a beer belly asked, Did you really dig up 200 minerals by yourself? No exaggeration. Hyunsu smiled humbly and said, Yes, I'm not sure how I managed it. The man asked curiously, What about the ice iron? How much did you dig up? Hyunsu answered honestly, about 20 chunks. Hearing this, the other man became even more excited and exclaimed, Whoa! You dug up 20 chunks of ice iron by yourself. That's awesome. The man patted his shoulder and asked, I heard. Your custom-made pickaxe is making quite a name for itself. Can I see it? Hyunsu didn't hide anything and replied, Of course. Just a moment. After saying that, he quickly took the pickaxe out of his inventory. Out! Under the curious gazes of the men there, Hyunsu enthusiastically introduced it. This is the Damascus pickaxe. It's a specialized tool forged only for mining. Its mining ability is increased by over 200%. It's thanks to this that I was able to complete the task the foreman gave me. Oh, and it can also transform into a sword. When it becomes a sword, its cutting power against stone increases even more. It's very useful. Bella sat to one side, focused on drinking her beer. She looked towards Hyunsu and thought to herself, he really is a blacksmith. His eyes light up as soon as he mentions something he's made. The other man enthusiastically threw his arm around Hyunsu's shoulder and said excitedly, if a rookie miner can dig this much, we can't let ourselves be outdone. Tomorrow everyone has to give it their all. The others were also pumped up, gathering around excitedly. Hyunsu and saying, but first let's have a drink. Hey, don't refuse. He couldn't bring himself to refuse and could only smile and say, thank you very much. The men's cheers echoed throughout the tavern. You're a miner now. You're one of us. Let's drink until we're wasted. Drink up, Kang. Hyunsu also completely immersed himself in the atmosphere. After the party, Hyunsu returned to the mine once again. At first he noticed Rick, who pointed inside the mine and enthusiastically introduced it. This is where the 1,000-year ice iron is buried. Hyunsu looked at the dark mine in front of him and asked hesitantly, is this the place you mentioned? He continued to ask, didn't you say we couldn't enter because of a seal? Rick crossed his arms, nodded, and replied, yes, that's right, but it's true. The 1,000-year ice iron is in there. I know, but there are too many monsters here. Hyunsu, with a serious expression, looked him straight in the eye and asked again, will this be okay? Rick tilted his head, avoiding Hyunsu's gaze, and said, from now on, the rest is up to you to handle. Hyunsu frowned slightly, rubbing his chin and muttering, how am I supposed to dig in a place like this? Rick gave a bright smile and said, I'm in the next mine over. If you have any questions, just come find me. Suddenly, a system notification popped up. A new episode has begun. This sudden appearance startled Hyunsu, who wondered, a new story just started on its own. What's going on? A new story just started on its own. What's going on? The story began to unfold. 100 years have passed. Since the mage Baylor established the seal, Baylor's seal has weakened. The monsters trapped for a century are going mad. The seal will break in 3 minutes. As soon as this red text appeared, Hyunsu's pupils contracted violently. Filled with fear, he immediately turned and called after him. Mr. Rick, wait. Hearing the call, Rick turned his head and asked, huh? What is it? Hyunsu yelled urgently, the seal is about to break! We have to evacuate the miners before it's too late. Rick didn't seem to believe this. He stammered, no way. A seal that's been stable for 100 years suddenly. But before he could finish his sentence, a violent tremor occurred, causing everyone to freeze for a moment. Hyunsu and Bella, due to this unexpected situation, froze for a few seconds. Immediately after, large boulders began to rain down from the mine ceiling. The people below, Rick grabbed a dying miner beside him and yelled, the mine is collapsing. Everyone evacuate now. Hyunsu immediately turned back to remind Bella, hurry back to the safe zone quickly. Monsters are about to pour out. The man from the tavern the other day now pointed in one direction and said to him, you go on ahead. We'll save the ones still trapped inside, and then pull back. The cries for help from inside the other mine continued unabated. Help! The other miners also agreed, urging the two of them. That's right, you all go first. We can't abandon our comrades. At the same time, Rick approached. His deep voice rang out. They're right, we can't just leave. Rick had now regained his usual stern demeanor, hoisting a pickaxe onto his shoulder, ready to fight. Rick seriously reported the situation to everyone. The structural magics designed to handle a mine collapse seems to have activated. He turned towards Hyunsu and said, we'll rescue the trapped people and then escape. He contemplated clenching his fists. He thought to himself, according to the quest, the structural magic won't activate properly, and the monsters will pour out. What should I do? The more he thought, the more confused he became. The system screen was still displayed. Title A, Condition Activator of the new episode. Reward. Failure minor casualties. Content. 58 people inside the mine, and 38 outside are in danger. Help them all survive. Currently, 96 miners are alive. The reward will depend on the number of survivors. Looking at the glaring red letters in front of him, Hyunsu gritted his teeth and thought, how cold. Warning about others' deaths, so callously. Even if they're just NPCs, they are people in Ares. With that thought, he materialized a sword, then held it firmly in his hand. Hyunsu pointed the sword straight ahead and shouted in a serious tone, Ms. Bella, if I miss any, please provide support. Bella, seeing him act so recklessly, was very surprised and called after him. Aren't you afraid you're rushing out there again? Hyunsu tilted his head, glanced at her, and replied with a smile, I told you outsiders can't die. I'll block the monsters at the dungeon entrance. With that, he took his sword and stood defiantly before the dungeon entrance that was about to open. The monsters inside the dungeon also sensed what was happening and began to ram the barrier with all their might. After just a few impacts, the barrier slowly started to show countless cracks. Hyunsu gripped his sword, feeling a little tense. He thought, can I fight them? With just the Damascus sword? No way. He said grimly, there must be a way to stop them. He reached out a hand, thinking hard. I need a completely new weapon. Divine emergency crafting. Using even more minerals? I've never tried it, but can I do it? Hyunsu's brow furrowed in concentration. Fragmented thoughts flashed through his mind. What if I try emergency crafting? With a large amount of suitable minerals? Then what? The effectiveness would increase many times over. After a moment of thought, his eyes snapped open. Looking ahead, his hands moved swiftly, beginning to bring his thoughts to life. Just a moment later, Hyunsu shouted, Divine emergency crafting! Instantly, a great sword of cloud iron, with formidable power, was held firmly in the hand of Hyunsu. The system's notification rang out quickly. Seal breaking in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A massive explosion erupted, sending rocks flying. Dust and smoke filled the air. Hyunsu looked up at the huge explosion. He said grimly, come on out! From inside the dungeon, a large purple foot stomped heavily on the ground, causing a section of the ground to sink. Information on the monsters appeared continuously. Stone Monster LV-113, Stone Clan Monster LV-107, Stone Wolf LV-110. The system's voice rang out once more. 30-second limit disappears after one strike. Hyunsu leaped high. He gripped the sword tightly and charged forward to attack the monster. Hyunsu growled with a stern face. As long as I guard this entrance, not a single one will get through. The more he spoke, the more fired up he became, charging into the sea of monsters. Hyunsu rushed forward, slashing ferociously. He spun around, activating the skill Ice Storm, slashing a monster and drawing blood. A wave of icy energy pierced through the ground, shooting straight up. Sharp ice spikes impaled all of the monsters, ruthlessly and decisively. One by one, they were impaled by large stakes of ice from a single strike of Hyunsu's sword. The system's notification rang out again. The great iron sword has vanished. As soon as the notification ended, the sword in his hand also began to crack. Hyunsu stood there, watching the sword in his hand slowly disintegrate. After a long moment, he looked up to see the result of his work. Before him was a grand wall of ice freezing, all the monsters in place. Hyunsu exclaimed in amazement. If I recraft it with suitable materials, this is its effect. But the layers of ice were completely unable to hold the ferocious monsters for long. The thick layers of ice quickly began to crack. Hyunsu turned and looked into the dungeon, thinking to himself, there are still a lot of monsters in the dungeon. What's the situation with the miners now? The miners below were also digging at full speed. They shouted as they worked. Damn it! We have to dig faster. Someone's injured here. Hurry up and help me, I will definitely save them. The system notification rang out again. Reward based on the number of surviving miners. They yelled urgently, clear all this scrap metal! Just a little more effort. I'll save you. The system's voice rang out again urgently. Please save the miners. Hyunsu resolutely clenched his fist. He thought with determination, they're not just NPCs to me anymore. Just like when I rushed into the fire to save my father, they are also people, risking their lives to protect those they love. He looked into the dungeon and thought to himself, so I have to. The monsters kept rushing out, looking extremely ferocious. Looking at the beasts that had just rushed out, Hyunsu finally made up his mind. I will definitely protect everyone. First, I have to lure them to an empty area of the dungeon. With that thought, he jumped and slipped into the dungeon. The beasts were drawn to him, baring their fangs and chasing after him. Hyunsu reached out his hand and shouted, Damascus sword! A large monster was bearing down on him. Hyunsu turned and began to swing his sword. He jumped up and swung a sword at the monster. But just as he struck the one in front, the monster behind him rushed forward for a sneak attack. But he was very fast. Hyunsu spun around, swinging his sword at the monster. Immediately after, a powerful sword strike was unleashed. It struck each monster precisely. Hyunsu's sharp eyes once again glanced behind him. That monster hadn't stopped yet, swinging a large club in its hand. The club, filled with ore crystals, was now rapidly descending on his head. Hyunsu, not backing down, also raised his sword. Immediately after, with a beautiful stance, he delivered a perfectly clean cut. After that strike, Hyunsu turned again, swinging his sword once more. Another strike aimed straight at the monster's chest. That monster froze, not making another sound. Immediately after, the massive monster collapsed to the ground, but the battle wasn't over yet. He glanced behind him. Large monsters surrounded Hyunsu. He took a deep breath. His eyes closed and he muttered, good thing I learned this skill. As Kang Hyunsu turned into his stance, he raised his sword and shouted sternly, Sword King's swordsmanship. The system's notification rang out slaughter sword. He silently gripped the hilt, standing still in that spot. But right after that, he swung his sword again, sweeping through the horde of ferocious monsters. All the large monsters were sent flying by rings of light, completely unable to resist. In the blink of an eye, all the monsters were down. At the same time, a system notification rang out. All attacks with slaughter sword deal an additional 100% damage. Critical hits deal an additional 140%. After executing the skill, he staggered in amazement and exclaimed, "Stronger, much stronger than I thought. Unbelievable, right?" But then he couldn't hold on and collapsed to the ground. He lay amidst the scattered monsters. The system notification rang out once again. The illusion dungeon has been cleared. Emergency quest rescue the miners complete. All 96 miners survived. New episode completed with an excellent rating. He let out a satisfied smile and exclaimed, "Everyone is safe." But before he could catch his breath, the system appeared again. You can manipulate the situation to receive a higher reward from Foreman Rick. Hyunsu wondered, manipulate the situation. Just saving everyone is enough. But if there's a better reward, I can't ignore it. He used his sword to slowly get up from the ground. Suddenly, Hyunsu broke into a very satisfied smile. He mumbled, "I just thought of a good idea." Outside, Rick was focused on rescuing the other miners. After gathering everyone, Rick finally let out a sigh of relief, shouting, "Everyone rest easy. None of us were injured. Everyone is safe." It wasn't just Rick. Everyone seeing them they were still alive, hugged each other excitedly. "You all did great. Awesome, we're alive, we're still alive. I thought I was a goner for sure." What a relief. Bella walked through the crowd looking around, trying to find a familiar figure. She walked worriedly to Rick's side and asked, "Mr. Rick?" "It seems Mr. Hyunsu lured the monsters into the dungeon." Rick was startled just then, remembering, and exclaimed, "Now that I think about it, it was the blacksmith Hyunsu." He turned towards the cheerful crowd and shouted, "Listen up, everyone." Someone said, "It was the blacksmith who lured the monsters into the mine to protect us." Hearing this, the crowd exclaimed in amazement, "Huh, by himself. So that's why we didn't see any monsters for real." Rick picked up his pickaxe and said sternly, "As the foreman, I am ashamed. But in any case, we still haven't saved our family." He slung the pickaxe over his shoulder and shouted grimly, "Anyone who still has strength, follow me. We're going into the mine now." "Yes, sir." The group quickly lit torches and went inside. Their shouts echoed continuously, "Hey, outsider blacksmith! Can you hear us?" Bella took a few steps forward and shouted loudly, "Mr. Hyunsu! Are you there?" Rick also strained his voice and yelled, "Hey, blacksmith, blacksmith!" Everyone spread out searching continuously. "Hey, rookie!" Suddenly one of the men spotted Hyunsu leaning against a corner. He immediately shouted, "There he is, he's over there." Everyone immediately ran towards Hyunsu, asking urgently, "Hey, are you okay?" "You're badly injured." Bella ran over and pressed her ear to Hyunsu's chest to check his breathing. She couldn't help but think, what an idiot. But after checking, she was surprised and thought, compared to his wounds, his heartbeat is stable. Bella looked up and said, "Everyone calm down, Mr. Hyunsu." But before she could finish, she was stopped by Hyunsu, grabbing her hand. He leaned close to her ear and said sternly, "Shh, please be quiet for a moment." He managed to sit up and slowly began to speak. "Everyone, I'm okay. Even though this fight was tough, luckily I managed to wipe them all out. Is everyone else safe?" As soon as he said this, everyone there froze. Rick gripped Hyunsu's hand tightly, deeply moved, and said, "Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, we were so focused on saving the miners that we temporarily forgot about you. Hyunsu, I'm truly ashamed. We haven't done anything for you besides inviting you for a meal and drinks. Why would you do something so dangerous?" Hyunsu smiled gently and replied, "You all treated Ms. Bella and me like family. Seeing how everyone was so dedicated to each other, I couldn't just sit still. I just wanted to lend a hand in any way I could." Hearing these words, everyone was stunned. Hyunsu forced himself to say a few more words. "But I'm so glad everyone is safe." As soon as he finished speaking, he coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood, which Rick couldn't hide his alarm from. Rick looked at him, trying to suppress his pain, and gritted his teeth, saying, "What a warm-hearted fool." Rick rushed forward, pushing Bella aside, and hugged him tightly, yelling, "We will never forget your kindness, blacksmith." Hyunsu, Bella, pushed to the side, looked at the scene in front of her, and thought in confusion, "What is he doing? He was perfectly fine just a moment ago." Hyunsu got up and yelled urgently to everyone, "This isn't the time. Quick, bring our benefactor inside." Hyunsu was then gently supported by Rick and led outside. The system's notification rang out at that moment. "Mine Foreman Rick and the 95 others will never forget you." This system notification rang out, making Hyunsu's mood even more excited. He smirked and thought to himself, "I knew it." Recalling the moment just now, he thought, it was a good idea to make things look more dramatic. Bella, at this moment, completely caught the smile on his lips. She froze in place, then slowly walked up behind him, just in time to catch his hand signal. A thumbs up was given, which left her completely stunned. Seeing this signal, Bella's face immediately darkened. She screamed internally. Just a moment ago, I thought I was going to die. He's really a con artist. Hyunsu, walking ahead, thought to himself, she must have figured something out by now, right? Hyunsu was taken home and placed on a clean bed. After some time, he groggily opened his eyes. He sat up, let out a long, comfortable yawn, and exclaimed, "That was a good sleep." Just as he woke up, Banya, who had been by his side the whole time, jumped up and shouted, "Sir Hyunsu." He was startled by the boy's sudden shout, and exclaimed, "Banya, when did you get here?" The young man didn't answer him, but instead turned towards the door and shouted, "Everyone, Sir Hyunsu is awake." Hyunsu sat on the bed, dazed, and muttered, "Huh, everyone, why?" Before he could get his bearings, Rick burst open the door and rushed in, shouting, "Hyunsu! How are you? Is your body okay?" Hyunsu smiled cordially at Rick and replied, "Yes, is everyone else safe?" The group of miners outside with bright faces peeked in and answered him, "We're all fine. Worry about yourself." Rick approached his bed. He sat down and said somberly, "I heard you're leaving soon, right? Since you're a blacksmith." He placed a hand on Hyunsu's blanket and said seriously, "It's a bit awkward since you're about to leave, but I have something I want to tell you." Hyunsu, with a calm demeanor, said, "Please feel free to speak." Rick looked towards the doorway and said with a smile, "Everyone come in." As soon as the words left his mouth, everyone streamed into the room. After everyone had gathered, Rick stood up straight and declared seriously, "Today we will mine for you." Hyunsu, stunned for a moment, asked, "Mine for me?" Rick nodded, placed a hand on his chest and said sincerely, "If I want to repay you for risking your life to protect us, I will definitely dig up the Millennium Cold Iron that you're looking for, I promise." Hearing this, Hyunsu, his eyes filled with surprise, exclaimed, "For me? Millennium Cold Iron?" Rick affirmed seriously, "That's right." Hyunsu said humbly, "I was just doing what I had to do. Thank you, everyone. So that's what you wanted to say." As soon as he finished speaking, Rick suddenly turned his head and looked at the group of miners behind him. After receiving the signal, they immediately and quickly went outside. After they had all left, Rick cleared his throat and said, "Actually, there's something else I wanted to ask. But it's better if my son tells you directly." Banya, standing behind him, kept scratching his head shyly and stammered, "That is..." After a long moment, Banya finally clenched his fists and spoke with determination. "Sir Hyunsu, no! Sir Benefactor." The young man, without any wasted motion, knelt beside Hyunsu's bed. He said respectfully, "I, Banya the miner, ask to be allowed to follow you." As he spoke, Banya placed a hand over his chest, adopting the most formal posture. While he was flustered, not knowing what to say, the system screen appeared. Clear lines of text began to appear. "A miner, Banya, has sworn eternal loyalty to you. He has the potential to become a legendary miner. You can accept him as a subordinate." Hyunsu read the system's suggestion and became even more confused. He was stunned, thinking, a subordinate. His eyes looked up, growing brighter by the moment. Cut to the special player management team. A girl was sitting in a chair, surrounded by scattered papers and trash. The girl seemed tired and muttered, "Why write when the team leader is away? Is player Hyunsu causing trouble again?" His voice from inside the screen was clearly audible. "Banya, please stand up." The other girl pointed at the screen, exasperated, and said, "He doesn't have a territory and he's not a guildmaster. Yet a legendary potential NPC is asking to be his subordinate. Does that make any sense? Looks like more overtime for me." Back at Hyunsu's place, he stood flustered before the young miner and said, "Banya, first of all, please stand up. I'm not that great of a person." Before he could finish his sentence, Banya firmly replied, "No, sir." Banya said with absolute certainty, "I saw with my own eyes, Sir Hyunsu. You used a special tool for mining, and you risked your life to save us." He bowed his head and said somberly, "I was both amazed and grateful, but more than anything, I felt immense respect." Suddenly, Banya lifted his face and said in a loud, clear voice, "I promise I will swing my pickaxe for you. I will mine for you." Banya lifted his resolute face and made a sincere offer. "Please accept me as your subordinate." Hyunsu looked at him completely flustered and thought, "I can feel that he really wants to follow me. This definitely isn't just an empty promise." Seeing that he remained silent, Banya became a bit awkward and self-conscious, asking, "Is it because I don't have any skills that I'm not qualified?" Hearing this, Hyunsu immediately waved his hands and explained, No, that's not it." He scratched his head and explained sheepishly, "I'm not qualified to lead anyone yet. Can I think about it for a little while?" He stepped forward and extended his hand towards Banya, saying sincerely, "After I've thought it through and established a base, I will send a carrier pigeon then." His words made Banya's eyes light up. He exclaimed with excitement, "You mean..." Hyunsu smiled and confirmed, "At that time, join me, Banya." Suddenly, Banya rushed forward and hugged him tightly. He exclaimed emotionally, thank you, sir. Sir Hyun-soo. The system also made an announcement at this time. You have accepted Banya as a subordinate. You can now view Banya's information. Immediately after, an information panel for Banya appeared. Unique subordinate type. Level 165, attack 504, defense 430, mining 1672. Special passive abilities. Find special minerals passive. Tireless miner passive. Active mineral search. Active mineral efficiency boost. Potential 111. Current experience 19%. Has the potential to become the world's most special miner. Grows much faster than other miners. Extremely high growth ceiling. Hyun-soo looked at the overjoyed young man in his arms and thought, a sincere heart has brought me an amazing assistant. From now on, we'll just have to grow stronger together. Banya quickly stood up straight. He stepped away from him and asked hesitantly, I'm not trying to rush you. But, about when can I see you again, Sir Hyun-soo? He replied politely, it won't be long. Hearing this, Banya became even more excited and said, then until that day, I will also mine for you with the other miners. Please just speak to me comfortably, Sir Hyun-soo. All right. From today on, I'll call you Banya. Rick, standing to the side, watched the two of them, chatting harmoniously, and felt happy for them. Before a large, constantly spinning gate, a group of people stood before the gate. Hyun-soo stood next to a large bag, reading the system notification. You have obtained 415 iron ore. You have obtained 51 cold iron. Rick slowly pushed a cart forward and said politely, sorry to keep you waiting. Hyun-soo looked at the object covered by a white cloth. Rick pulled back the white cloth, while speaking in a mysterious tone. This is the natural millennium cold iron. As the cloth was removed, pure mineral crystals appeared before their eyes. The system quickly provided information. Natural millennium cold iron limited unique. Requires blacksmith level 300 or higher. Highest difficulty. Special ability fire resistance plus 91%. Ice attribute skills increased to unique level. Sword sharpness plus 150%. Sword skill damage by 58%. Durability increased to infinite. Description. Cold iron buried underground for 6,000 years. Despite the same name, it cannot be compared to ordinary millennium cold iron. Hyun-soo looked at the items before him, unable to contain his amazement, and exclaimed, amazing, Bella, leaned close to his ear and whispered slyly, worth the little deception, wasn't it? Hearing her say that, Hyun-soo immediately covered her mouth and frantically shushed her. Shh, people will get the wrong idea. Bella, not one to back down, was about to retort, you little con. Before she could finish, Rick spoke up with a proud tone, I never thought I'd be able to dig up millennium cold iron in my lifetime. It's all thanks to you, Hyun-soo. Hearing his name mentioned, he gave a gentle smile and turned around. He seriously faced the miners and bowed a full 90 degrees. Then he said, everyone, thank you for everything. The miners were very warm and replied, stay a little longer. You're always welcome. Banya, now with tears and snot all over his face, ran towards him and cried out emotionally, Sir Hyun-soo. He waved back at Banya. Hyun-soo materialized an exquisitely crafted pickaxe in his hand and said, perfect timing, there's something I wanted to give you. He felt a little guilty, thinking to himself, Banya, the more you mine with this pickaxe, the more minerals I'll automatically receive. Banya took the pickaxe from his hand, moved to tears and sobbed, Sir Hyun-soo, this is your pride and joy. I will follow you for the rest of my life. As he spoke, the young man hugged the pickaxe and cried out. Seeing this, Hyun-soo felt a pang of guilt and thought, he likes it so much it's making me feel terribly guilty. Finally, it was time. The two sides waved goodbye warmly. See you later, Hyun-soo. Next time you better drink better than that, Bella. Walking ahead, watched Hyun-soo say goodbye to everyone and thought to herself, although he can be considered a con artist, the fact that he disregarded his own safety to save the miners and won their trust. Bella tilted her head, looked at him, and gave a stunning smile. Then she stepped into the gate, letting out a few words. Is pretty cool, actually. Hyun-soo, walking behind her, heard this and asked blankly, Huh, Miss Bella, did you just say cool? Were you talking to me? Miss Bella. Cut to a few days later at the Salamander's dungeon. The scorching air here was truly suffocating. Back sitting in front of the dungeon gate was so frustrated he cursed. Damn it, I don't know how many times I've tried. Even the 11th ranked blacksmith couldn't make the shield I want. He was dejected. Is it really impossible to clear this dungeon? Suddenly, a hawk swooped down from the sky towards Bak. Along with the message, Sir Hyun-soo has sent a gift. He caught the bird a little surprised and said, Hyun-soo. Bak looked at the screen in front of him, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. I heard he's only level 59, so it's probably just average. But the thought is what counts. Might as well give it a look. The familiar system question appeared. A gift has arrived. Open. Bak quickly chose to open it, but he waited, and absolutely nothing appeared. His face grew more and more confused. But as soon as he saw what was inside the gift box, his pupils couldn't help but contract. Back exclaimed in shock. What is this? Is this a bug? A treasure quickly appeared in his sight, followed by a detailed information panel. Hyun's custom-made shield. Ability unique. Durability 12,000. Attack power 251. Thorn attack 111. Defense power 401. Requirement tanker class level 150 plus. Special ability. Fire attribute resistance 201%. 27% increase in defense power when facing fire attribute monsters. 22% increase in attack power when facing monsters of the fire attribute. Passive skill. Frozen eyes. Active skill. Bone spikes 1. Active skill bone wave. Explanation. This is Hyun's 8th custom-made shield, close to legendary grade. Holding the sturdy shield in his hand, Back couldn't help but exclaim, Hyun-soo, your skills are far beyond what I imagined. Looking closely at the shield again, he exclaimed in surprise. Moreover, this is the woman with snakes for hair, Medusa. Back thought pensively, using Aegis as the model for creation. This is truly a masterpiece. At the same time, the system panel announced, time remaining to complete the quest. 1 hour, 37 minutes, 32 seconds. He stood up with his hands on his hips. His voice held a hint of admiration. But you really keep surprising me. He held the shield in his hand and said excitedly, who knows, with this shield, I might be able to finish conquering the dungeon. As he spoke, he stepped inside, along with the system's announcement. You have entered the Salamander's dungeon. This is the final trial of the hidden quest. Back at the magnificent palace, sunbeams still shone as brightly as ever. In a room, the girl with long hair said happily, thanks to you, Hyun-soo, I got to visit the royal reception room of the Gojot Kingdom. Hyun-soo said politely. It was thanks to Bella's help that I was able to do it. The girl smiled and asked, have you been well? He smiled and replied, yes, thanks to you. And after returning from the ice mine, I stayed home to take care of my sick father. Caring for a sick person is really not an easy task. The girl asked with concern, Hyun-soo's father's illness. Has it gotten any better? He lowered his eyes slightly and replied somberly, he hasn't woken up yet. But I absolutely will not give up hope. The girl looked at him so sadly, a flicker of pity in her eyes. Very quickly, she changed her tone and switched the topic. We were supposed to talk about the guild today, weren't we? Hyun-soo then remembered the main topic and exclaimed, ah, right. The girl took out a few sheets of paper covered in writing and placed them on the table. He picked up the papers and read. The girl in front of him also explained seriously, at first I thought we should operate with a small elite group. My immediate goal is to make you Hyun-soo the most famous blacksmith in the country. If we start the guild with people who have too large of a level gap, it will be very difficult for us to achieve our desired goals. Hyun-soo then looked up and asked, our goal is to make me the most famous blacksmith. The girl crossed her legs and sat up straight. She replied seriously and clearly, the fastest way for a guild to grow and gain fame is to create a star for the guild. And that star will be you, Hyun-soo. Are you thinking of anyone? To be a founding member of our guild? No. He looked at the plans on the paper deep in thought. Hyun-soo rubbed his chin and thought to himself, but first, there's the friend who introduced me to this game and... He crossed his arms and bowed his head, thinking for a long time. Soon after, he still hadn't come up with a final answer. Hyun-soo scratched his head and replied to the girl, besides him, there's no one else. Because I still don't have any close relationships with other players. The girl gave a gentle smile and said, it's okay. We can start building them from now on. Suddenly, Hyun-soo was stunned for a moment. He said in a high, excited voice, ah, there's one more person. The girl, while operating the screen, asked, what is that person's player name? Hyun-soo quickly replied, his name is Bak. The girl, while searching the system, asked, this is the first time I've heard this name. What's his approximate level? Hyun-soo stammered in reply. Come to think of it, besides his player name, I haven't asked anything else. Hearing this, the girl was a little dissatisfied and asked, Hyun-soo, this is a founding member we're talking about. And yet you're recommending someone with no information like that? Hyun-soo fell silent, recalling past events and said, but he's the person who, when I was at the end of my rope, gave up his own interests to help me start over. He's someone I'm very grateful for. The girl asked curiously, his own interests? Hyun-soo nodded and replied yes. The girl leaned back, looking relaxed, and said, could it be that person is a businessman? Hyun-soo looked up in surprise and asked, how did you know yes? That's right. The girl shook her head and replied, it seems you don't realize it, Hyun-soo, but your value in AZZ is far beyond imagination. Who knows, that person might use you, Hyun-soo, to do business in AZ? It's also possible that person will take the position of guild leader. These words made him pause for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure and said, he would never do that. Hyun-soo looked up and said seriously, he is absolutely not the type of person who would deceive me. I can say that with confidence. His firm assertion made the girl freeze for a moment. As if she had thought it over, the girl let out a sigh and said, "Whether or not to accept him as a guild member, your decision, Hyun-soo, is the most important." But the girl suddenly slammed her hand on the table and exclaimed excitedly, "Hyun-soo, let me meet him, please." Hyun-soo had no intention of refusing. He replied directly, "All right." Having gotten his approval, the girl sat down and brushed back her hair. She calmly reminded him, "From now until then, the fact that you Hyun-soo are the blacksmith Hyun, you must try to keep it a secret." This reminder from her made him jump. He exclaimed, "The gift I recently gave him. I already added the name Hyun to it." Hearing this, the girl couldn't help but scream, "You what, Hyun-soo?" At that moment, inside the salamander's dungeon, columns of fire rose and fell, creating a suffocating atmosphere. Monster after monster charged out, continuously attacking the outsider. Back gritted his teeth, gripping the shield tightly in his hand. He swept it across the monster, seriously injuring it. A monster that was hit by the skill. Its eyes became blurry, losing all focus. Immediately after, a large explosion erupted in the sky, creating a powerful pillar of fire. Back looked at the shield in his hand and exclaimed in awe, "This is amazing," he said with great satisfaction. "I can't believe all the features I wanted are actually working." Suddenly, his eyes fell upon the inner face of the shield. Back asked curiously, The moment he saw the familiar name carved on the inside, Back exclaimed in utter shock, "Unbelievable! It really is you, Hyun-soo." He closed his eyes and smiled, saying, "I really don't know how many more times Hyun-soo is going to surprise me. How can I ever repay him?" Lost in his muttering, he didn't notice a monster ambushing him from behind. Just as the monster was about to strike, he finally noticed it, but Back couldn't counterattack at all. He could only take the full force of the blow. He was sent flying, slamming into the wall in the distance. The monster's eyes suddenly lit up. It wasn't done yet. It lunged forward, attacking Back relentlessly. Explosion after explosion rang out, sending rocks flying everywhere. Immediately after, streams of lava began to churn, continuously. The humanoid monster looked at its fiery handiwork, watching intently. Suddenly, the monster's pupils contracted. Right before its eyes was the sturdy shield, and Back, protected by the shield, was still standing tall. The monster immediately became intrigued. It said, "You blocked my attack. Interesting. Tell me the name of the one who created it." As it spoke, it launched an attack at him. Back quickly dashed to another spot to dodge. A barrage of attacks rained down. Back tried to hold the shield tightly in his hand, skillfully avoiding all of them. The monster threatened again, "If you don't talk, not only me but my original body will hunt you down." Back looked at the monster. He gritted his teeth, thinking, if its original body comes after me, I might have to quit this game. He paused for a beat and thought seriously, but I can't sell out Hyun-soo just to save my own skin. As he thought, he jumped up high, wanting to ambush it from above. The monster felt challenged. It swung its arm, launching a skill at Back, and roared, "You don't seem to fear death, do you?" He used a shield to block the attacks. Back smirked and said, "Is that all you've got?" Suddenly, the system notification rang out. The Fire Queen's body deploys Hand of Death. Immediately after, a powerful attack bypassed his shield, directly hitting Back with the full force of the skill. The monster said contemptuously, "You dare to die for a measly little artifact?" A system notification rang out, HP remaining 33. But at this moment, he only had one thought in his mind. It's not a measly artifact. He leaned over to look at the shield, completely intact in his hand. Every face and memory of him with Back flashed through his mind. He thought to himself, this shield is responding to my will. It's a gift that my friend made for me. As soon as the words left his mind, Back, as if getting a second wind, began to rise up. His will created a blinding light that shone in the sky, making the monster exclaim in shock. "What?" Back materialized a spear and got into a stance, ready to counterattack. The system immediately announced, "Hidden skill Aegis's Frost has been activated." The monster at this point was enraged to the extreme and roared, "You think you can beat me with these pathetic little tricks?" The system immediately displayed an urgent notification, warning the clone is preparing a powerful spell. Back, using all his strength, threw the spear at the monster. One direct hit pinned it straight to the middle of the monster's forehead. The aftershock of the attack only now began to erupt, causing the surrounding ground to crack. The system immediately announced, "You have defeated the Fire Queen's clone. Class change quest. Complete Conquer the Salamander's dungeon. Obtained Fire Dragon armor set." A series of large explosions erupted, forcing him to dash away at full speed to avoid them. The moment the monster's corpse collapsed, Back successfully dodged. He panted, looking at the notification on the system. Hidden piece. Complete the hidden qualification test. Back asked himself in confusion. "A qualification test? There's that too." The system began to explain. "You did not reveal your comrade's name, even when in danger." Back replied confused. That's a given." The system added, You have been granted the qualification of a lord. This function just being mentioned, made Bach exclaim in shock. Is this a hidden class change?